Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. We're doing okay too, just really tired since we've been working non-stop. We wanted to answer a question many of you ask: how does our publishing process work? Most of our audiobooks are first posted on Patreon as paid content. They stay behind a paywall for a few months. After that, they become free to access on Patreon forever. Then, a few weeks later, we upload them to other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X. Lately, our community hasn't been growing much, and we could really use your help. Please share our site in your Facebook groups, Discord servers, Reddit threads, Twitter, X, or with any friends who might be interested. Every little bit helps and we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for being with us and supporting what we do. From now on, after school, you will go to him on your own. A teacher? Sasuke looked up curiously. Who is it? You have a natural talent for lightning style, so I have asked the clan's most skilled lightning style user, clan head Kuragami, to teach you. Sasuke, learn well from your teacher, and do not bring shame to our clan. Fugaku Uchiha said. Clan head Kuragami? Sasuke was momentarily stunned. While most clan affairs didn't concern children his age, he had heard from others that his father used to be the clan head, but he wasn't anymore. The one who replaced him was the very person his father was now calling his teacher. Yes, Sasuke. Your teacher, though only a little older than you, is a very wise person and the strongest ninja in our clan. Fugaku Uchiha explained patiently. I understand, father. I will study hard with my teacher. Sasuke nodded. At the Ninja Academy, Naruto sat on the swing, watching his classmates leave one by one. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the village. The once bustling schoolyard was now empty. Just as Naruto finished suppressing his sadness and was about to head home, a long shadow appeared in front of him. Naruto looked up and saw a white-haired man with a mask covering his face and his forehead protector covering one eye. His visible eye carried a complicated expression. Hey, old man, who are you looking for? Naruto asked. I'm looking for you. Kakashi replied. Me? Naruto was stunned. If your name is Naruto Uzumaki, then I'm not mistaken. Because Kuragami Uchiha had already informed his housekeeper in advance, when Fugaku brought Sasuke to his home, the housekeeper, Keiko, was already waiting at the entrance to welcome them inside. Kuragami-sama is expecting you to study. When the two were led to the study, Kuragami Uchiha, now dressed in a hurry, was writing something at his desk. Ah, Elder Fugaku, this must be Sasuke. Kuragami Uchiha stopped what he was doing and smiled at them. Sasuke, greet your teacher. Fugaku Uchiha instructed. Hello, teacher. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. Little Sasuke bowed timidly and then curiously studied Kuragami Uchiha. Kuragami, I leave Sasuke in your care. Fugaku Uchiha said. At Ramen Kairaku. I'm digging in. Naruto clapped his hands together in prayer before wolfing down his food. Meanwhile, Kakashi sat quietly beside him, watching. Hey, white-haired old man, aren't you going to eat? Naruto suddenly looked up from his bowl, puzzled. I'm not eating. Also, based on our age differences, you should call me Big Brother Kakashi. At that moment, Taki, the owner of Ramen Kairaku, poked his head out from behind the counter. Kakashi, you haven't been here in ages. But what's your connection to Naruto? Why are you suddenly treating him to ramen? This kid's father and I have a certain connection. Kakashi replied. Hearing this, Naruto suddenly stopped eating. Naruto's father, huh? Having run his shop for over a decade, Tuki was quite familiar with Kakashi. Upon hearing those words, a thought flashed through his mind. Then he glanced at Naruto's bright yellow hair, and some long-held suspicions began to resurface. Could it be? But at that moment, Tuki noticed Kakashi's gaze and the subtle shake of his head. Chapter 37, Sasuke and Naruto, Part 2, Tuki, the owner of Ramen Kairaku, understood Kakashi's glance and wisely kept his mouth shut, though his heart remained unsettled for a long time. He had witnessed Naruto's struggles in the village since childhood. If this boy was truly the fourth Hokage's son, then his life has been truly like hell. Kakashi-Nisan, Uncle Tuki, you knew my dad, didn't you? Where is he now? Naruto looked up, his eyes already brimming with tears, ready to fall at any moment. Tuki took a deep breath. It seemed he had gotten himself into big trouble. No matter what the truth was behind Naruto's situation, this was not something a mere ramen shop owner in a Hidden Lee village could involve himself in. Naruto, I can't tell you who your father is just yet. Kakashi said. But I can tell you this, your father was a great ninja. Naruto stared blankly at the two of them. Kakashi gently patted Naruto's head. I'm not telling you anything because I want to protect you. Your father had many powerful and dangerous enemies. Right now, you haven't even graduated from the academy. We can't let you get caught up in the conflicts of the past. So, if I become strong, you'll tell me who he is, right? Naruto quickly toughened up and wiped away his tears. Yes. Kakashi nodded. You can't lie to me. Naruto looked up at Kakashi seriously. Kakashi looked at the face in front of him, which, although immature, was very similar to that of his teacher, and felt a little dazed for a moment. Hey. Kakashi Naizen. Naruto grumbled, dissatisfied with the silence. Alright, I promise. Now finish eating, then go home and pack your things. From now on, you'll be living with me. Okay. Naruto responded cheerfully, then quickly finished his ramen. I'm done. Thanks for the meal. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi watched the scene through his crystal ball and let out a small sigh of relief. Thankfully, Kakashi still had some sense and knew that now was not the right time to reveal Naruto's identity. On the other side of the village, inside Kuragami Uchiha's study, Fugaku had just dropped off Sasuke before leaving. The room was now quiet, with only Sasuke and Kuragami remaining. After sending Fugaku off, Kuragami continued writing while Sasuke sat in the study, looking slightly uneasy. Find a place to sit and wait until I finish this, Kuragami said without looking up. It was clear that Fugaku had emphasized proper etiquette in Sasuke's upbringing. Even though Kuragami gave him permission to sit, Sasuke chose a proper cushion and knelt formally. After some time, Kuragami wrote the final word and finally looked up. How many characters do you know? My brother and mother have taught me to read. I recognize most words. Sasuke replied. Good. That saves me from having to start with the basics. Kuragami handed Sasuke a small booklet he had just written. Your task today is to memorize the first 3 pages. Once you've done that, I'll explain their meaning. Sasuke lowered his head and looked at the text given by his new teacher. At birth, people are inherently good? Sasuke read aloud from the first page. That's right, Kuragami had transcribed parts of classic Confucian teachings from his past life, removing elements that didn't fit the shinobi world. For a boy Sasuke's age, learning powerful jutsu was pointless since his chakra reserves were still too small to utilize them. It was more important to shape his worldview properly while he was still young. This way, he could avoid being corrupted by the brutal, war-focused education of the Ninja Academy and learn to think rationally about the world around him. At the very least, he wouldn't turn out like his older brother. Confucian teachings, while debatable in some areas, were undeniably effective in shaping a strong moral foundation. Sasuke didn't understand why his teacher was making him memorize books instead of teaching him jutsu, but he still obeyed and began reciting. After finishing their meal, Kakashi followed Naruto back to his tiny apartment, which was barely 30 square meters. The moment they stepped inside, Naruto excitedly showed off his treasures, a cupboard full of instant ramen and a fridge filled with milk. Kakashi casually picked up a carton of milk and frowned deeply when he checked the expiration date. It was 3 months overdue. Naruto, when you drink this, don't you notice anything strange about the taste? Kakashi asked. Huh? No, it always tastes the same to me. Naruto answered in confusion. At this, Kakashi sighed, finally understanding the situation. He walked over to the wardrobe and pulled it open, only to find it filled with old, worn-out clothes. Seeing this, he felt a sudden urge to smack himself. I really have been a terrible person all these years. Forget packing. Tomorrow, I'll take you to buy new things, Kakashi said as he watched Naruto stuffing instant ramen into his bag. At least let me bring my ramen. I've saved for these for so long. Naruto protested. At that moment, Kakashi noticed a red scarf in the corner of the wardrobe. He remembered his sensei's wife knitting something just like it when she was pregnant. After taking the scarf, he shut the wardrobe and picked Naruto up by the collar. Kids shouldn't eat so much ramen, you'll never grow tall. Kakashi knocked Naruto's head and said. Naruto flailed his small limbs helplessly, watching his precious ramen stash fade into the distance. Back in Kuragami's study, Sasuke's sharp mind was evident, and he memorized the assigned text in less than an hour. After testing Sasuke on a few passages, Kuragami confirmed that Sasuke had learned them properly and began explaining their meanings. At the same time, Sasuke listened attentively throughout the entire time. Alright, that's enough for today, Kuragami finally said after finishing his explanation. It's getting late, you can go home. Sensei, aren't you going to teach me ninjutsu? Sasuke asked hesitantly. Ninjutsu, huh? Kuragami nodded. Alright, follow me. Chapter 38, The Inuzuka Clan's Choice. Kuragami Uchiha took Sasuke to the backyard, where he usually practiced archery and lit the corridor lamps. What ninjutsu can you use? Kuragami Uchiha asked. My brother taught me the 3 basic jutsu before, and I just learned lightning style, Lightning ball a few days ago. Sasuke replied excitedly when talking about ninjutsu. Lightning ball, huh? Let me see it. Kuragami Uchiha said. Yes. Sasuke responded eagerly. His small hands quickly formed seals, and soon, a lightning sphere, over a meter in diameter, appeared in front of them. It flew forward for about 7 or 8 meters before exploding, momentarily lighting up the dim backyard with a dazzling white light. After doing all this, little Sasuke looked at Kuragami expectantly, hoping for praise from his teacher. However, instead of praise, Kuragami Uchiha gave him a firm smack on the top of his head, leaving Sasuke completely confused. What the hell, kid? I asked you to use a jutsu, and you decided to blow up my backyard? I'm sorry. Sasuke muttered weakly. Watch closely, this is how you use a lightning ball. After Kuragami finished speaking, he snapped his fingers, and a small, deep blue lightning sphere, only about 10 centimeters in diameter, appeared out of thin air. Although this lightning ball was much smaller than the one Sasuke had created, Sasuke could clearly sense that its chakra was far more concentrated. Then, with just a movement of Kuragami Uchiha's fingers, the small sphere began to orbit around them in a controlled path, leaving Sasuke stunned for a while. After circling them a few times, Kuragami Uchiha snapped his fingers again, and the blue sphere shot into the sky and exploded like fireworks. Amazing! Sasuke exclaimed in awe. You saw that? Practice until you can do the same. Once you can, I'll teach you something new. Kuragami Uchiha instructed. Yes. Sasuke replied confidently. Seeing Sasuke's eager smile, Kuragami Uchiha also smiled. This should keep the kid busy for quite a while. After all, what he just demonstrated required precise chakra control, something even many Chunin skilled in lightning style struggled with. For a beginner like Sasuke, it would take a lot of effort to reach that level. However, this process of refining his chakra control would be invaluable. Once Sasuke mastered it, learning other ninjutsu would become much easier. Moreover, training in precise chakra control would help temper the boy's personality. After all, Kuragami Uchiha had no patience for the reckless, headstrong version of Sasuke, who constantly ran off to get beaten up in fights. After Sasuke left, Kuragami Uchiha changed clothes, preparing to head to the training ground for his daily routine. Before leaving, he instructed, Keiko, send invitation letters to the Inuzuka and Ibarame clans for me. Right now? Keiko Uchiha asked. It's quite late. It's fine. I don't think they'll mind. Kuragami Uchiha replied. What name should I use to send them? Keiko asked. Send the one to the Inuzuka clan under the name of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. As for the Ibarame clan, just use my personal name. Understood. Keiko nodded. That night, the two clans who received the invitations were not at peace. The Inuzuka clan immediately convened a clan meeting upon receiving the letter. Unlike Uchiha clan meetings, which barely lasted 5 minutes before turning into shouting matches and sometimes even physical brawls, the Inuzuka clan conducted their meetings efficiently. In a modest room inside their clan's shrine, 4 people sat around a table: the current clan head, Kenshiro Inuzuka, along with 3 others, a veteran elder and 2 jonin, who are the highest-ranked ninjas in the clan. At the center of the table lay the invitation Keiko Uchiha had just delivered. Kenshiro Inuzuka scanned the room and spoke first. What do you all think about this invitation? A gesture of goodwill from the Uchiha. That's rare. The eldest member present, the 75-year-old Sairu Inuzuka, said. This new clan head of the Uchiha seems very different from their past clan heads. Kenshiro Inuzuka noted. Kase, you worked with him on a mission before. Can you tell us your impression of him? The youngest of the 4, Kase Inuzuka, stroked his chin thoughtfully before speaking. To be honest, I can't read him at all. This response made the others frown. But, Kase continued, I don't think we would lose out by working with him. He then summarized the events that had transpired at Orochimaru's base during their previous mission. I see. This clan head, Kuragami, is quite the figure. Sairu Inuzuka mused. So, should we fully align ourselves with the Uchiha? Tatsuo Inuzuka, the last jonin present, asked. Not necessarily. Kenshiro Inuzuka said, picking up the invitation. Since clan head Kuragami sent this under the name of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, he's leaving us some room to maneuver. Tatsuo, select the 20 most promising newly matured ninja hounds and present them as a gift to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force from our clan. That's not enough. Sairu Inuzuka suddenly interjected. In addition to that, choose a few talented trainers and ninja hound handlers from within our clan and have them officially join the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. If possible, negotiate to secure a few permanent positions in the force for our clan members each year. Kenshiro and Yuzuka was surprised. Elder, wouldn't that make it obvious that we're siding with the Uchiha? If clan head Kuragami is showing such sincerity, it wouldn't hurt to show some sincerity in return. Sire, when Yuzuka replied. This. Elder, isn't this a bit too hasty? Kenshiro and Yuzuka hesitated. Normally, the elder was always urging him to be cautious, so why was he suddenly taking such an aggressive stance? Kenshiro, do you know why I've always emphasized caution when making decisions? Sire, when Yuzuka asked, looking directly at him. It's because, while our clan has a long history dating back to the Warring States period, we are ultimately just a small clan with a hidden jutsu for training ninja hounds. Unlike clans with KK Genkai, they have inherent combat power while we have survived by being careful, accumulating enough wealth and influence so that when an opportunity arises, we have something to bet on. 381 years ago, our ancestors took a chance by siding with the Senju clan, which led to the prosperity of the Yuzuka today. Now, another opportunity stands before us. Sire, when Yuzuka continued. Do you have that much confidence in this new clan head? Tatsuo and Yuzuka asked. Call it the intuition of an old man who lived through the Warring States period. Sire, when Yuzuka chuckled. Then he turned to Keiz and Yuzuka. What do you think? Following clan head Kuragami, huh? Doesn't sound like a bad idea. Keiz grinned. We've been stuck on the outskirts of village politics for too long. If the Nara, Yamanaka, and Akimaki clans could rise to power, why can't we? Chapter 39, The Yuzuka Clan. The next day, Kuragami Uchiha went to the Hidden Lee Village military police force to arrange some work. As the agreed time on the invitation approached, he took his prepared gifts and set off toward the Yuzuka clan's territory. Inside the Yuzuka clan's compound, preparations had already been completed. One had to admit that the cohesion of the Yuzuka clan was remarkably strong. After the clan's decision-maker made the decision last night to go all in on siding with the Uchiha clan, the entire clan had mobilized early in the morning to prepare for Kuragami Uchiha's arrival. At the entrance of the Yuzuka clan's compound, the road was paved with yellow soil and clean water was splashed on the streets, which was a grand gesture of welcome. When Kuragami Uchiha arrived, he saw that the Yuzuka clan's head, along with 3 jonin and their grand elder, were all waiting for him at the entrance. The scene almost gave Kuragami Uchiha the feeling of a leader inspecting his subordinates in his past life. All that was missing were banners hanging over the Yuzuka gates. Seeing this level of reception, Kuragami Uchiha immediately understood the Yuzuka clan's stance. They had had enough of their marginal position in the village and were now looking to rise in influence. As soon as Kuragami Uchiha arrived, Kenshiro and Yuzuka took the lead, along with the others, to greet him. Kuragami Uchiha smiled and said, I apologize for coming unannounced and troubling you all. Clan head, Kuragami, not at all. Your visit brings great honor to our Yuzuka clan. Kenshiro and Yuzuka responded with a smile. After shaking hands with the clan heads, when it was Kei's and Yuzuka's turn, he laughed heartily and said, Clan head Kuragami, I still remember how well you hosted me when we were on the mission before. Now that you've came to the Yuzuka clan, you must allow me the chance to return the favor. Clan head Kuragami, please. They escorted Kuragami Uchiha into the clan's reception hall. Not long after they sat down, servants came in and served tea. Kenshiro and Yuzuka, who was sitting in the main seat, asked. May I ask what the purpose of the clan head Kuragami's visit today is? Kuragami Uchiha replied, Here's the situation. Recently, the Hidden Lee Village military police force recruited a batch of new members. Their strength is decent, and they train diligently, but ultimately, they lack the Sharingan. When it comes to chasing criminals or searching for contraband, they struggle to keep up. During my last mission, Brother Kei's mentioned that your esteemed clan was considering selling a batch of trained ninja hounds to the Hidden Lee Village military police force. So, the Hidden Lee Village military police force wishes to purchase a batch of well-trained ninja hounds from your clan. The Hidden Lee Village military police force is essential for maintaining the peace and security of the village. As part of the village, our Yuzuka clan is, of course, willing to offer our full support. There is no need for such talk of purchasing. Kenshiro and Yuzuka said, waving his hand. Tomorrow, we will personally deliver a selection of our finest adult ninja hounds to the Hidden Lee Village military police force. That would be fantastic. Kuragami Uchiha said with a smile. And clan head in Yuzuka, please rest assured, once these ninja hounds join the Hidden Lee Village military police force, they will be given official police dog status. Each dog will receive a monthly stipend of 30,000 ryo, provided in the form of food. The Hidden Lee Village military police force will ensure that every single coin of that budget is used for the dogs. 30,000 ryo. Kenshiro and Yuzuka, standing nearby, was stunned. In the Yuzuka clan, only the most elite ninja hounds, Those that formed lifelong contracts with their human partners and mastered the clan's hidden jutsus, received this level of treatment. Now, would even ordinary ninja hounds get the same treatment? To be honest, with a guaranteed 30,000 ryo monthly allowance, even some of their mid-ranking ninjas and special jonin might be tempted to become police dogs themselves. It seems that clan head Kuragami is a true dog lover. Kenshiro Inuzuka chuckled. I was initially worried that our ninja hounds wouldn't receive proper care at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, but I see now that my concerns were unnecessary. But, Keizen Yuzuka interjected, does the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force have people who can properly care for these ninja hounds? Clan head Kuragami, looking after ninja hounds isn't as easy as taking care of some noble's pet dog. That's true. Kuragami Uchiha admitted. Most of my clan members might be fine looking after cats, but when it comes to dogs, especially elite ninja hounds, they would probably struggle. Kuragami then turned to Kenshiro Inuzuka. I wonder if clan head Inuzuka would be willing to help us a little further? What do you mean, clan head Kuragami? Kenshiro Inuzuka asked, feigning ignorance. Of course, he already understood perfectly well. The Inuzuka clan had already chosen the people they planned to send to work at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, but he was waiting for Kuragami Uchiha to personally make the request. After all, there was a big difference between volunteering people and being formally invited. Kuragami Uchiha knew this too. The Inuzuka clan had already made a grand gesture with their welcoming ceremony. The whole event, with its yellow soil-paved roads and freshly cleaned streets, had likely already been reported to Hiruzen Saratobi and those two old geezers. The Inuzuka clan had shown their stance, and Kuragami Uchiha had no problem returning the favor. After all, the Inuzuka clan was the first to stand with them. Even if this was just a symbolic gesture, Kuragami Uchiha was willing to pay a hefty price for it. Besides, they were providing much-needed specialists for the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force would like to formally hire professional dog trainers, veterinarians, and ninja hound handlers from your esteemed clan. After all, specialized tasks should be handled by professionals. And in the entire shinobi world, I can't think of anyone better suited to the job than the Inuzuka clan. Kuragami Uchiha said with a smile. As for compensation, trainers and veterinarians are considered technical specialists. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is offering them a salary equivalent to a team leader, 180,000 ryo per month. Ninja hound handlers will be assigned to combat roles and will receive salaries based on their rank. Currently, within the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, Chunin earns 180,000 ryo per month, while Special Jonin earns 300,000 ryo. Before Kenshiro Inuzuka could respond, Keizen Yuzuka eagerly leaned forward. What about Jonin? He asked. The pay Kuragami Uchiha was offering was tempting. Even though he's a Jonin, he rarely earned 300,000 ryo a month. Case. Don't just blurt things out. Kenshiro Inuzuka scolded. Haha, brother Case is as straightforward as ever. Kuragami Uchiha chuckled. For Jonin, the base salary is 400,000 ryo. With mission bonuses and other allowances, it's not hard to earn around 600,000 ryo a month. I trust brother Case's skills completely. Ahem. Kenshiro Inuzuka suddenly coughed. Clan head Kuragami, let's return to the main topic. The Inuzuka clan is willing to cooperate with the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. We will deliver the ninja hounds this afternoon, and our clan members assigned to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force will report for duty tomorrow. There's no rush. Kuragami Uchiha said. Since the Inuzuka clan is willing to contribute to Hidden Leaf Village's security, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force should express our gratitude properly. As for what form that gratitude will take, you'll find out when the ninja hounds arrive at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force tomorrow. Then, we leave it in your hands, clan head Uchiha. Kenshiro Inuzuka said. Haha, there's no need for such formality. We're all doing this for Hidden Leaf Village, for the will of fire. Kuragami Uchiha laughed. Chapter 40. The Aburame clan is stunned the next day, when Keizen Yuzuka arrived at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters with 7 clan members and 20 ninja hounds. He was completely taken aback by the scene in front of him. The usually intimidating and unwelcoming Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force was now brightly decorated with banners and ornaments. Hanging above the main entrance was a massive red banner with golden lettering that read, Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force Canine Donation and Establishment of the Inuzuka Clan Special Police Dog Training Base. At the entrance, Kuragami Uchiha and Fugaku Uchiha stood formally dressed beneath the banner. Alongside them, dozens of off-duty Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force members stood in perfect formation. This overwhelming display left Keizen Yuzuka bewildered. He had originally planned to simply deliver the specially trained police dogs and a few promising young clan members while also securing a position for himself in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. However, the grand ceremony being held in their honor made him suddenly feel not formal enough in his standard Hidden Leaf Village flak jacket. His fellow Inuzuka clan members also started feeling as though their attire was far too casual for the occasion. Just as they were processing the situation, Kuragami Uchiha and Fugaku Uchiha led a group forward to greet them. "Brother Kase, we've been eagerly waiting for you all." Kuragami Uchiha warmly grasped Kase Inuzuka's hand before turning to greet the other Inuzuka members and shake hands with them one by one before speaking. "Welcome, friends from the Inuzuka clan to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force." After the greetings, Kuragami turned to a subordinate. "Saito, take our new comrades to get changed." "Understood." Saito Uchiha responded, then turned to the Inuzuka group. "Please follow me." Under Saito's guidance, the 8 Inuzuka clan members and their 20 dogs entered the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. When they re-emerged shortly after, they were clad in official Hidden Leaf Village military police force uniforms. Kase Inuzuka had even donned a leader-level police vest, while the 20 ninja hounds were outfitted with specialized gear. Once properly attired, Saito Uchiha led them to stand under the banner, where Kuragami Uchiha awaited. Kuragami personally pinned police badges onto the 8 new officers, then affixed custom identification tags onto the 20 police dogs. Among them, Kase Inuzuka's personal partner, Sumimaru, was honored with the special ID number 00001. Standing before the gathered audience, Kuragami Uchiha proudly declared, "On behalf of the entire Hidden Leaf Village military police force, I officially welcome the Inuzuka clan and their loyal canine partners." The moment was immortalized as cameras captured a handshake between Kuragami Uchiha and Kase Inuzuka, cementing this historic alliance. The news of the ceremony quickly reached the Hokage's office and the major ninja clans of Hidden Leaf Village. Among them, the Aburame clan's head was completely stunned. Just like the Inuzuka, they, too, had received a personal invitation from Kuragami Uchiha that night. However, unlike the Inuzuka, who swiftly decided to fully align with the Uchiha, the Aburame clan had hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Their fear was understandable. After all, not long ago, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had delivered Trun Aburame's corpse to their doorstep. Now, Kuragami Uchiha had personally reached out to them, and the intent behind it was impossible to decipher. Strictly speaking, the Aburame clan was also a victim in this matter. Years ago, Denzo had forcibly taken Trun Aburame when he was a child to serve in the route, essentially blackmailing the clan into submission. Since then, Trun had rarely interacted with them. However, Trun had used their clan's hidden jutsus to carry out Denzo's dirty work, making countless enemies along the way. Unlike Fu Yamanaka, another of Denzo's top operatives, Aburame's insect-based jutsu was instantly recognizable. Any clan that had suffered at Denzo's hands but dared not confront him directly would inevitably hold a grudge against the Aburame clan. Because of this, the Aburame clan had spent years keeping a low profile in Hidden Leaf Village. But now, Kuragami Uchiha, a man who had single-handedly eliminated Denzo, was rising to power at an alarming rate. The once feared Shimura clan, which had rapidly expanded over the past few decades, was now on the verge of collapse. Their clan head had been arrested by the Uchiha Hidden Leaf Village military police force, and his fate remained unknown. To make matters worse, when the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had delivered Trun's corpse, they had made sure to highlight the cause of death, a single strike from the legendary blade, Swift Thunder. This weapon was feared throughout the village, hidden in the mist. It is known as the bloodless blade and pierces the heart without a single drop of blood spilling. This meant that Trun had attempted to assassinate Kuragami Uchiha and failed. With a clear pretext for revenge, Kuragami Uchiha now had every reason to move against the Aburame clan. And the worst part? There was nothing they could do about it. Although the Aburame was considered a prestigious ninja clan with more jonin than the Inuzuka clan, they had been powerless against Denzo. What chance did they have against the Uchiha, now stronger than ever? All they could do was sit, anxiously waiting for Kuragami Uchiha to make his move. After finishing the ceremony, Kuragami Uchiha remained in his office until the end of the workday and then clocked out right on time. When he arrived home, he found Sasuke already there, sitting in the dining room and enjoying a plate of snacks prepared by his housekeeper, Keiko. "Teacher, you're back." Sasuke perked up at the sound of Kuragami entering. "Yo, Sasuke. You came early today." Kuragami replied with a chuckle. After 2 days of lessons, the two had grown more familiar with each other. Sasuke was a quick learner, memorizing everything Kuragami taught him verbatim. More importantly, he was starting to grasp the deeper meaning behind these teachings. Soon, the two settled into their lesson for the evening. As Kuragami finished explaining the phrase "do not do unto others what you do not wish for yourself," he closed the book. This marked the end of Sasuke's introductory studies, a curriculum personally compiled by Kuragami using selections from the 3-character classic, 1000-character classic, and Analects of Confucius. "Alright, Sasuke, that's all for today," Kuragami said. "Yes, teacher." Sasuke nodded. Then, hesitantly, he asked, "What are we learning tomorrow?" "Tomorrow?" Kuragami smiled. "Starting tomorrow, you won't need to come for a while. I have some personal matters to attend to." Sasuke froze for a moment, then lowered his head in disappointment. "Oh. Okay." Despite only a few days together, Sasuke had come to really enjoy Kuragami's lessons, especially the fascinating stories Kuragami weave. Now that their lessons were paused, he can only reluctantly accept it. Seeing this, Kuragami patted Sasuke's head and said with a grin, "I have an assignment for you, Sasuke." "What is it, teacher?" Sasuke asked, looking up. "During this time, I want you to reflect on everything I've taught you. Then, use those lessons to observe the world around you," Kuragami explained. "When you start realizing that these teachings alone cannot fully explain the things happening in the world, that's when you should come back to me. When that time comes," he added with a knowing smile, "I'll teach you something new." Chapter 41, Visits at Aburame clan's territory. Since he had already decided to take Sasuke Uchiha as his disciple, Kuragami Uchiha was naturally committed to teaching him well. Choosing Confucian classics as Sasuke's introductory readings was a carefully considered decision. First, Sasuke was not yet 7 years old, and given his older brother's history of overthinking things from a young age, it was crucial to establish a simple and solid moral foundation for him. Therefore, it is particularly important to establish a relatively simple moral concept first and let the child know which characters are good and bad. In other words, it was important to first establish his outward moral framework. When Sasuke eventually realized that this framework alone could not fully explain the world he perceived, he would naturally experience confusion. That would be the right moment to teach him deeper truths, filling in the substance behind the outward structure. In this era, the relationship between a master and a disciple was no less significant than that between a biological father and son. Since he had accepted Sasuke as a disciple, Sasuke would also be qualified to inherit his political resources in the future. Naturally, Kuragami would not raise Sasuke into a mere scholar full of Confucian rhetoric but lacking real insight. After Sasuke left, Kuragami Uchiha also took his sword, Swift Thunder, and headed out. Shortly after, in the Aburame clan's territory, the clan head, Shibi Aburame, received reports from the scouting insects stationed around their territory. Learning that Kuragami Uchiha was heading their way, he immediately became alert and swiftly gathered the elite jonin of the clan. The Aburame clan's territory was even more remote than the area the Uchiha clan had relocated to after the Nine Tails Rebellion. Walking down the dimly lit path, where only the moonlight provided some visibility, Kuragami Uchiha moved at a steady pace, his sword Swift Thunder hanging at his waist. The faint chakra fluctuations from the surrounding bushes did not escape his keen eyes, but he paid them no mind. Soon, he arrived at the entrance of the Aburame clan's territory. At the gate, a ninja wearing the clan's signature dark sunglasses stood guard. Kuragami greeted him with a warm tone, "Please inform your clan head that Kuragami Uchiha has come for a visit." "Understood, please wait a moment." The gatekeeper responded before heading inside. Kuragami waited patiently, and before long, Shibi Aburame himself arrived, accompanied by 2 jonin. "Apologies for keeping the clan head Kuragami waiting," Shibi said while bowing respectfully. "There's no need for such formality, clan head Shibi. In fact, I should be the one apologizing for visiting at such a late hour," Kuragami replied with a smile. "Besides, you don't have to be so formal. Today, I am here in a personal capacity." "Then please, come inside," Shibi invited, gesturing toward the estate. After following them inside, Kuragami took a moment to observe the surroundings. It was evident that the Aburame clan's situation had been difficult in recent years. Even their guest hall, which should serve as the face of the clan, appeared somewhat modest and underwhelming. "Our clan's accommodations are humble compared to the Uchiha, I hope you won't mind," Shibi remarked. After they were seated, he signaled for a servant to bring tea. Following some small talk, he finally asked, "May I ask what brings you here at this late hour, clan head Kuragami?" "Our Hidden Leaf Village military police force, under orders from the 3rd Hokage, is conducting a thorough investigation into the traitor Denzo Shimura and his criminal gang," Kuragami explained. "Recently, we have made significant progress. However, as you know, Denzo's influence has been deeply rooted for many years, entangling various factions within the village. The third Hokage has repeatedly emphasized the importance of handling this matter with extreme caution to maintain the village's stability. That is the reason for my visit tonight. Upon hearing this, Shibi's expression grew serious. He sighed deeply before responding, "Is this about Rune? He was taken to Root at a very young age, and since then, our clan has had no contact with him." "I understand." Kuragami nodded. "Back then, we were aware of Denzo's coercion tactics, forcibly recruiting talented ninjas from various clans. I'm relieved that you understand," Shibi said with some relief. "But..." Kuragami's tone suddenly shifted, making Shibi tense up again. Truna Burim held a high-ranking position in the Root, conservatively estimated to be second or third in command, directly under Denzo. According to our Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's investigation, he played a crucial role in many of Denzo's criminal operations, including orchestrating assassinations of fellow Hidden Leaf Village ninjas and kidnapping children from clans with KK Genkai. Furthermore, when we attempted to apprehend him, he violently resisted arrest and attempted to destroy the evidence. That alone is an additional crime. Shibi broke into a cold sweat upon hearing this. After a long silence, he finally spoke again. "Clan head Kuragami, I assure you that the Aburame clan had no knowledge of Drune's actions. Please believe in our innocence. From a ninja clan's perspective, I do understand," Kuragami said calmly, taking a sip of tea. "After all, no clan can guarantee that none of its members will go astray. Besides, Drune was taken away as a child and brainwashed by Denzo, a man inherently corrupt." However, Kuragami placed his teacup down and locked eyes with Shibi. "My understanding alone isn't enough. The village needs to understand this as well." "What do you mean?" Shibi asked, puzzled. "You should be well aware of the temperament of Hidden Leaf Village's villagers," Kuragami said, placing a document on the table in front of Shibi. The moment Shibi picked it up and read it, his pupils shrank beneath his sunglasses. The document detailed Drune's crimes within the Root. If this evidence were to be made public, the villagers wouldn't care about the nuances of the situation, they would simply blame the entire Aburame clan. As the head of a mid-sized ninja clan, Shibi knew all too well how brutal public opinion in Hidden Leaf Village could be. Even the once revered White Fang was driven to suicide by village rumors. If this backlash turned toward their relatively small Aburame clan, could they withstand it? "Clan head Kuragami, what should the Aburame clan do?" Shibi asked solemnly. "I've already said that I personally believe in your clan's innocence," Kuragami said with a slight smile. "But if you want the village to believe it too, the Aburame clan must show its stance clearly." Chapter 42, Choosing Between Loyalty and Survival. "Please, clan head Kuragami, I seek your guidance." Shibi Aburame spoke with respect. "I wouldn't call it guidance," Kuragami Uchiha replied with a casual smile. "After all, when it comes to managing a clan, I'm still a newcomer compared to an experienced clan head like yourself." Shibi remained silent as Kuragami continued. "However, if I put myself in your shoes, I do have a suggestion." "I'm listening." "What the village and its people want to see, more than anything, is a clear stance," Kuragami stated. Even if the Aburame clan presents undeniable proof that they had no connection to Denzo's criminal activities, the villagers still wouldn't believe it. After a pause, Kuragami's gaze sharpened as he said with a smirk, "And what better way to prove your innocence than by personally taking part in crushing Denzo Shimura's criminal organization?" Silence filled the room. Shibi fell in deep thought for a long moment before finally exhaling a weary sigh. "I understand." Turning to a nearby Shino Aburame, he instructed, "Bring Torjin here." Inside, Shibi felt helpless. The Aburame clan's insect-controlling hidden jutsus had always made them highly valuable for reconnaissance and assassinations. Since the Warring States period, they had been hounded by the ambitions of power-hungry men. If not for their unique KK Genkai, which allowed only those of their lineage to communicate with the insects, they might have been wiped out long ago. That was why when Senju Hashirama proposed the founding of the Hidden Leaf Village, the Aburame clan was among the first to pledge allegiance. But peace was short-lived. After the deaths of the first and second Hokage, men like Denzo had emerged from the shadows, setting their sights on the Aburame clan. Now, Denzo is gone. And yet, Kuragami Uchiha stood before him, and Shibi suspected he had the same intentions. Over the years, the Aburame clan had developed a survival tactic. Whenever they faced an offer they couldn't refuse, they would offer up a promising young clan member in exchange for a period of peace and protection. Soon, a young boy, no more than 8 or 9 years old, was led into the room. He wore dark sunglasses and a face covering, making his expression unreadable. Kuragami frowned. "Clan head Shibi, what is the meaning of this?" Torjin possesses a rare KK Genkai mutation, giving him an exceptional affinity with nano-sized venomous beetles. He will represent the Aburame by joining the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. "What do you think?" Kuragami sighed, shaking his head. I believe there's been a misunderstanding. I invited your clan's ninja to serve in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, not a child who hasn't even finished the academy. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force does not employ child labor. Shibi blinked in surprise. What? Weren't ambitious leaders like Denzo supposed to cultivate subordinates from childhood? Kuragami's expression darkened. Clan head Shibi. Do you take me for someone like Denzo? The air in the room grew heavy. Shibi immediately bowed his head. I overstepped. Please forgive me, clan head Kuragami. He gestured for the boy to leave. Kuragami exhaled. You know, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's role requires frequent direct interaction with the villagers. During law enforcement, misunderstandings are inevitable, and rumors will always exist. However, our guiding principle has always been to serve the village under the will of fire, and thus, we have never concerned ourselves with baseless gossip. I did not expect, however, that such rumors would cause you to misjudge my intentions. You are a model ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village, upholding the will of fire. Shibi quickly responded. I was too small-minded to think otherwise. Kuragami waved a hand dismissively. Forget it. It's not your fault. If anyone is to blame, it's the wretched Denzo, who once forced the Aburame clan to surrender their most talented clan members. No wonder you mistook my intentions. Kuragami casually pinned all the blame on Denzo. Shibi immediately nodded in agreement. Yes, yes. Damn that bastard Denzo Shimura. Kuragami chuckled. Now then, clan head Shibi, consider my proposal. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force offers generous benefits to talented ninjas. And in light of the current circumstances, what could be more effective in dispelling the villagers' doubts than a leader from the Aburame clan leading the charge to dismantle Denzo's criminal gang? Shibi hesitated but ultimately relented. I understand. I will assign a Jonin from my clan, along with some skilled special Jonin and Chunin, to serve in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. The terms were indeed favorable. Shibi had heard of the benefits given to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, and Kuragami's sincerity was undeniable. More importantly, at this moment, they had no other choice. Just as Shibi was about to close the discussion, Kuragami added with a smirk, however, appointing a leader outright, without any accomplishments to their name, may lead to some resistance from within the force. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force isn't run by my orders alone, after all. Shibi understood immediately. The Aburame will ensure our clan members prove themselves worthy of the position. Kuragami waved off the suggestion. No need to go through all that trouble. In the interest of stability, and as fellow ninja clans, we Uchiha wouldn't want to see the Aburame suffer any unnecessary hardships. That's why I've already prepared a suitable accomplishment, one that will earn them the respect they need. It's also the reason I came here personally rather than through official channels. As he spoke, Kuragami placed a stack of documents before Shibi. Shibi's hand trembled as he flipped through them. His covered face revealed nothing, but the slight quiver in his hand betrayed his emotions. The evidence before him contained not only further damning crimes committed by Denzo but also implicating ties to the Midokado and Uchiha clans, making cold sweat drip down Shibi's back. If the evidence had only concerned the fallen Shimura clan, he wouldn't have hesitated. Denzo's faction had already been destroyed, reduced to nothing more than stray dogs. But with the involvement of the two other clans, Shibi realized that if the Aburame clan wanted to clear their name, they would have to offer something substantial in return. And this, he finally understood, was Kuragami Uchiha's true purpose. Chapter 43, Kakashi's Growth. Shibi Aburame took a deep breath. Kuragami Uchiha had essentially placed two choices before them. Either join the Uchiha faction now or side with the Hokage. The days of sending one or two talented clan members as a token gesture to stay uninvolved were over. Clan head Kuragami, I'd like to confirm one more thing. After a moment of silence, Shibi Aburame removed his sunglasses and looked directly at Kuragami Uchiha. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force will not be recruiting children who haven't graduated from the academy, correct? Of course. Kuragami Uchiha immediately caught on to Shibi Aburame's concern and responded with a smile. As someone who was sent to the battlefield at the age of 9, while I have gained prestige from my achievements. However, I still think my experience was absolute bullshit. After speaking from the heart, Kuragami Uchiha, who had been formal and respectful since entering, even let out a curse, making it clear he wasn't putting on an act. Children should be in the academy at their age, learning. Wouldn't you agree, clan head Shibi? He continued, smiling as he met Shibi Aburame's gaze. I understand now. Shibi Aburame nodded solemnly. Although he had grown up under the remnants of the second Hokage's policies before figures like Denzo had fully risen, he had still witnessed firsthand how his own kin, Truna Aburame, was forcibly taken by Denzo from their previous clan head. On the very first day, Shibuya Burame became clan head. His predecessor took him to the clan shrine to show him the history of their clan. It was there that he saw the names of those who had been taken away as children and officially exiled from the clan. Truna Burame's name was the last on that list. Remember these names. His predecessor had told him sternly before the clan emblem, because it was only by their sacrifice, by willingly stepping into the darkness, that our clan was able to survive in the light. If you ever face the same choice, even if it's your own child, you must not hesitate. Those words had left a deep impact on Shibuya Burame. However, he had always doubted whether such sacrifices were truly necessary. After all, in the era of the first and second Hokage, the clan had thrived without resorting to such means. Now, hearing Kuragami Uchiha's promise, Shibuya Burame's heart was moved. During the Third Shinobi World War, he fought in the Land of Water, where the Uchiha clan was most active. Unlike others, he was well aware of Kuragami Uchiha's strength. This was a man who had single-handedly annihilated 15 elite Hidden Mist Village Jonin squads years ago, and on top of that, Shibuya had seen Kuragami's Mangekyo Sharingan at the village gates that day. To him, this was a ninja whose power was on par with the first Hokage himself. And now, this man was offering his clan a promise. Having made his decision, Shibuya Burame picked up the evidence of the three traitorous clans from the table and declared, from this day forward, the Burame clan follows the Uchiha clan. Clan head Shibuya, you are a wise man. Kuragami Uchiha smiled and snapped his fingers. A small bolt of lightning crackled, igniting the evidence regarding Truna Burame. Within moments, it turned to ashes. Have your people report to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force tomorrow. As for when we'll act, wait for my orders. Understood. Shibuya Burame nodded and personally escorted Kuragami to the door. Meanwhile, at Yakiniku, the largest barbecue restaurant owned by the Akimaki clan, a grand gathering was taking place. Kakashi Hatake's official retirement from the Anbu had been announced that day. From now on, he was no longer part of the organization. The first thing Kakashi did after retiring was invite most of the Anbu members he had worked with over the years for a meal to thank them for their support. He had rented out the entire Yakiniku for the occasion, inviting a total of 60 people, the weakest among them being at least special Jonin. However, most of them were either civilians or belonged to smaller ninja clans like High-8 Gecko. As the largest barbecue restaurant in the village, Yakiniku wasn't as extravagant as the high-end restaurant Kuragami Uchiha had once taken them to during a mission, but it was still far from cheap. With Anbu salaries, eating there occasionally was manageable, but frequent visits would be hard on their wallets. That's why everyone who was invited came without hesitation. During the meal, Kakashi raised his glass, clearing his throat. Seeing this, everyone else put down their chopsticks. Everyone, during my time in Anbu, I've received a lot of help from you all. Although I have now retired, I will always remember the time we worked together. Leader Kakashi, there's no need for such words. A civilian ninja spoke up. It's us who should be thanking you for all your guidance. If it weren't for you, I would have died on several missions. That's not right. Kakashi shook his head. As the squad leader, it was my duty to protect my team. I know my own personality well. On missions, I've often ignored others' feelings. Some may even see me as cold and unapproachable. Before I officially retire, I just want to say thank you for enduring my attitude and ensuring our missions went smoothly. I offer this toast to you all. With that, Kakashi removed his mask and solemnly drank his cup of sake. Seeing this, the others followed suit, downing their drinks in unison. At that moment, Seiichi Nagai, who had already sworn loyalty to Kuragami Uchiha and had an inkling of Kakashi's ties to him, stood up. Kakashi's words make me feel ashamed. Seiichi said. Clearly, it was our lack of ability that forced him to bear so much responsibility, yet he still blames himself. What is the will of fire? This is the will of fire. Everyone, I propose a toast to Leader Kakashi. Though he has retired, we will never forget what he has done for us. With another round of drinks, Ritokuramu, who had also participated in the hunt for Orochimaru, stood up. Though we are reluctant to see Leader Kakashi retire, we must still wish him good health and victory in all his future endeavors. As the night went on, sake flowed, cups were emptied, and refilled. The reflection of the alcohol shimmered on Kakashi's face. For the first time in his life, Kakashi willingly removed his mask in front of so many people. By the time the gathering ended, everyone was slightly drunk. Kakashi watched as they left one by one until he was the only one remaining in the vast Yakiniku. He sat there alone for a while before finally standing up and leaving. As he stepped outside, his hand instinctively reached for his mask, but after a moment's thought, he put it away. Carrying the food he had packed for Naruto, Kakashi walked toward the Hatake residence. Chapter 44, Visiting Rechi Cave, Kuragami Uchiha returned home, freshened up briefly, and then returned to his bedroom, bit his finger, and formed the hand seals for the summoning jutsu. As a puff of smoke cleared, a small white snake appeared before him. Please inform Rechi Cave that Kuragami Uchiha has came to visit. Kuragami playfully stroked the small white snake before speaking. The little snake disappeared instantly. Before long, Kuragami sensed the spatial fluctuations of a reverse summoning jutsu beside him. He relaxed his mind, and in the blink of an eye, he was transported to a peculiar place. The scene before him resembled the ancient towns he had seen in his past life, like a tourist attraction. Rows of traditional buildings stood closely together, exuding an air of antiquity. A massive gateway bore the name Rechi Cave in bold characters. Standing beneath the gateway was Orochimaru, accompanied by a woman dressed in a shrine maiden's outfit and a magatama necklace hanging around her neck. Kuragami-sama. Orochimaru greeted him respectfully while the woman beside him observed Kuragami with great interest. Moments later, the woman spoke. Kuragami Uchiha, welcome to Rechi Cave. Hello, how should I address you? Kuragami asked with a smile. I am Taegriheim. The shrine maiden chuckled. The white snake sage is already aware of your visit. However, to meet the white snake sage, you must first pass Rechi Cave's test. I understand. Kuragami nodded and followed Taegriheim's lead. As they walked deeper into the ancient city, Orochimaru suddenly formed a seal and cancelled his summoning. He's not coming along? Kuragami asked curiously. This path can only be taken once in a lifetime. Taegriheim explained as they walked. Although Orochimaru-kun is a partner of Rechi Cave, he has already attempted this challenge once and failed. That means he has permanently lost the qualification to enter. I see. But are you so certain of my purpose here? Kuragami asked, intrigued. I've heard that Mount Mayabaku has a great toad sage who can foresee the future. Does the white snake sage have similar abilities? Don't compare us to those filthy toads from Mount Mayabaku. Taegriheim said with a displeased expression. My mistake. Kuragami chuckled as he apologized. The white snake sage does not possess the same foresight as that old toad. Taegriheim explained after glancing at Kuragami. However, it is easy to deduce your reason for coming here. For thousands of years, people have only come to Rechi Cave for two reasons, to seek a summoning jutsu or to learn sage jutsu. She continued. Unlike Orochimaru-kun, who came here before his power was fully developed, your combat style is already well established. Without learning certain jutsus, most of the contracted snakes in Rechi Cave wouldn't be able to keep up with your level of battle. So, your goal can only be the latter. Kuragami simply nodded in response and continued following Taegriheim. What kind of test does Rechi Cave have for those who wish to learn sage jutsu? Kuragami asked. Is it about character or morality? If so, I doubt I'd pass. Kuragami-san, you must be joking. Rechi Cave treats all seekers the same. Taegriheim smiled. The only thing we test for is whether the individual can adapt to nature energy. As for things like character or willpower, we don't care about those. I see. No wonder people say that this place is only for those who are obsessed with power. Kuragami remarked with a laugh. I'll take that as a compliment. Taegriheim responded. Besides, you wouldn't have come here unless you were already prepared, right? Fair point. Kuragami nodded. So, when does the test begin? Taegriheim led Kuragami into a building resembling a grand dining hall. She clapped her hands, and soon, several young women arrived, serving a table full of exquisite dishes. Kuragami-san, before the trial begins, please enjoy Rechi Cave's hospitality. Taegriheim said with a smile. Oh? Kuragami took a seat without hesitation and picked up the utensils. Seeing this, Taegriheim revealed a special smile. However, Taegriheim suddenly discovered that a sword with a light blue metallic luster was placed on her neck, and Kuragami on the dining table in front of her had disappeared without knowing it. What is the meaning of this, Kuragami-san? Despite having a sword to her throat, Taegriheim remained calm. Behind her, Kuragami's Mengekyo Sharingan spun slowly, its lightning-shaped pattern gleaming ominously. Your Genjutsu was quite convincing, but ever since I awakened these eyes, I see only absolute truth. I see. Taegriheim nodded, and then the surroundings began to shift. The lavishly decorated dining hall, along with the ancient town outside, dissolved into an eerie cavern. The so-called delicacies on the table faded away, revealing piles of bones. And Taegriheim's appearance changed as well. She reappeared a short distance away, her once serene and elegant demeanor replaced by a monstrous snake-like visage. Her vertical pupils radiated malice, and when she opened her mouth, sharp fangs and a long forked tongue were revealed, making Kuragami frown slightly. Chakra began to ripple around her, carrying a unique energy completely different from anyone Kuragami had encountered before. This is Sage Jutsu Chakra. Kuragami assumed a fighting posture and blue electric light began to gather around him, making a crackling sound. At that moment, a deep voice echoed from within the cave. Tashin, bring him directly to me. Against his visual jutsu, the rest of the test is meaningless. I understand, White Snake Sage. Tigreheim bowed toward the depths of the cave. Then, her face returned to its previous appearance, and she smiled apologetically at Kuragami. My apologies, Kuragami-san. This was merely part of the test. I understand. Kuragami nodded, sheathing his blade. So, that's the White Snake Sage? Yes. Please, follow me. Tigreheim gestured forward. Chapter 45, Snake Sage Mode. After Kuragami Uchiha saw through Richie Cave's Genjutsu, Tigreheim stopped maintaining it and simply walked deeper into the cave. Soon, two other girls dressed similarly to her arrived. The youngest-looking one, Akikishimaheim, one of Richie Cave's shrine maidens, glanced at Kuragami Uchiha with mild dissatisfaction and muttered, "It's so rare for someone to come for the trial, and this is what we get? How boring." Kuragami Uchiha wasn't bothered by her comment and simply continued following them. As they got closer to the White Snake Sage's dwelling, remnants of petrified human limbs began appearing along the cave walls. However, Kuragami Uchiha's expression remained unchanged. Akikishimaheim couldn't help but ask, "Aren't you curious about what these are?" "They're just the remains of those who failed the sage trial," Kuragami Uchiha said with a smile. "Anyone who seeks power must be prepared for failure." "You're quite clear-headed, Kuragami-san." Taijutsuime, the last of the three shrine maidens, said. "I hope you succeed in the final trial. Otherwise, we'll have no choice but to savor the taste of you." Before long, the three led Kuragami Uchiha to the deepest part of Richie Cave. Under the flickering, dim lights, a massive white snake was coiled on a throne. This white snake wore several golden rings inscribed with various symbols, and a large dragon horns atop its head signified that it was on the path to becoming a dragon. The three sages bowed in respect before the White Snake Sage. "All right, you three may leave. Let me have a good chat with Kuragami Uchiha," the White Snake Sage said, shifting its body slightly. The movement of its scales produced a soft rustling sound. "Yes." The three sages nodded and left. After a brief silence, the White Snake Sage spoke unhurriedly. "You are the first descendant of Indra to set foot here in many years." "Indra?" Kuragami Uchiha asked, pretending not to know. "Is that one of our Uchiha ancestors?" "That's correct. Indra is the very origin of your Uchiha Kekkei Genkai," the White Snake Sage explained. "So he's our first ancestor?" Kuragami Uchiha nodded. "That makes sense. No wonder they say the sages of the three great lands have incredibly long lifespans." "No, I did not interact much with Indra. I only know of his history," the White Snake Sage clarified. "After all, he was the founder of Ninja Creed and one of the Sage of Six Paths' two sons." "So we Uchiha are actually descendants of the legendary Sage of Six Paths?" Kuragami Uchiha mused. "That is correct," the White Snake Sage confirmed. "I never thought I'd one day be called the descendant of a sage." A playful expression appeared on Kuragami Uchiha's face. "But why tell me all these secrets? Has Richie Cave grown restless and decided to interfere with the human world like Mount Mayabaku? Let me be clear, I'm nothing like Jiraiya, the only ninja in history who was controlled by his summoning beast. I won't waste my life chasing after some vague prophecy. No, Richie Cave has never cared about the human world," the White Snake Sage replied. "I was merely reminiscing. However, are you not curious about your ancestors' story? What's there to be curious about? Human history is just the same old story repeated over and over. Do you really think people from 10,000 years ago were any different from people today?" Kuragami Uchiha said indifferently. "Ha ha ha." The White Snake Sage chuckled at his response. "In all my years, though I spend most of my time asleep, I have occasionally witnessed the endless battles between the descendants of Indra and Asura. Many of them were truly extraordinary individuals. But you are the most unique among them. Asura? The ancestor of the Senju clan?" Kuragami Uchiha raised an eyebrow. "Yes. And the Uzumaki clan as well, they are also his descendants," the White Snake Sage added. "So we've been mortal enemies since ancient times, huh?" Kuragami Uchiha chuckled. "Our ancestors must have spilled each other's brains out for generations." The White Snake Sage continued, "I have seen many come seeking the power of the sage, but you are the first one I genuinely hope will succeed. You make me curious about what kind of future the shinobi world will have under your influence." The White Snake Sage fixed its gaze on him. "Stretch out your hand." Kuragami Uchiha extended his left hand and removed his wrist guard. The White Snake Sage slowly leaned forward and bit down on his wrist. A surge of violent nature energy poured from the White Snake Sage's fangs into Kuragami Uchiha's body. Kuragami Uchiha grunted, and within moments, snake scales appeared on his skin, his body began transforming, and his legs started turning to stone. The White Snake Sage calmly watched. Unlike Mount Myabaku, Rechi Cave did not care about a person's character or willpower. Nor did they have protective measures like the sacred oil fountain in Mount Myabaku that could expel excess nature energy. Every person who sought Sage Mode here had only one chance. Kuragami Uchiha was no exception, even if the White Snake Sage favored him. Just as the White Snake Sage assumed he would end up as another set of bones in Rechi Cave, Kuragami Uchiha's tightly shut eyes suddenly snapped open. The tomoe in his left eye spun wildly, and tears of blood flowed. In an instant, the chaotic chakra within him stabilized. The nature energy blended perfectly with his physical and spiritual energies, forming a seamless balance. The petrification on his legs rapidly receded, the snake scales vanished, and the serpent-like markings on his face faded away. However, in the center of his Mangekyo Sharingan's three lightning-shaped tomoe, a thin vertical slit appeared, like a snake's pupil. Around his eyes, a ring of purple markings emerged. Kuragami Uchiha wiped the blood from the corner of his eye, feeling the immense power of Sage Jutsu chakra coursing through him. At the same time, nature energy also nourished his drained Mangekyo Sharingan power. Unable to contain himself, he threw his head back and laughed. Chapter 46, Sage Jutsu. Kuragami Uchiha, surrounded by enemies outnumbering him dozens of times on the battlefield, awakened a unique visual jutsu called Deity Calamity's Amaterasu through sheer survival instinct. This ability allowed him to seize the tiniest sliver of opportunity, even in a seemingly inescapable death trap. When it came to learning Sage Mode, something that often required luck, this visual jutsu was practically the ultimate cheat code. Even if there was a 99% chance of failure, as long as there was even a 1% possibility of success, Kuragami Uchiha could grasp that chance with 100% certainty. Achieving a perfect Sage Mode upon initiation. Your talent is truly astonishing. The White Snake Sage remarked while looking at Kuragami. Now that you've mastered Sage Mode, the only thing left is to repeatedly practice refining your Senjutsu chakra at a faster rate. The bit of Senjutsu chakra that the White Snake Sage had infused into him quickly depleted, and Kuragami Uchiha exited Sage Mode. Thank you for your generosity, White Snake Sage. Kuragami said with a smile, satisfied with achieving his goal. No need for thanks. Rechi Cave grants every visitor a fair chance. Seizing that opportunity was your own capability. The White Snake Sage replied. Well then, I shall return to my slumber. If you need anything else, you can speak with Tigreheim and the others. I hope that when I awaken next time, this world will have changed at your hands. Since the White Snake Sage had said so, Kuragami Uchiha gave a slight bow and took his leave. Outside the cave, the three shrine maidens were still waiting for him. It seems Mr. Kuragami has successfully passed the final trial. Tigreheim said with a smile. Please follow us. Since you have now mastered Sage Mode, Rechi Cave can grant you access to some of its Sage Jutsu. Kuragami Uchiha nodded and followed them to a cavern. Inside here lies Rechi Cave's accumulated knowledge of Sage Jutsu over the years. Feel free to browse and transcribe any scrolls you wish to learn. Tigreheim said. There's no teacher? Kuragami raised an eyebrow slightly. But seeing the three of them simply smiling in silence, he understood. Unlike Mount Myabaku, where Sage Jutsu was taught systematically from initiation to mastery, Rechi Cave followed a hands-off approach. The jutsus were there for the taking, but whether one could actually learn them was up to the individual. Kuragami Uchiha entered the archive alone and picked out a few scrolls to examine. The Sage Jutsu varied widely. After some careful selection, he chose two. One was an auxiliary jutsu that enhanced the perception of nature energy fluctuations during Sage Mode, improving his large-scale sensory abilities, an area where he was previously lacking. The second jutsu, unique to Rechi Cave, allowed the user to harness and manipulate the nature energy for attacks. It was similar to Mount Myabaku's Frog Kata. As for the Sage Jutsu used by Kabuto Yakushi in the original timeline, as well as some other powerful jutsu, Kuragami ignored them. His combat system was already well established. Many of those jutsus either required collaboration with Rechi Cave's snakes or involved bodily modifications, neither of which interested him. With Senjutsu chakra now enhancing his lightning-style jutsus, their power had already skyrocketed. Instead of pursuing more high-damage jutsus, it was more beneficial to shore up his weaknesses. After finalizing his selections, Kuragami Uchiha dispelled the reverse summoning and left Rechi Cave. Meanwhile, at the Hatake clan's ancestral home, Naruto had been staying at Kakashi's house for 2 days, and the two had become more familiar with each other. When Naruto first moved in, He was somewhat reserved. But after 2 days, his mischievous nature resurfaced. Driven by curiosity, he was now determined to pull a prank, his ultimate goal? Unmasking Kakashi and finally seeing his face. To that end, he had spent the day preparing a foolproof trap while Kakashi was out. When Kakashi entered the house as usual, he called out, "I'm back." At that moment, a bucket of water came crashing down from above. A simple prank like this wouldn't work on a battle-hardened Jonin. If Kakashi hadn't been holding takeout food, he might have humored Naruto. But given the circumstances, he wasn't about to let himself get drenched. He swiftly dodged the falling bucket and sighed, "Naruto, cut it out with these childish tricks." But then, Naruto suddenly burst out from a closet, brandishing a water gun. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, he froze. Because today, Kakashi wasn't wearing his mask. You. Who are you?" Naruto pointed at him in shock. "Who else would I be?" Kakashi rolled his eyes. "Also, after dinner, make sure to clean up this mess. Don't try to fool me." Kakashi wouldn't take off his mask, not even when bathing. Naruto shouted. Kakashi's face darkened. He walked over and delivered a swift chop to Naruto's forehead. After a while, Naruto, now sporting a large bump on his head, sat quietly at the dinner table, stealing glances at Kakashi, who was casually reading a book. "Hey, Kakashi, why did you take off your mask all of a sudden?" Naruto finally asked. "No particular reason. Just didn't feel like wearing it anymore." Kakashi replied, not looking up. "Finish eating and clean up the mess at the entrance. Tomorrow's a holiday at the academy, right? I'll take you shopping." "Really? Awesome." Naruto cheered while eating. The next afternoon, after sleeping, the two finally headed out while teasing each other. However, as they entered the commercial district, Kakashi immediately sensed something was off. The atmosphere was strange. Everywhere they went, villagers cast sidelong glances at them. But rather than excitement or curiosity, it was avoidance. People were deliberately keeping their distance as if they were carrying some sort of plague. Chapter 47, The Troublesome Villagers. At first, Kakashi didn't pay much attention to the gazes he received, assuming it was just the villagers' fear of the Jinchuriki. Naruto, on the other hand, had long since grown accustomed to such treatment. As they arrived at a dango stall, Kakashi decided to buy something to fill their stomachs. However, the moment the stall owner looked up and saw Naruto hesitating in front of the stall, his expression immediately twisted with disgust. "You little demon fox brat, what are you doing here? You bring nothing but bad luck, no wonder business has been bad today." The stall owner shouted while waving his hand as if shooing away a fly. "Get lost already." Then, the stall owner turned and saw Kakashi standing beside Naruto, making his expression freeze instantly. Kakashi didn't say a word, but there was a fleeting glint of killing intent in his eyes. Over the years, he had heard rumors about how Naruto was treated, but he had always assumed it was just villagers keeping their distance out of fear of the Jinchuriki's power. However, now that he was witnessing it firsthand, he realized that what Naruto had been enduring was not just alienation but outright malice. Who are you?" The stall owner, an ordinary civilian, was completely overwhelmed by the mere hint of Kakashi's killing intent and stumbled backward in fear. However, when he noticed Kakashi's forehead protector, his confidence returned. After all, in this village, there was a strict rule that ninjas were not allowed to harm civilians. After regaining his courage, the stall owner loudly questioned, "Who are you to that demon fox brat? What do you want? Are you going to attack a civilian?" The commotion began to attract a crowd. Though most were wary of Kakashi's status as a ninja and didn't dare approach, they whispered among themselves, "Who was that guy? Never seen him around the demon fox brat before. Well, anyone who associates with that little monster can't be a good person. Quiet down, he's a ninja." "So what if he's a ninja? What, is he going to beat us up in the middle of the village?" "Humphrey. Even if that cursed demon fox brat has a ninja backing him up, we shouldn't be afraid. Yeah. As long as we stand together, Hokage-sama will support us." Kakashi heard every word of the murmuring crowd, and his expression darkened further. This was the son of the fourth Hokage, the man who had sacrificed his life to protect them during the Nine Tails Rebellion, and yet they treated his child like this? Thinking back to his own negligence toward Naruto over the years, Kakashi wanted to slap himself. "Forget it, Kakashi Naizen, let's just go." Naruto tugged at Kakashi's sleeve and whispered. Kakashi looked down at him, then turned to glare at the stall owner. He didn't speak, but this time, he unleashed his killing intent without restraint. The stall owner, who had just been acting arrogantly, instantly turned pale and stumbled backward in terror. Then he lost his balance, tripped over a chair, and fell flat on his backside. After a few seconds, Kakashi withdrew his killing intent and turned to leave with Naruto. However, the stall owner suddenly started wailing loudly, "Help! I'm being attacked. The demon fox brat and his companion are attacking a helpless civilian." The loud commotion quickly drew even more people, and soon, the street was packed with onlookers. Kakashi's expression tightened as he saw the growing crowd and their hostile gazes. He instinctively pulled Naruto closer to him. Just then, a voice cut through the noise from the edge of the crowd. "What's going on here? Don't crowd together like this, you'll cause a stampede." The spectators turned to see a patrol squad from the Hidden Leaf Village military police arriving. Seeing them, the crowd quickly made a path for them. Kakashi exhaled in relief when he recognized the leader of the patrol, Saito Uchiha. The Hidden Leaf Village military police force members began dispersing the crowd with their usual professional smiles while Saito approached Kakashi and gave him a respectful nod before turning to the stall owner. "What happened here?" Saito asked seriously. "Officer, you came just in time." The stall owner scrambled to his feet and began his complaint. "You need to arrest this ninja. He attacked me. He's with that demon fox brat. You should arrest them both." "Kakashi Naizen didn't hit you," Naruto protested. Saito turned to Kakashi. "Did you hit him?" "No." Kakashi answered succinctly. Saito nodded and then addressed the stall owner. "You claim he attacked you. Do you have any proof?" I fell because of him." The stall owner stammered, his confidence wavering. "Go ask around. See if anyone witnessed this ninja attacking the civilian." Saito ordered his subordinates. The police officers, still wearing their polite but professional smiles, began questioning the bystanders. However, the outcome was obvious. While people might whisper their grievances in private, none of them dared to lie blatantly to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. "Well?" Saito asked, turning back to the stall owner. It was all a misunderstanding. A big misunderstanding." The stall owner's confidence evaporated instantly, and he forced out an awkward laugh. "Since it's just a misunderstanding," Saito said with a smirk, "let's discuss your illegal street vending. How many times has the Hidden Leaf Village military police force warned you not to set up shop on the sidewalk? Men, confiscate his stall and bring him in for questioning." The stall owner panicked. "You're just bullying me because I'm a defenseless civilian. I'll report you to the Hokage's office." But his outburst meant nothing to the well-trained police officers. With their signature polite smiles, two uniformed officers calmly watched him until he ran out of breath from screaming. Then, without hesitation, they seized his stall and dragged him off to the police station. By now, the surrounding crowd had already dispersed, leaving the street relatively empty once more. Saito turned to Kakashi. "Kakashi-senpai, I'm still on duty, so I won't hold you up any longer. If you ever encounter something like this again, just come straight to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force." "I understand. Thank you." Kakashi nodded, expressing his gratitude. Chapter 48, Denzo is dead, but the process continues after Saito Uchiha escorted the troublemaker Dango stall owner back to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force headquarters. He continued patrolling with his team. "Hideaki, you handled today's situation well. Instead of acting rashly regarding that child, you reported to me first before taking action. I'll make sure to put in a good word for you with Vice Captain Kuragami," Saito Uchiha said while patting the shoulder of a young team member beside him. "This was all thanks to you, leader, for briefing us beforehand." Hideaki Sakurai exhaled in relief. "To be honest, I was scared stiff when I saw that kid being harassed." This civilian-born ninja had been working in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force for a while now and had occasionally encountered Naruto during their patrols. They are initially unaware of Naruto's true identity and are influenced by rumors, believing him to be the demon fox that brings disaster. Some of them or their families had even participated in bullying Naruto. However, the Uchiha leaders in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, even if unaware of Naruto's parentage, understood the significance of a Jinchuriki. Provoking a Jinchuriki was dangerous. If the Jinchuriki lost control and killed someone, the Jinchuriki might face some punishment, but the victim would be truly dead. Having built a good rapport with their civilian subordinates, the Uchiha officers repeatedly warned them to steer clear of Naruto. Over time, these civilian recruits and their families came to understand that Naruto was someone they absolutely should not provoke. While they didn't immediately change their attitudes, at the very least, they stopped verbally abusing him. From now on, if you encounter that child during patrols, offer some help when appropriate, but don't make it too obvious. Understood? Saito instructed. Before Kakashi was seen with Naruto, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had maintained a neutral stance, neither provoking nor interacting with him. Both sides had sensitive identities, after all. But now that Kakashi seemed to be forming a bond with Naruto, and given his close relationship with the clan head Kuragami, Saito saw the need for this new approach. "Leader, Why? One of the patrol members asked curiously. Don't ask too many questions. If it's something you need to know, I'll tell you. Saito replied. Got it, it's classified, huh? Better for us not to pry. Hideaki Sakurai wasn't upset at being rebuffed. Instead, he chuckled while scratching his head. After working together for some time, these civilian ninjas realized that the Uchiha clan, who had been demonized by village rumors, weren't actually that difficult to get along with. Sure, they were a bit arrogant and loved talking about their clan's honor, but beyond that, they were pretty fair. If you ran into trouble at work, they'd scold you a bit but still help you solve it. If you asked them for guidance on jutsu, they'd roll their eyes and say something like, as expected, those without Uchiha blood lack talent. But then proceed to teach you things that were never covered in the academy. Good. Now, let's finish patrolling quickly. After work, drinks are on me. Saito announced. Leader, you're the best. Cheers erupted from the team. This was another reason why working with the Uchiha was great. They were incredibly generous with their own people. On the other side of the village, Kakashi and Naruto, after that incident, had lost their mood for strolling around. Kakashi. Naruto mumbled, his head lowered. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? None of this was your fault. Kakashi said. But if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have had to deal with that. Naruto said while lowering his head. Kakashi stopped walking, crouched down to Naruto's eye level, and said seriously, Naruto, listen to me. Many people may be in the wrong here, but you are the only one who is truly innocent. You have nothing to apologize for. Hearing this, Naruto's eyes reddened. Ever since he could remember, aside from the third Hokage, Kakashi was the first person to completely believe in him. If something like this ever happens again, go to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Those uncles will stand up for you. Kakashi continued. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force? You mean those ninjas from earlier? Naruto asked curiously. That's right. Kakashi nodded. Will they really help me? Naruto still had doubts. Yes, they will. Kakashi's gaze flickered with a peculiar light. Come on, let's go get some ramen. At the mention of his favorite food, Naruto instantly perked up, forgetting all about the unpleasant events from earlier, and happily followed Kakashi. At the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi let out a heavy sigh after hearing a report from an Anbu ninja about the incident in the marketplace. Just then, the office doors swung open, and Koharu Uchiha and Homura Mikado stormed in, their faces filled with fury. Hiruzen Sarutobi dismissed the reporting Anbu with a wave of his hand. As soon as the Anbu left, Homura wasted no time in confronting him. Hiruzen, what are you thinking? How can you allow someone to casually approach the Jinchuriki? You're overreacting. Kakashi was Minato's student, he had every right to look after his teacher's son. Hiruzen Sarutobi said patiently. Hiruzen, this concerns the village's Jinchuriki. You can't afford to be soft-hearted. Koharu insisted. And what do you propose? Do you want to lock Naruto away like Denzo suggested and brainwash him into a mindless weapon? Hiruzen Sarutobi's voice grew sharp. Don't forget, Naruto is not just a Jinchuriki, he is Minato's son. The son of the fourth Hokage. Minato has already given his life for the village. Hiruzen, that's not what we meant. Homura said. But don't forget that Kakashi possesses the Sharingan. Remember what happened 6 years ago. Enough. This discussion is over. Hiruzen Sarutobi snapped. Hiruzen, Denzo was right, you're too indecisive. Koharu scowled. One day, you will regret this. I am the Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi slapped the table and shouted in anger. Seeing that further argument was futile, Homura and Koharu huffed in frustration and turned to leave. As they exited, they slammed the door behind them with a loud bang. Once they were gone, Hiruzen Sarutobi lit his pipe, took a deep inhale, and gazed out the window with a dark and unclear light shining in his eyes. Chapter 49, Conspiracy and Preparation. After hitting a wall with Hiruzen Sarutobi, the two advisors did not part ways upon leaving the Hokage's office. Instead, they made their way to a secret chamber within the Mikado clan's residence to discuss the matter further. Homura, Hiruzen is still too soft. Even if he wants to train the Jinchuriki, he should not allow people with ulterior motives to get close to him. Koharu Uchiha muttered impatiently. Exactly. From the last mission, it's already clear that Kakashi has formed a connection with that inherently evil Uchiha brat. He is no longer trustworthy. Homura Mikado said seriously. If Kakashi were to bring the Jinchuriki to the Uchiha side, all the arrangements Sensei has made for so many years would be ruined. That's right. The Jinchuriki must remain under our faction's control. Koharu nodded. We should handle this the same way as back then. Although it was Denzo who took action at the time, replicating those methods won't be difficult for us. Using the same method we used against the White Fang? Isn't that a bit extreme? Homura frowned. Humphrey. Kakashi, just like his father, is coveting things he should never touch. Koharu said coldly. What's wrong? Are you getting soft in your old age, just like Hiruzen? If we go through with this, will it disrupt the village's peace? Homura hesitated. What we're doing is for the peace of the village. Only by completely crushing the Uchiha's ambitions can true peace be achieved. Koharu declared. I understand. Homura nodded. We'll follow your plan. I'll inform my clan to act according to your instructions. While the two advisors were conspiring, Kuragami Uchiha, who had already finished work for the day, was practicing sage mode in the courtyard of his home. Having memorized the perfect ratio for Senjutsu Chakra, Kuragami meditated under the night sky. When his body was fully infused with Senjutsu Chakra, his eyes suddenly snapped open, revealing vertical pupils and the signature purple markings of sage mode at the corners of his eyes. Kuragami clenched his fists, feeling the full power in his body. The power in this state is indeed much stronger than before. However, the speed of refining the Senjutsu Chakra needs to be practiced. Otherwise, it may be difficult to use in battle. He closed his eyes again and relaxed his mind as he used Rechi Cave's hidden jutsus to sense the flow of nature's energy. At first, his perception expanded to cover the entire Uchiha district. Soon, he noticed lightning-style chakra fluctuations coming from Fugaku Uchiha's backyard. Kuragami smiled slightly, realizing that Sasuke was practicing the lightning jutsu he had taught him. That kid is really talented in lightning style. It's only been a week since he showed him the jutsu, yet he can already compress the lightning ball and make it orbit around him twice. However, Sasuke still struggled with stability. In just a few minutes, he had already been blown up twice by his own jutsu, leaving him covered in dust. After observing for a while, Kuragami decided to withdraw his perception. After all, it would be impolite if he accidentally saw something he shouldn't. Just as he was about to retract his senses, he suddenly detected a fast-moving figure approaching his home. This chakra signature. Kakashi? Kuragami raised an eyebrow. What is Kakashi doing here at this hour? A few moments later, Kakashi appeared in Kuragami's courtyard. As soon as he entered, he spotted Kuragami meditating under the eaves. The aura surrounding Kuragami at this moment made Kakashi inwardly tense. If Kuragami in battle was like a raging thunderstorm, then the current him was like the ominous clouds before a storm, calm yet containing an overwhelming presence. You! What is this? Kakashi asked. Sage mode. Kuragami smiled, not bothering to hide it from him. Consider it a trophy from killing Orochimaru. Sage mode, huh? Kakashi sighed inwardly. As the student of the fourth Hokage, he was no stranger to this power. Minato had been able to enter Sage mode before his death, though he hadn't yet mastered sustaining it in battle. If Minato had been able to use this form that night, the outcome might have been different. Kakashi thought, feeling a pang of regret. It's late. What brings you here? Kuragami asked. There's something I need to ask you. Kakashi replied. How about a round of archery while we talk? Kuragami grinned, glancing at a target 50 meters away. Sounds good. Kakashi nodded. At Kuragami's request, a servant soon brought 2 longbows and 2 quivers of arrows. After warming up, Kuragami knocked an arrow and loosed it. The arrow cut through the air and struck the bullseye. After firing his shot, he turned to Kakashi and said, I assume this is about Naruto? I already heard from Saito earlier today. That's right. Kakashi confirmed. I'd like to ask the Uchiha Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force to look after Naruto, at least a little. No problem. The Uchiha hold great respect for the 4th Hokage as well. However, you know how sensitive Naruto's situation is. If the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force gets too close, certain people won't sit still. Hearing this, Kakashi fell silent. They continued shooting arrow after arrow until all the targets in the courtyard were filled with arrows. Finally, after firing his last shot, Kuragami set down his bow and spoke. I'll give the necessary orders tomorrow at work. The village might not be very peaceful in the near future. Then, looking at Kakashi, who had taken off his mask, Kuragami smirked. But it seems like you're already prepared for that. Chapter 50, The rumors begin the next day at work. Kuragami Uchiha called the leaders of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force into his office one by one and instructed them to keep an eye on Naruto and offer him some protection. The Jonin leaders, including the recently recruited Kazan Yuzuka and Shihei Aburame, who had been sent by the Aburame clan, passed the orders down the chain privately. As a result, over the following days, Members of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force subtly looked out for Naruto during their patrols. A few ignorant villagers who hurled verbal abuse at Naruto happened to do so right in front of the patrol teams and were immediately arrested under various pretexts. Naruto quickly noticed the reduction in hostility around him. Being naturally cheerful, he became even more upbeat. However, at the same time, some unsettling whispers began circulating throughout the village. Have you heard? That demon fox brat has found himself a backer. Really? No wonder he's been acting cockier lately. Turns out he got a ninja supporting him. Any idea who this guy is? I think his name is Kakashi Hatake. I heard he used to be in Anbu. Humphrey, anyone who hangs around that demon fox brat can't be a good person. Yeah, I heard he got kicked out of the Anbu by the Hokage himself. And that's not all. Rumor has it he's a bloodthirsty killer. Back in the Third Shinobi World War, he even killed his own comrades. What? If that's true, why hasn't the Hokage done anything? Why hasn't he driven both him and that demon fox out of the village? I heard he's got ties to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. That's terrifying. We should just avoid that damn fox brat from now on. Humphrey. What's there to be afraid of? What's he gonna do, attack us in the village? The Hokage is on our side. If he dares lay a hand on us, we'll petition the Hokage to kick them out. Yeah. If we all sign a petition together, the Hokage will definitely make them leave. Their conversation caught the attention of a certain green jumpsuit-clad, bowl-cut ninja who was training nearby. Upon overhearing their words, he stepped forward indignantly. How can you say that? Kakashi is a hero of the village. As soon as they saw a ninja approaching, the villagers who had just been talking big scattered like frightened birds. Hey! Don't run! Say that to my face. Might Guy shouted loudly. Forget it, Guy. At this time, Kakashi appeared behind Might Guy and patted his old friend on the shoulder. Kakashi? Might Guy turned around and was momentarily stunned to see his friend without his usual mask. Wait. You. Kakashi nodded. Consider it a farewell to the past. Might Guy's eyes welled up with emotion. Even though I have no idea what you mean, this must be the feeling of youth. Kakashi, let's have a passionate showdown. Sorry, I don't have time for that right now. Kakashi declined. Might Guy blinked in surprise, then recalled the situation at hand. Is it because of those people just now? Let's go find them and set the record straight. How dare they say such things about you? Let it go. Kakashi shook his head. Even if we catch up to them, what can we do? A ninja can't lay hands on civilians. Similar conversations were occurring throughout the village over the next few days, and before long, Kakashi's name had become infamous. Kuragami Uchiha, stationed at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters, naturally heard about these rumors as well. When an investigation was conducted, it was discovered that the source of the rumors could be traced back to civilians working in businesses owned by the Midokado and Hamura clans. After all these years, I thought they'd have come up with something new, but they're still playing the same old tricks. Kuragami sneered as he read through the investigation report. Just then, there was a knock on his office door. Come in. After Kuragami shouted, the door was pushed open, and Shisui walked in. Vice Captain, you wanted to see me? Shisui asked. Shisui, it's just the two of us. No need to be so formal, have a seat. Kuragami gestured. You're the Vice Captain of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force now. So we have to pay attention to the rules in this regard. Shisui replied as he sat down across from him. Alright, let's not dwell on that. Here, take a look at this. Kuragami handed over the report from the investigation team. Shisui carefully read through the document, his expression turning to one of disbelief. Isn't there some kind of misunderstanding? What misunderstanding could there be? It's clear that someone is targeting Kakashi, just like how they've targeted our clan in the past. Kuragami said with a smirk. By the way, why don't you ask the third Hokage what he thinks about this? Shisui hesitated for a moment before replying. I trust that the third Hokage will step in and put a stop to this. The third Hokage is a busy man. Does he really have time for this? Kuragami chuckled. But we can't just ignore it either. Kakashi is a war hero who earned his merit at Kanabi Bridge. If we allow these slanders to continue, how can other ninjas continue to believe in the will of fire? We must put a stop to these rumors immediately. Seeing Kuragami's intensity, Shisui grew anxious. Kuragami, what are you planning? He was genuinely worried that Kuragami would act rashly and escalate the situation beyond his control. Don't worry, Shisui. I have no intention of using the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's authority for violence. Kuragami reassured him, then continued, I intend to have the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force enact a new law to regulate this kind of behavior. I want you to take charge of drafting it. That's the best approach. Shizue sighed in relief. But does the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force even have the authority to enact laws? Of course. I went through the original documents from when the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force was established and found that the second Hokage granted us legislative powers over village security matters. Kuragami explained. So, Shizue, we must draft a comprehensive set of legal provisions for this issue. We can't let the second Hokage's foresight go to waste. Chapter 51, Legislation. To be honest, Kuragami Uchiha was stunned when he learned that the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force had the power to legislate. With both legislative and law enforcement powers in hand and with its own armed forces, the Uchiha clan in the original timeline still ended up with such a tragic fate. But then again, considering that most of the clan members either had muscles for brains or were obsessed with clan honor, while the few who had some intelligence were either easily manipulated or too timid to take decisive action, this outcome wasn't all that surprising. However, all this is different in Kuragami Uchiha's hands. He knows how to make good use of the existing power in his hands. Shizue's efficiency is still quite high. Kuragami Uchiha issued his order, and 2 days later, a document called Village Public Security and Administration Punishment Law was placed on Kuragami Uchiha's desk. Kuragami Uchiha, who was sitting at the desk, flipped through the draft submitted by Shizue, nodded with satisfaction, looked up at Shizue, who was looking forward to it, and said, "Well done, Shizue, you've put in a lot of effort. It's all for the will of fire." Shizue saw that Kuragami Uchiha seemed very satisfied with his efforts over the past 2 days, so he smiled and said, "But don't you think the punishment is a bit too light?" Kuragami Uchiha pointed to the fine and verbal education on the table and said, "Kuragami, they are just ordinary villagers, and this punishment is already very strict." Shizue was a little puzzled. "Shizue, it seems that you still don't understand what I mean." Kuragami Uchiha said, before explaining, "Take a look at this." Kuragami Uchiha stood up, took out a document with the word confidentiality level A written on the cover from the filing cabinet behind him, and handed it to Shizue. "This is not good." Looking at the words confidentiality level A on the file bag, Shizue hesitated. "You can read it if I ask you to. I believe that you, who also possess the will of fire, will not disclose these secrets at will." Kuragami Uchiha said. "Okay." Shizue nodded reluctantly and opened the file bag. What was inside was the truth about the White Fang incident dug out from the mouths of the senior members of the Shimura clan. The bloody truth shocked Shizue Uchiha beyond words. He had also studied the Will of Fire some time ago and learned about White Fang, the hero of the village, but what he didn't expect was that behind the death of this hero, there were so many dirty things hidden. Is the point of our enactment of this set of laws to punish those villagers? No. What we have to do is to protect the reputation of the heroes. Just imagine, if the heroes who have made great contributions to the village can be slandered, then who will believe in the glory of the Will of Fire? Kuragami Uchiha looked into Shizue's eyes and said seriously, "The tragedy of White Fang must never be repeated. That is my Will of Fire." "I understand." Shizue sighed and said that after putting down the document, "You have done a good job, leave the rest to me." At this time, Kuragami Uchiha spoke. After spending some time together, Kuragami Uchiha also understood Shizue's personality. This guy was still as naive and idealistic as ever. But more importantly, Kuragami Uchiha realized that Shizue wasn't so much brainwashed by Hiruzen Sarutobi by the concept of the Will of Fire itself. That, in turn, made things easier for Kuragami Uchiha because who's to say the Will of Fire couldn't be used by the Uchiha? As long as the Uchiha could present themselves as embodying the true Will of Fire better than Hiruzen, Shizue would naturally side with the clan. Shizue left somewhat lost, while Kuragami Uchiha picked up the draft on the table and revised it. After the revision was completed, Kuragami Uchiha called Saito Uchiha and asked him to prepare to take people to post this notice in the village. In the latest version of the bill, Kuragami Uchiha made detailed provisions for punishment measures. Those who spread rumors would be fined and given a verbal warning, while those who spread rumors that defamed village heroes, with serious consequences, would face prison detention ranging from 7 days to a month. Those found to be the source of false rumors would be sentenced to up to 6 months in prison. Kuragami Uchiha took this legal provision and went to the Hokage's office. After all, Hiruzen Sarutobi is still the highest leader of the village. Even if Tobirama Senju gave Uchiha the power to legislate, Kuragami Uchiha had to let Hiruzen Sarutobi know about it. After Kuragami Uchiha arrived at the Hokage building and reported his purpose, Hiruzen Sarutobi asked Kuragami Uchiha to wait for a while before calling him into the Hokage's office. Kuragami Uchiha entered the Hokage's office and saw Shikakunara, the Hokage's assistant, standing beside Hiruzen Sarutobi at a glance and smiled secretly in his heart. It seems that with the threat of the Koto Umatsukami, this old guy really doesn't dare to meet Kuragami Uchiha alone. Every time he meets Kuragami Uchiha, there must be at least one person around him. However, this is exactly what Kuragami Uchiha wants. Kuragami Uchiha put the new legal provisions in front of Hiruzen Sarutobi, then bowed and said, "Third Hokage-sama, there have been a lot of rumors in the village recently. In order to curb this bad atmosphere, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force intends to issue a bill on this. Please take a look at it, Hokage-sama." After Kuragami Uchiha's voice fell, Hiruzen Sarutobi and Shikakunara looked at each other. Shikakunara lowered his head and did not speak while Hiruzen Sarutobi picked up the bill submitted by Kuragami Uchiha and read it. After a long time, Hiruzen Sarutobi lit up his pipe, took a deep breath, exhaled a cloud of smoke, and then slowly said, "Kuragami, isn't his punishment a bit too severe?" "Severe? I don't think so." Kuragami Uchiha said righteously, "If anyone can wantonly slander the heroes who fought for the village, then what is the will of fire? Where the leaves of Hidden Leaf Village fall, the fire will also continue to grow. The flames will continue to illuminate the village and let the new leaves sprout. But if we can't even guarantee the reputation of the heroes who are willing to burn for the village, then in the future, who will be willing to burn themselves for the new green leaves?" After Kuragami Uchiha finished speaking, Shikakunara silently took 2 steps back and lowered his head at the same time. Although he is now the assistant of the Hokage, he knew that matters concerning the will of fire were not something an ordinary ninja clan head like him should get involved with. Chapter 52, Arrests. 1. Kuragami Uchiha noticed Shikakunara's subtle movements and saw through his intentions completely. With a slight smile, he asked, "Advisor Nara, do you think I'm right?" Being called out by Kuragami Uchiha, Shikakunara knew he could no longer stay out of the matter. He could only bite the bullet and say, "Clan head Kuragami's words do make sense." What else could he say? Could he possibly deny the will of fire right in front of the third Hokage? Hiruzen Sarutobi remained silent, only speaking after finishing his pipe. Kuragami Uchiha had repeatedly invoked the will of fire, leaving him, who always preached it, cornered. After all, the will of fire was the foundation of his rule, something he had to uphold. If he couldn't even maintain that, his tenure as the third Hokage would truly be nearing its end. If they had been alone, he might have maneuvered the conversation differently. However, due to the threat of Koto Umatsukami, he always needed others present when speaking with Kuragami Uchiha. After a long pause, Hiruzen Sarutobi finally set down his pipe and relented. "Then let's proceed according to this. However, Kuragami, be mindful when enforcing the law. After all, these are still villagers of our own village." "Understood." Kuragami Uchiha nodded. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force will strictly regulate itself and follow the principle of enforcing the law with a smile. That afternoon, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force posted notices about the new law in every prominent spot in the village. This naturally sparked heated discussions. Some villagers restrained themselves a little, but most still dismissed it. After all, the last time the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force officially issued a law was back when the second Hokage first established it, and even then, it was about trivial matters. Coupled with the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's declining reputation in recent years, most villagers didn't take their authority seriously. Instead, rumors now even included the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force in their gossip. So even the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is standing behind that murderous maniac who hangs around with the demon fox brat? Humphrey, what's there to be afraid of? We still have Hokage-sama backing us. I don't believe they actually dare to arrest people. As the days passed, Kakashi finally experienced firsthand what his father had gone through. Every time he stepped out, he felt the stares of the villagers. Some bolder troublemakers even vandalized the Hatake clan's ancestral home, painting graffiti and throwing trash, just like in the past. Naruto, who had been living with him, was furious at all this. Every time he heard villagers badmouthing Kakashi, he wanted to confront them. But whenever he tried, all he got in return were disgusted and fearful looks. At this moment, Kakashi finally understood why his father had never reacted to those attacks. When rumors grow large enough, any attempt to refute them becomes utterly meaningless. However, his passive response frustrated Naruto, who was far more hot-headed. Unlike the White Fang incident back then, this time, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force took action just 3 days after issuing the new law. That morning, Kuragami Uchiha personally convened a full meeting in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. In recent days, there have been numerous rumors in the village regarding former Anbu leader Kakashi Hatake. I'm sure you're all aware of the situation. Kuragami said sternly from the podium. Kakashi is a hero of this village. He played a decisive role in the Kanabi Bridge battle during the Third Shinobi World War, ensuring our victory over the village hidden in the stones. And yet, he is now being slandered with baseless rumors. Even after we issued the relevant laws, these rumors have not only persisted but have even intensified. Kuragami slammed the podium. I now suspect this is no longer just idle gossip, it's an orchestrated effort by foreign forces to incite the villagers and tarnish our will of fire. Faced with this situation, can we, who were entrusted with this duty by the second Hokage, just sit back and do nothing? No. The officers below were fired up. Over the past few days, while patrolling, they had also endured villagers accusing them of colluding with a murderous maniac, fueling their own anger. Since the day we were established under the second Hokage's orders, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force has been the staunchest defender of the will of fire. Today, I, Kuragami Uchiha, swear under the emblem of the Hidden Leaf Village, our Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force will uncover the truth behind this conspiracy and make those who attempt to undermine the will of fire pay the price. All units, attention. With a sharp command, every officer in the room stood at attention. Salute to the village emblem. Loyalty. The entire Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force saluted in unison, shouting the word loyalty loudly. Loyalty. Kuragami returned the salute before continuing. Today, everyone will drop their current assignments and fully investigate this matter. Every individual involved must be punished according to the law. Soon, nearly 600 officers were deployed, including Fugaku Uchiha, who usually only managed the department's finances, was counted in and personally led a law enforcement team out. The villagers, still indulging in their usual gossip about the demon fox brat and the murderous maniac, had no idea what was coming. But as soon as they started spreading rumors, Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force officers seemed to appear out of nowhere, arresting them and taking them away. By noon, over 2,000 people had been arrested. Most were released after a fine and a stern warning once they disclosed the sources of their rumors. However, several dozen individuals whose involvement was more severe were immediately imprisoned. Only then did the villagers realize the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force was serious this time. Soon, the officers began noticing that all the evidence they had gathered pointed toward businesses owned by the Midokado and Uchiha clans. Those two areas were the true origin of the rumors. Chapter 53, Arrests, 2. After concluding that the rumors were likely spread under the influence of the Midokado and Uchiha clans, the civilian-born ninjas within the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force were quite anxious. After all, these two clans were among the largest in the village, apart from the Uchiha and Hyuga. Getting involved with them left the civilian ninjas unsure of what to do. However, the Uchiha ninjas quickly bolstered the determination of the civilian ninjas. What are you hesitating for? Don't forget that wearing this uniform means you represent the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Behind you stands the Uchiha clan. Uchiha declared before leading a team to arrest people in the two clans. After his speech, he was the first to grab a police baton and march out. The civilian ninjas behind him were so moved they had tears in their eyes. The Uchiha clan is truly amazing. When something happens, they are really the first ones to step up. So, they grabbed their batons and followed Inika. Upon arriving at the business districts controlled by the two clans, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force wasted no time. They immediately sealed off the entire street and began calling out names based on confessions they had obtained. What do you think you're doing? This is the Uchiha clan property. A lower-ranked member of the Uchiha clan, responsible for managing the businesses, was visibly agitated upon seeing their business being sealed and a large number of people taken away. But as soon as he spoke, Uchiha locked eyes on him and demanded, "What's your name?" At that moment, a merchant, who had already been identified by over 20 people as a key suspect in spreading the rumors and had been resisting arrest, was crying while dodging the baton strikes. "Officer, stop hitting me. Stop." It was him. He told us to do it. Hearing this, Uchiha tightened his grip on his baton and growled, "Oh? You're the person I was looking for, and you even dared to jump out on your own." Without hesitation, Uchiha used teleportation jutsu and appeared in front of the man in an instant, then he knocked him to the ground with a single strike. This Uchiha clan member, being of mediocre strength, had been assigned to business management rather than combat. Meanwhile, Uchiha was at Jonin level but remained a Chunin in official rank due to the Uchiha clan's rule requiring 3 Tomoe Sharingan for promotion. Against him, this person from the Uchiha clan stood no chance. After taking 2 more baton strikes, his eyes suddenly became much clearer. Damn it, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force issued an official decree, and you still didn't know when to back off? Did you really think we're just for show? Uchiha scolded while continuing to strike him. "Captain, pay attention, enforce the law with a smile." A civilian ninja reminded him. "Good point. Uchiha said with a forced smile, his Sharingan glinting as he struck the man again. Polite enforcement was an initiative pushed by their esteemed clan head, after all. But that didn't mean he had to hold back. On the Mikado side, the situation wasn't much better. Unlike the manager of the Uchiha clan, the Mikado clan business manager was slightly more cautious and didn't openly confront the police. This made things a bit more difficult for Saito Uchiha, who was leading that operation. Luckily, police dog number 4, Retsumaru, proved its worth by jumping out and biting Shota Mikado on the rear just as he was trying to slip away in the crowd. Once enough people had been apprehended, Kuragami Uchiha ordered them all to be locked up in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's prison and interrogated thoroughly to uncover any foreign influences behind the rumors. Meanwhile, the 2 village elders were still enjoying tea in the Uchiha clan's tea house. With this wave of pressure, Kakashi should finally come to his senses. Koharu Uchiha remarked after finishing her tea while looking at Homura Mikado with a smirk. If he knows what's good for him, he'll stay away from the Jinchuriki. Homura chuckled, clearly pleased. And that naturally evil Uchiha brat actually thought he could interfere? Issuing that so-called law, what good will that do? Koharu scoffed with disdain. In this village, only the laws that Hiruzen and we approve are real laws. Homura agreed. But from this, it's clear Kakashi can no longer be trusted. He is already siding with that naturally evil Uchiha brat. That much has been obvious for a while. Koharu snorted. Still, we should be careful. We'll need to control public opinion in the coming days. If Kakashi ends up committing suicide like his useless father, we can't give any good excuse at Hiruzen. Humphrey, Hiruzen is getting soft in his old age. He didn't even dare to pursue that naturally evil Uchiha brat after Denzo died at the other party's hand. As the disciples of the second Hokage, it's our duty to keep the Uchiha under watch. Koharu said firmly. Just then, the tea house doors burst open, and a Uchiha clan ninja rushed in, panic-stricken. Bad news, elder. What's with this panic? Show some composure. Koharu frowned, irritated by the other party's lack of discipline. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. They've sealed off the Uchiha and Mikado clans' business district and arrested at least 400 people, including many of our clan's branch members. What? Both of the advisors stand in shock. Then Koharu slammed the table in anger. How dare the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force do this? The Uchiha clan are truly evil. Homura's face darkened. They even dared to target civilians. What should we do? Koharu asked. Homura thought for a moment before responding. Gather all the civilians who depend on our businesses for their livelihood. Find a few unregistered ninjas from our clans and lead them in a protest outside the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. We'll pressure them into releasing our people. I refuse to believe they dare to act recklessly in front of everyone. As for us, we'll go straight to Hiruzen. This time, the Uchiha must pay the price. At the same time, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force prison was brightly lit. Because they had arrested so many people at once, even the interrogation rooms weren't enough, forcing them to repurpose a section of the prison for questioning. Every available officer was working overtime to interrogate the detainees. In the temporary office inside the prison, Kuragami Uchiha, Fugaku Uchiha, and 4 veteran Uchiha Jonin, along with the recently recruited Shihei Aburame and Kazan Yuzuka, were reviewing the interrogation reports. Damn, there's so many people. How long will this take? Kazan Yuzuka muttered while looking at the mountain of reports piling up on the table. Kaz, we might not even get anything useful out of them. Uchiha on the side said. Seriously. The third Hokage even promised to assign us to Anbu interrogation specialists, and we're still waiting. Our interrogation skills are far from professional, we need to bring this up with him soon. Kuragami Uchiha remarked. Chapter 54, Coup Report. At this moment, Uchiha suddenly knocked on the office door and walked in. A large number of villagers have suddenly gathered at the entrance of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters. They're blocking the gate and demanding that we release the captured villagers. Uchiha reported. What? An elder jonin of the clan, Tetsu Uchiha, known for his hot temper and as a core member of the radical faction in clan meetings, slammed the table in anger. How dare they? Do they think our Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is made of sand? Leader Tetsu, calm down. Kuragami Uchiha said before turning to Inuka. What's the situation now? Saito has already taken 2 squads of ninja to maintain order at the entrance. Inuka replied. Good. Keep the villagers calm for now. I'll be there shortly. Kuragami instructed. Tell Saito to avoid using force unless absolutely necessary. After Inuka left, Kuragami turned to the other leaders in the office. You all stay here and continue reviewing the interrogation records. I'll go check on the situation with Captain Fugaku. Understood. The 6 leaders in the office nodded in unison. Then, Kuragami Uchiha and Fugaku Uchiha headed toward the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters entrance. Before they arrived, Shizue hurried over and stopped them. "Captain, Vice Captain." Shizue greeted them with a bow. "Shizue, step aside if you have nothing urgent to report. Can't you see that the situation is critical?" Fugaku frowned and reprimanded him. "Captain, Vice Captain, please let me negotiate with the villagers," Shizue said earnestly. "If the conflict escalates any further, the entire situation will spiral out of control. This is not your place to intervene," Fugaku said coldly. "It's fine, Captain Fugaku." Kuragami suddenly chuckled. "I think letting Shizue handle this might not be a bad idea." "Kuragami?" Fugaku looked puzzled. Shizue has not only served in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force but also worked in the Anbu under Hokage-sama. If he steps forward, he could somewhat represent the Hokage's stance. "Besides, I trust that Shizue can handle this without resorting to conflict." Kuragami smiled and patted Shizue on the shoulder. "Shizue, I leave this to you." "Don't worry, Kuragami. I'll take care of it," Shizue replied, touched by the trust placed in him. Seeing that Shizue had accepted the task, Kuragami and Fugaku decided to return to the office. As soon as they arrived, Fugaku couldn't help but ask, "Do you really believe Shizue can handle this?" Having dealt with the village's troublesome commoners for years, Fugaku knew how difficult they could be. Shizue, on the other hand, had grown up during wartime and joined the Anbu straight away, with no experience handling civilian disputes. How could he possibly manage this? "Elder Fugaku, I understand your concerns," Kuragami said with a smile. "But since Shizue is now part of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, he needs to learn how to interact with the villagers sooner or later." Kuragami pulled out a thick stack of documents from the cabinet, spread them on the table, and looked up at Fugaku. "By the way, Elder Fugaku, everyone has been working overtime today. Give them 2 months' salary as a bonus. Also, for the civilian-born ninja, let each of them pick a suitable jutsu from the clan's jutsu library." 2 months? Isn't that a bit too much? Fugaku hesitated. Even though Kuragami had secured 1.5 billion ryo last time, they couldn't just spend recklessly. "Our people follow us because they want a full meal, but I intend to stuff them to the brim," Kuragami declared. "Besides, money isn't an issue. If I can get it once, I can get it again anytime." "All right." Fugaku nodded. "Release them. Release them." Nearly 2,000 villagers gathered in front of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters, shouting slogans that shook the air. Meanwhile, Saito Uchiha led about 60 police officers, forming a human barricade with batons in hand while standing firm behind a security cordon. The two sides faced off, creating an extremely tense atmosphere. After receiving Kuragami's approval, Shizue rushed to the front lines without delay. "Everyone, please calm down. Go home and disperse. Do not gather in front of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters," Shizue said sincerely to those holding protest signs at the front. "You people think you can just arrest whoever you want? Is that fair? Listen, if you don't release them today, we're not leaving." "That's right. Release them. Release them." The gathered villagers shouted relentlessly, making it clear they wouldn't back down unless their demands were met. "We only brought them in for investigation," Shizue began to explain, but before he could finish, a few rotten vegetables were thrown at him, landing squarely on his head. "Don't listen to them. The ones they arrested are innocent. They're just trying to cover for the village's murderer and oppress us, powerless civilians. Yeah. The damn Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Release them." The next moment, a barrage of eggs and vegetables rained down on Shizue. With his skills, he could easily dodge, but he stood frozen in place, unable to understand why this was happening. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force was merely protecting the village's heroes and upholding the will of fire. Fortunately, Saito quickly pulled him back behind the security line and glared at him impatiently. "Why are you making things worse?" Although the villagers were riled up, they still retained a basic level of restraint. While they shouted and threw objects, none dared to actually break through the security cordon. "Hideaki, go back and report the situation to Vice Captain Kuragami immediately," Saito instructed after glancing at the shaken Shizue. Back in the temporary office near the detention center, Kuragami Uchiha listened to Hideaki Sakurai's report, his face growing grim. The 6 leaders present remained silent, sensing the tension in the room. After a moment, Kuragami finally spoke with a dark expression. "The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is supposed to be an elite unit of the village. Shizue is an elite jonin among us. Yet, these villagers are unafraid of even a ninja of his caliber. These are no ordinary villagers. They're rioters. Criminals." Kuragami clenched his fists and swung them in the air. We must take strong action. Everyone, except for the essential interrogation personnel, all remaining Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force members, assemble in a conference room immediately. Chapter 55. Beating the villagers and made them scream after Kuragami Uchiha gave his orders. Most of the personnel rushed to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's conference room, except for those left behind to guard the prison and maintain order at the department entrance. After standing at the podium, Kuragami Uchiha slammed the table twice before speaking sternly. It seems that the foreign forces behind this incident are not to be underestimated. They actually dared to incite the villagers into violently resisting the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's law enforcement. These are no ordinary villagers. Vice Captain. Give the order. A civilian ninja who had just been pelted with rotten eggs during the standoff shouted. There were even several ninjas among those illegally gathering villagers. They weren't wearing headbands, but their throwing jutsus were clearly at Chunin level. What? Ninjas are involved too? Kuragami Uchiha roared in anger. Those insidious foreign forces have developed their influence to this extent? It seems that today, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force has no choice but to act. For the purity of the village's will of fire, we must crush their conspiracy with overwhelming force. First, second, and fourth squads. Kuragami Uchiha began calling names. Here. The members of the called squads all stood up. To prevent them from inciting more villagers, you 3 squads will enforce a curfew tonight. No villager is allowed to leave their residence, and violators will be treated as rioters. Loyalty. The members saluted under their respective squad leaders' commands. 3rd and 5th squads. I need you to suppress the rioters gathered at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force's entrance as quickly as possible. Loyalty. The members of the 3rd and 5th squad stood up and saluted. 6th squad, stay behind and await further orders. Loyalty. Of course, to keep things under control, do not use kunai, shuriken, or other ninja tools, and absolutely do not initiate any ninjutsu. Understood? Kuragami Uchiha instructed. Understood. The members in the conference room responded in unison. After the tense atmosphere eased slightly, Kuragami Uchiha continued, You've all worked hard today. To commend you for your dedication and for sacrificing your valuable rest time to uphold the will of fire, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force will grant you a 2-month salary bonus. Additionally, Captain Fugaku is selecting suitable ninjutsu scrolls for you. So, I need you all to give your best effort and wipe out these rioters who tarnish the will of fire. As his words fell, the room erupted in excitement. 2 months' salary plus ninjutsu? They hadn't even spent their first month's pay yet, and they were still getting used to their current ninjutsu. Now they were receiving more? Even the Uchiha clan members, who didn't need the ninjutsu, were thrilled. After all, their salaries were high, and a 2-month bonus meant they were about to strike it rich. Loyalty. The salute resounded once again, this time with nearly all their strength as if to express their unwavering dedication. They owed too much to Vice Captain Kuragami. Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Move out. With Kuragami Uchiha's command, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force members, led by their respective leaders, formed ranks and marched out of the conference room. Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Release the people. Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Release the people. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is colluding with a murderous demon. Die. As the standoff dragged on, the villagers' slogans became increasingly reckless. Some even appeared ready to break through the security cordon set up by the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. At that moment, nearly 100 Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force members, clad in uniforms, wearing headbands, and wielding batons, poured out of the building. Seeing this, the gathered villagers grew uneasy. However, a few rogue ninjas from the Uchiha and Midokado clans, hidden among the crowd, suddenly shouted, Don't be afraid. We're just civilians. I refuse to believe these ninjas would dare to attack us. In response, Kuragami Uchiha simply raised his hand grimly and ordered, Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. Move. As soon as his words fell, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force members charged forward, overwhelming the gathered villagers. Those who had been guarding the security cordon earlier were handed batons and joined the suppression. Some of the leading villagers tried to speak, but before they could utter a word, a baton came crashing down from above. At the forefront of the charge was Masashi Watanabe, a genin who had graduated just 2 years ago. After his father died on the battlefield during the Third Shinobi World War, he and his sister had to rely on their mother's small general store for survival. When he finally graduated and was able to earn money, his mother fell ill from years of overwork, forcing him to shoulder the family's burden. But how much would a genin, spending his days chasing stray cats and picking up garbage, really earn? His meager income was further reduced by deductions from his team leader, and between household expenses and his mother's medical bills, he couldn't even afford to exchange money for ninjutsu training or rank up to chunin. Yet, after joining the Hidden Lee Village military police force, his income not only covered his mother's hospital stay but also allowed him to buy new clothes for his sister. More importantly, he had finally learned the C-rank ninjutsu he had dreamed of. Since his chakra affinity was fire, his team leader even gave him occasional guidance in his training. It was the Hidden Lee Village military police force and Vice Captain Kuragami who gave him a chance to turn over. And now, these insolent villagers dared to besiege the Hidden Lee Village military police force. They dared to disrespect his revered Vice Captain, Kuragami. While clenching his baton tightly, Masashi Watanabe swung it with increasing speed to the point where it left after images. Vice Captain Kuragami has the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. No matter how fast I swing, he'll surely see my loyalty, right? Similar scenes played out repeatedly in front of the Hidden Lee Village military police force. Those at the forefront of the mob were quickly subdued and subjected to the department's infamous bone-setting therapy. The rest of the villagers finally realized the Hidden Lee Village military police force was serious and scattered in all directions, trying to escape. But even the weakest members of the Hidden Lee Village military police force were trained Gainian, and after weeks of drills, these civilians were no match. Those who ran too slowly were kicked down instantly, followed by relentless baton strikes. In mere moments, the arrogant rioters who had threatened to make the Hidden Lee Village military police force pay were left bloodied and beaten. Chapter 56, Hidden Lee Village's Unlimited Fighting Tournament Officer. Stop hitting us. Please stop. The first few people who were knocked to the ground cowered, shielding their heads from the relentless police batons while wailing. We're just civilians who were called here. This has nothing to do with us. Oh? Now you remember your civilians? Uchiha glared at them with his Sharingan while striking them 6 times per second. Too late. You dared to attack the Hidden Lee Village military police force. What's next? Are you going to storm the Hokage building tomorrow? Soon, the rioting villagers scattered, fleeing into Hidden Lee Village's streets and alleys. Behind them, the Hidden Lee Village military police force members relentlessly pursued while swinging their batons mercilessly. Some passing villagers, unaware of what was happening, were harshly ordered back into their homes by the Hidden Lee Village military police force. What are you looking at? The village is under lockdown tonight. Stay inside. Anyone found outside will be treated as a rioter. After shouting this, one Hidden Lee Village military police force member leaped onto a nearby wall, accelerated, and then came crashing down, kicking a fleeing protester to the ground. Without hesitation, his baton began to rain down. This chaotic scene terrified the uninvolved villagers. They quickly shut their doors and windows, hiding inside their homes. Within seconds, the only people left on Hidden Lee Village's streets were the fleeing rioters and the chasing Hidden Lee Village military police force. At that moment, 3 Anbu on a mission within the village witnessed the scene. One of them asked, Captain Seiichi, should we stop them? Stop them. Can't you see that the Hidden Lee Village military police force is enforcing the law? Seiichi Nagai glared at his 2 special Jonin teammates. Let's just report back to the Hokage. No need to get ourselves into trouble. Although the Hidden Lee Village military police force was outnumbered by the rioters, their members were highly trained and disciplined. They operated in an orderly fashion, efficiently subduing villagers one by one. After apprehending a few rioters, they delivered a swift and brutal bone-setting package before dragging the battered individuals back to the Hidden Lee Village military police force headquarters. The streets and alleys of Hidden Lee Village echoed with screams and cries of pain. Hideaki Sakurai and his teammate, Yoki Fujiwara, chased a fleeing troublemaker through the narrow alleys of Hidden Lee Village. This person was clearly not an ordinary villager. If he were, there was no way he could evade 2 ninjas for this long. The 4 fleeing individuals turned a corner, and the 2 Hidden Lee Village military police force members instinctively pursued. However, upon entering the alley, they found several more people hidden there. The one they had been chasing grabbed a wooden chair and smashed it against the wall, breaking it apart and distributing the makeshift weapons to the others. Feeling emboldened by their numbers and their newfound weapons, one of the men stepped forward and accused Hideaki Sakurai and Yoki Fujiwara, ninjas are supposed to protect the village. How can you raise your hands against the villagers? You people, who so blatantly disregard the will of fire, dare call yourselves villagers? Hideaki Sakurai retorted angrily. Hideaki, what do we do? They outnumber us. Yoki Fujiwara hesitated. As a recent graduate from the academy, he had yet to master the jutsu issued by the Hidden Lee Village military police force. Among the squad, he was one of the weakest in combat. Facing an overwhelming crowd, he was understandably nervous. What are you afraid of? Hideaki Sakurai snorted and removed his forehead protector. Did you forget what Vice Captain Kuragami just said? Don't disgrace the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. After taking a deep breath, Hideaki Sakurai gripped his baton and stepped forward. Seeing this, Yoki Fujiwara gritted his teeth and followed suit. The fight broke out instantly. Hideaki Sakurai fared well. He was a top-performing civilian student in the academy and received training from Saito Uchiha after joining the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. Having mastered the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's issued jutsu and even learned Uchiha-style swordsmanship, he held his ground despite being outnumbered by 4-1. Yoki Fujiwara, however, struggled. As a bottom-tier graduate with little combat experience, he relied solely on his chakra-enhanced physical strength to endure the attacker's blows while swinging his baton wildly. Suddenly, one of the rioters Hideaki Sakurai was suppressing pulled out several shuriken and hurled them at the two of them. Hideaki Sakurai barely managed to dodge, but Yoki Fujiwara wasn't as lucky. He reacted too late. He could only avoid a fatal hit, making the shuriken slashed open his thigh, and blood immediately gushed out. "You're a ninja!" Hideaki Sakurai roared in anger upon seeing the attack. He reached into his tool pouch, ready to retaliate with his own shuriken. Realizing his cover was blown, the rogue ninja from the Mikado clan no longer pretended to be a civilian. Without hesitation, he formed hand seals. Fire style, flame bombs. A fireball shot toward the injured Yoki Fujiwara. Seeing this, Hideaki Sakurai immediately rushed to help, but they had spread out too much during the fight, and he wouldn't make it in time. In desperation, he could only shout, "Dodge!" Yoki Fujiwara wanted to move, but his wounded leg slowed him down. Just as he was about to be engulfed in flames, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. With a swift slash, the fireball was cleaved apart. Leader Saito. Both Hideaki Sakurai and Yoki Fujiwara called out in surprise and relief. The newcomer was none other than Saito Uchiha. TCH. Useless. Once this mission is over and your wounds are healed, prepare for hellish training. Saito Uchiha coldly remarked while shooting Yoki Fujiwara an icy glare. As for you. Saito Uchiha turns his head to the rogue ninja. You dared to try and kill a Hidden Leaf Village military police force officer? You must have a death wish. Since the enemy had already resorted to shuriken and jutsu, Saito Uchiha no longer held back. With his ninja sword in hand, he charged forward at lightning speed. The rogue ninja, only at chunin level at best, was utterly outclassed. He was subdued in less than 3 moves. The other villagers who had initially joined the fight had already fled the moment jutsu was involved. What are you standing around for? Chase them. Saito Uchiha snapped at Hideaki Sakurai, who quickly nodded and resumed pursuit. Meanwhile, word of the village lockdown spread quickly throughout Hidden Leaf Village. However, as always, there were those who lacked common sense. A few so-called kind-hearted villagers, seeing rioters being chased, opened their homes to shelter them. Unfortunately for them, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, now with red eyes, did not care. Without hesitation, they stormed into the homes and ensured that these good Samaritans were also given a brutal lesson in loyalty. Chapter 57, The Anbu's Reaction After 3 Strikes. The villagers who had sheltered the fleeing rioters immediately regretted their decision from just minutes ago. Officer! Stop! Please stop! I have nothing to do with this. You have nothing to do with this. Then why are these rioters hiding in your house? The Hidden Leaf Village military police force member responded without hesitation, striking the villager's waist with his baton. I think you're one of them. Take him away. While the chaos unfolded, Naruto was at ramen Kairaku, buying ramen for himself and picking up a portion for Kakashi. However, just as he stepped out with his takeout box, he was met with the sight of what looked like an all-out street brawl. What? What the heck is happening here? The scene before him left Naruto completely dumbfounded. Even though he recognized the person being beaten to the ground and was receiving 6 hits per second, as someone who often insulted him in the past, his kind heart made him want to speak up on the person's behalf. But before he could say anything, his collar was yanked up. After turning around, he found himself face to face with Uchiha team leader and his blood-red Sharingan staring him down. Where did this kid come from? Haven't you heard the village is under lockdown? Toyon Uchiha's actions immediately put the Anbu, responsible for protecting Naruto, on high alert, and they quickly revealed themselves. Before they could even speak, Toyon tossed Naruto to them and said, "You guys showed up at the right time. Get this kid out of here and make sure he stays home. No loitering outside." Understood. The masked Anbu nodded, taking Naruto from Toyon's hands. After all, Naruto was a Jinchuriki. When Toyon had grabbed Naruto earlier, they had been scared out of their wits. While the full-scale street brawl continued in the village, Kuragami Uchiha, Fugaku Uchiha, and 6th Division leader Shihei Aburame, who had been assigned to stay at the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, were sitting all in Fugaku's office, leisurely brewing tea. "Kuragami, aren't you going to go out and check the situation?" Fugaku asked in confusion. After issuing his orders, Kuragami had simply pulled him aside for tea. "I can't go out yet." Kuragami chuckled. "Otherwise, the third Hokage really won't be able to sit still. Come, drink some tea." Kuragami personally served them. "I've often heard in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force that Kuragami-sama is a master of tea making. I didn't expect to get the chance to taste it today." Shihei Aburame smiled as he took the cup. Meanwhile, back in the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Saratobe had already been informed of the street chaos. "You see, Hiruzen?" Koharu Udatane, who had came to complain, immediately spoke up after hearing the Anbu's report. "The Uchiha are actually attacking villagers. This is outright rebellion. Hiruzen, you can't hesitate anymore." Listening to his old comrade's nagging, Hiruzen felt a surge of irritation. He waved a weary hand before turning to the new Anbu captain. "Where is Kuragami Uchiha right now?" "Hokage-sama, he is still at the Hidden Leaf Village military police force and has not taken any action." "Is that so?" Hiruzen nodded. "That's good." He let out a sigh of relief. It seemed Kuragami had no intention of openly rebelling. Otherwise, as the strongest member of the Uchiha clan, he wouldn't remain idle while the entire Hidden Leaf Village military police force was deployed. "Kami, go and invite Kuragami Uchiha to the Hokage building." Hiruzen sighed before instructing Anbu, who was Kakashi's replacement. "Understood." Kami nodded and left. "Hiruzen, you really can't hesitate anymore. The Uchiha's rebellion is clear as day." Hamura Mitokado added. Hiruzen ignored them and simply lit his pipe. "Hiruzen, you'll regret this." Hamura stomped his foot in frustration, but Hiruzen didn't even bother reminding them that he was the Hokage. These two old fools had spent years nagging him, which he could tolerate, but they had gone behind his back and pulled off something this reckless. Even Denzo, when doing things in secret, would at least inform him in advance. Yet these two had acted without saying a word. When Hiruzen heard the rumors about Kakashi in the village, he was so furious that he nearly picked up his sword to deal with them himself. Hiruzen's original plan had been to have Kakashi adopt Naruto, which would have ensured Kakashi's loyalty. But thanks to these two idiots, Kakashi was now completely pushed toward the Uchiha. To make matters worse, not only had they gone ahead with their plan, but they had done it so sloppily that the Hidden Leaf Village military police force now had a legitimate excuse to act. Legally speaking, Hiruzen had no grounds to intervene. After dealing with the Uchiha for years, Hiruzen knew that Kuragami was different from the previous clan head. He wasn't an idiot who could be easily deceived. After a long silence, Hiruzen finally sighed and said, "Deploy the Anbu to slightly control the situation. Then summon the clan heads of the Inoshikacho clans and send Jonin squads for support." "Understood." Another Anbu in the office took the order and left. Soon, an Anbu messenger arrived at the Anbu base, gathering all the stationed Anbu and sending them into the streets. However, as the Anbu stepped onto the streets and prepared to take action, they were met with the sight of a Hidden Leaf Village military police force member chasing down 3 rioters with batons in hand. "What's going on here?" One of the Anbu stepped forward, slightly blocking the officer's path to stop the aggressive beating. The 3 fleeing civilians, seeing this, immediately scrambled behind the Anbu for protection. The Hidden Leaf Village military police force is carrying out an operation to arrest those spreading rumors against Hidden Leaf Village hero Kakashi Hatake and those who violently resisted police authority. "Are you Anbu planning to shelter these criminals?" Despite being just a Geinin, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force officer remained fearless as he confronted the elite Anbu. "So that's the situation? My mistake." The Anbu nodded in understanding, then stepped aside. Before leaving, he added, "Just don't take it too far. No unnecessary deaths." Under the disbelieving eyes of the hiding villagers, the Anbu leaped over the wall and disappeared. This scene repeated itself throughout the village. Most of the Anbu, after asking a few questions and understanding the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's purpose, chose to stand by and do nothing. Most of what they did was remind the officers not to go overboard or cause any deaths. Chapter 58, Flexing his muscles recently, rumors about Kakashi had been spreading within the village, making many uneasy. They worried that if Kakashi was targeted today, they might be next tomorrow. Moreover, many members of the Anbu had received favors from Kakashi in the past, and a large number of them attended his banquet. So, their choice to stand by and do nothing at this moment was not surprising. On the other hand, the Nara, Yamanaka, and Akimaki clans quickly mobilized their clan members upon receiving orders. However, before they could even step onto the streets of Hidden Leaf Village, a squad of ninjas and a pack of ninja hounds headed straight for their compounds. Leading the group were clan head Kenshiro Inuzuka and clan head Shibuya Barame, both smiling as they approached Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, and Choza Kimiki. Seeing this, Shikaku Nara sighed slightly and asked, "I wonder what brings you two and your clansmen to our Inoshikacho compound?" Clan head Shikaku, "You make it sound so formal." Kenshiro Inuzuka chuckled. "We're just here for a visit, nothing more." "A visit?" Inoichi Yamanaka frowned, noticing the heavily armed ninja hounds. "Of course," Kenshiro Inuzuka replied. "Though it seems we've arrived at an inconvenient time. It's quite late. Where might the three of you be headed? Surely you know the village is under lockdown tonight? We are acting under the orders of the third Hokage to maintain order in the village. I ask that you let us pass," Shikaku Nara said firmly. "But we received orders that tonight is under strict lockdown," Shibuya Barame interjected. "Anyone moving about without authorization, aside from the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, will be treated as rioters." "Since when did the Barame and Inuzuka clans start following the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's orders?" Shikaku Nara narrowed his eyes. "We are not following the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's orders," Kenshiro Inuzuka explained. "But unlike your Inoshikacho clans, who have many members holding key positions in the village, our clans have only recently gained some representation in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. Now that we finally choose to join a side, as clan heads, we must support them fully. If this offends you, clan head Shikaku, I ask for your understanding." At that moment, within their secret clan communication channel, Choza Akimaki asked, "What now, Shikaku? Do we fight?" Shikaku Nara pondered for a moment before replying, "No, they came at just the right time. Let's stay here and wait for this to blow over." "But if we don't act, how will we explain this to the third Hokage?" Inoichi Yamanaka asked. "With them standing here, we have all the explanations we need," Shikaku replied. Fighting was out of the question. While Inoshikacho clans had more Jonin overall and could use their combined jutsus to overpower the Inuzuka and Barame, Shikaku had to consider the bigger picture. Behind the Inuzuka and Barame clans stood the Uchiha. If they clashed here, their enmity would be set in stone, and Inoshikacho would be forced to align themselves fully with Hiruzen Sarutobi. Even if the third Hokage won this political struggle, how long could he realistically remain in power given his age? And who would succeed him? From Shikaku's analysis, the only viable candidates to replace Hiruzen were Jiraiya and Tsunade. If Tsunade returned to the village and expressed interest in leading, he would immediately bet on her. But she preferred to drown in debt rather than return to Hidden Leaf Village. As for Jiraiya, Shikaku would never risk his clan's future on a man who wandered the world chasing a vague prophecy from his summon animal. That left only Kakashi, young and promising, as a possible fifth Hokage. But even if Kakashi did align with the third Hokage, that was all the more reason to avoid action. If they had stepped in now to oppose the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, that would have alienated Kakashi and his supporters. Thus, after careful consideration, Shikaku concluded that the best move was to stay put. This way, they could give the third Hokage an excuse while keeping their clans from being dragged into this mess. Meanwhile, inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi realized that the situation in the village was not improving. With no other choice, he used his crystal ball jutsu to assess the scene. What he saw sent a chill down his spine. He had not expected much from the Anbu, he knew they would be reluctant to interfere. But he had assumed the Inoshikacho clans would step in to stop the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. Instead, he found the three clans in a tense standoff with a fully armed alliance of Barame and Inuzuka ninjas outside their compounds. Hiruzen had noticed how the Inuzuka clan had welcomed Kuragami Uchiha's visit and how the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had ceremoniously received their ninja hounds. He knew the Inuzuka had shifted their allegiance to the Uchiha. But he had not expected them to go all in with such an aggressive display of support. What was even more surprising was the involvement of the Barame clan. At this moment, Hiruzen had to admit that his grip on the village had weakened significantly since Tenzo's death. After taking a long drag from his pipe, he turned to the last remaining Anbu in his office. "Deploy the Jonin squads to support the Anbu." "Understood." After the Anbu left, Koharu Utatane and Hamura Midokado began their usual rambling, but Hiruzen barely had the will to listen. He understood the true purpose of tonight's events. The Hidden Leaf Village military police force's actions were not just about enforcing the law, that was an excuse. This was a power play by Kuragami Uchiha. In less than a month since Denzo's death, Kuragami Uchiha had assembled all the pieces needed to stage an armed rebellion. What worried Hiruzen the most was not just Kuragami's power but his discipline. Unlike previous clan heads, who had been either too reckless or too extreme, Kuragami had operated strictly within the rules. Even as Hokage, Hiruzen couldn't find any legitimate fault in his actions. The only silver lining was that Kuragami had exercised restraint and not escalated the situation beyond control. But the message was clear. Tonight, Kuragami Uchiha flexed his muscles. Chapter 59, The Legacy of the Fourth Hokage. After receiving their mission, the village's Jonin squad took nearly 20 minutes to gather due to the need for a temporary assembly. The Anbu messenger who delivered the order could only watch as fewer than 40 Jonin arrived. This was unavoidable. While the village had around 150 Jonin stationed, there were many who were away on missions. Additionally, members of the Yamanaka, Nara, Okimaki, Aburame, and Inuzuka clans were absent, leaving only about 60 Jonin available. Among them, aside from the members of the Mikado, Uchiha, and Saratobi clans, most hailed from smaller clans like the Gecko clan. At this moment, the only ones who responded to the call were those from the Mikado, Uchiha, and Saratobi clans, while the civilian-born Jonin and those from minor clans dragged their feet, using the village's lockdown as an excuse not to report in. If the others aren't coming, then let's go. A Jonin from the Saratobi clan said. The others nodded in agreement and set off towards the village. However, the moment they stepped outside, they were stopped by a group of nearly 100 ninjas. At the front of the opposing group stood a man with a casual, almost roguish stance, a senbon clenched between his teeth that gleamed under the streetlight. Genma Shiranui. Koji Saratobi, the temporary leader of the Jonin squad, frowned upon recognizing the man. Since Shikaku Nara had been promoted, Koji had taken over command. Though he was displeased, he maintained his patience and said, "Good, you're here. We're short on manpower, join us in suppressing the rebellion at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force." "Oh? Is that so?" Genma Shiranui raised an eyebrow lazily. "Funny, because what I heard was that the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force were cracking down on rioters who were spreading false rumors to slander a village hero and attempting to overthrow the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force with violence. Are you Jonin here to help those rioters?" "Watch your tone, Genma Shiranui. You're just a special Jonin." Tsukiyo Mitokado from the Jonin squad shouted, clearly angered. Genma scoffed. "Oh, my apologies. Such an imposing presence for someone of your status." Suddenly, he spat out the senbon in his mouth like a bullet. It shot out in an instant, embedding itself deep into the ground just inches from the Jonin squad's feet. The needle quivered slightly, which made Tsukiyo Mitokado's expressions darken. A heavily scarred man beside Genma smirked. "Genma, if we'd known being a Jonin came with this much authority, we should have taken the promotion exams years ago. Are you siding with the Uchiha in their rebellion?" Maki Uchiha from the Jonin squad at the side roared. "Cut the nonsense." Genma replied coldly. "I only know that the village is under lockdown tonight. No one is allowed to wander around. This is the Hokage's order." Koji Saratobi growled in anger. "The Hokage's order?" Genma's gaze turned icy. "If the fourth Hokage were still alive, do you think a worthless hack like you, who has never achieved anything, would dare throw around the Hokage's authority to pressure us?" At the mention of the fourth Hokage, Koji Saratobi scrutinized the opposing group. He realized that nearly all of them had once been Minato no Mikage's direct subordinates or people who had benefited from his leadership during the Third Shinobi World War. "Genma, why waste your breath on them?" Raido Namayashi growled impatiently as he drew his weapon. "Even if it costs us our lives tonight, we won't let them pass. The fourth Hokage only had one student left, we won't let them keep pushing him around. You're asking for death." Maki Uchiha scowled and drew his weapon in preparation for battle. Genma took a deep breath. He knew a fight was inevitable. Despite their numbers, only a few of his comrades were at the Jonin level. If they were to hold the enemy here, it would come at a steep cost. The air was tense, moments away from an all-out clash, until a piercing sound, like 1,000 birds chirping, shattered the silence. A blinding flash of lightning streaked through the air, and a white-haired ninja, with his hand crackling with lightning, appeared between the two groups, halting the confrontation. Hot on his heels came a man in a green jumpsuit with a distinctive bowl-cut hairstyle. "Kakashi?" Koji Saratobi's face twisted in frustration. If it had just been Genma's group, the 30-plus Jonin here could have subdued them. But with the arrival of Kakashi Hatake and Might Guy, the situation flipped completely. Both were considered elite Jonin, and with nearly 100 special Jonin supporting them, they had more than enough power to wipe out Koji's group. Genma, on the other hand, smiled upon seeing Kakashi, someone he hadn't properly spoken to in years. "Finally showing your face, huh?" Genma chuckled. "I thought you were planning to hide forever." "Thanks," Kakashi said, turning back to look at the former subordinates of his late sensei, feeling a wave of emotions. "How's the kid doing these days?" Raido Namayashi asked. "He's doing well. Kakashi replied with a small smile. A bit too mischievous for his own good now that he's older, but he's getting by. You should come visit sometime. Kakashi understood that his decision to take in Naruto had likely given these people the resolve to stand by him now. Enough talking, Kakashi. Now that you're here, we'll leave the rest to you. Just give the orders. Genma said. Kakashi nodded, then turned his gaze toward the assembled Jonin squad. After removing his mask, his sharp yet slightly androgynous features now carried the commanding presence of a true leader. Jonin of the village. Kakashi said firmly, this ends here. I will explain everything to Hokage-sama. Kakashi, you, Koji Sarutobi started to protest, but before he could finish, Kakashi's hand ignited with lightning once again. Koji's expression soured immediately. Though he held the same Jonin rank as Kakashi, the number of Jonin who had died to Kakashi's self-created S-rank jutsu, Lightning Blade, was nearly triple digits. He had no desire to experience its power firsthand. TCH. Fine. Explain it to the third Hokage yourself. Koji scoffed, turning to leave. The rest of the Jonin had no choice but to retreat alongside him. Guy, keep watch here. Kakashi said while deactivating his lightning blade, then he turned to Might Guy. I need to go to the third Hokage's office. Leave it to me. Might Guy gave a thumbs up, his grin shining even in the dim streetlight. While he still didn't fully understand what was going on, one thing was clear, if people were stepping up to clear Kakashi's name, then as Kakashi's lifelong rival, he had to help too. Chapter 60, The Darkened Shizui. As Kakashi hurried toward the Hokage building, the village's combat tournament had already reached its climax. The rioters who had gathered outside the Hidden Leaf Village military police force earlier had mostly been captured, with only a few remaining ninjas disguised as rioters, secretly raised by two clans. Their resistance had resulted in injuries among some civilian ninjas, but with the full force of the Hidden Leaf Village military police force hunting them down, their capture was only a matter of time. Those living near the Hidden Leaf Village military police force could see, through their windows, officers dragging the battered rioters, beaten to the point of being barely conscious, back toward the station. Terrified, they shut their doors and windows tightly, not daring to make a sound. Meanwhile, Kuragami Uchiha was calmly drinking tea in Fugaku's office with Fugaku Uchiha and Aburame Shihai. Even when Anbu came to summon him to the Hokage building, he detained the other party at the Hidden Leaf Village military police force instead. Everything that had happened today was unfolding just as he had anticipated. By the end of the night, he and Kakashi would be able to lay all their bargaining chips on the table, and he would truly become the one controlling the game. The third Hokage's invitation to meet was clearly an attempt to negotiate, but before that, Kuragami had something more important to take care of. Just then, a powerful chakra fluctuation suddenly erupted, shaking the entire Hidden Leaf Village military police force building. The direction of that chakra. Your office? Fugaku's expression changed drastically as he turned to look at Kuragami. Don't worry, I'll go check. Kuragami said calmly. But as he turned his back to them, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Finally, it had happened, his plan had not been in vain. Kuragami stood up, and Fugaku and Shihai quickly followed. Meanwhile, officers from downstairs rushed up after hearing the commotion. Seeing this, Kuragami raised a hand to stop his anxious subordinates. Go back to work. It's nothing serious. Are you sure? Uchiha still looked worried. The disturbance just now had been quite severe. If there was a real problem, don't you think I could handle it myself? Kuragami shot him an annoyed look before adding, take everyone back. I've got this. When Kuragami reached his office door, he turned to Fugaku and Shihai. You two should stay outside. Leave this to me. 2 hours earlier Shizue Uchiha, feeling emotionally exhausted from dealing with the unreasonable villagers, had not participated in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's operation. However, watching the officers violently subdue the rioters, dragging their battered bodies back to the station, awakened a sense of justice in Shizue, compelling him to step in and stop them. Yet, the memory of these same people mocking him and disregarding the will of fire held him back. Instead, confusion took root in his heart, driving him toward Kuragami's office in search of answers. Upon reaching Kuragami's office, he found it empty. Kuragami was having tea with Fugaku elsewhere. Shizue intended to wait and reflect, but his eyes were soon drawn to the scattered documents on Kuragami's desk. When Kuragami pushed open the office door, the scene before him was striking. Papers were strewn across the room. At the desk, Shizue sat in shock, his once bright Sharingan spinning wildly, blood tears streaming down his face. A violent surge of chakra pulsed around him. If these eyes had been his originals, a Mangekyo Sharingan would likely have awakened at his very moment. Kuragami observed silently, and then he calmly shut the door behind him. Without a word, He began picking up the scattered documents, copies of the intel he had retrieved from Orochimaru's base. He had deliberately left them here, and their effect was proving to be exactly as he had intended. Kuragami. This isn't real, is it? Shizue asked, his vacant gaze regaining a hint of light upon seeing Kuragami. Shizue, with your clearance level, you shouldn't even be looking at this. Kuragami replied softly. Kuragami. Shizue growled with desperation in his eyes. He desperately wanted to believe that what he had just read was fake because if it were true, it would shatter everything he had ever stood for. I retrieved these from Orochimaru's base. Do you think they could be fake? Kuragami said as he sat back down in his chair. Ah! Shizue screamed in agony while clutching his head. His chakra flared violently, and his Sharingan spun uncontrollably. However, he still couldn't take that final step, his eyes wouldn't evolve further. Through his summoning jutsu with his ninja hawk, Kuragami could feel the residual connection to Shizue's original Mangekyo Sharingan. So, without his original eyes, he truly can't reach the final evolution, Kuragami mused. Then he stepped forward and quickly suppressed Shizue's chakra. Shizue had already started burning his life force. If he wasn't stopped, he might actually die here tonight. Even after having his chakra forcibly sealed, Shizue remained distraught. Kuragami, unfazed, pulled over a tea set and slowly brewed tea, waiting for Shizue to vent his emotions. After some time, Shizue finally calmed down. Blood tears still stained his face as he looked up at Kuragami. Have you calmed down? Kuragami asked while sliding a cup of tea toward him. Thank you. Shizue muttered weakly. Kuragami. Why? Why is it like this? You think I don't want to know? Kuragami suddenly snapped, an uncharacteristic burst of anger breaking through his usual composure. Damn it. How did the village end up like this? They drilled the will of fire into us at the academy every day. And yet, look at them, Denzo, Hamura, Koharu. Every single one of them is corrupt. Kuragami ranted. These people should all be executed. But for the sake of the village's stability, I have to lock away this evidence that could bring them down. Chapter 61, Origins of Kuragami's Visual Jutsu. Kuragami Uchiha's sudden outburst of curses left Shizue momentarily stunned. In his impression, Kuragami Uchiha had always been calm and courteous when dealing with others. Even on the night they clashed, he had never lost his composure like this. So, you knew all of this from the beginning, didn't you? Shizue asked. More or less. Kuragami Uchiha replied as he gradually calmed down. After all, I have read a lot of files in the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force. It is easy to find that some missing cases in the village are problematic, but there was no evidence before. So you've always been suspicious of the village's higher-ups, haven't you? Why didn't you? Shizue had initially wanted to ask why Kuragami hadn't told him, but when he met Kuragami's gaze, he wisely closed his mouth. Of course. Given how easily he had been manipulated by those people before, why would Kuragami ever trust him? At that moment, Shizue suddenly realized that if Kuragami hadn't taken Koto Umatsukami from him and he had successfully cast it on Fugaku Uchiha back then, what terrifying consequences would have followed? At that point, the clan's children would have suffered the same fate as the missing children recorded in those documents. Worse yet, as the one who set everything in motion, he would have remained oblivious until the entire Uchiha clan was devoured. It was Kuragami who had prevented that. It was he who had stopped him from becoming the executioner of his own clan. Thank you. Shizue murmured. There's no need for thanks between clan members. Kuragami knew exactly what Shizue was referring to and waved it off indifferently. Kuragami, you once told me that every Uchiha who awakens the Mangekyo Sharingan must face an internal trial, and the visual jutsu that emerges from the Mangekyo Sharingan represents their personal answer to that trial. Can you tell me what trial you faced and the answer you found? Me? At Shizue's question, a flicker of emotion passed across Kuragami's face. When I was 9, the village sent me to the battlefield. At first, my mindset was the same as most Uchiha. I believed I could make a name for myself in war using the power of our clan's Kekkei Genkai. But then, the battlefield revealed its cruelest side to me. My Sharingan reached the 3 Tomui stage within a year, a level most of our clan never attained in their lifetime. But as you know, Shizue, every advancement of the Sharingan comes at the cost of losing someone important. My teachers, my comrades, my clansmen. They all disappeared in the fire of war. Because of certain experiences, I began to question whether this world was even real. At one point, I thought this was just an illusion, a twisted, meaningless world where death could come at any second from an unseen shuriken or jutsu. I wondered if there was any purpose in struggling to survive. But then, one day, my uncle, Kaido Uchiha, who had raised me after my parents died, was surrounded by 15 squads of Hidden Mist Village Jonin. He died covering my retreat, swallowed by their combined jutsu. My parents had passed away when I was still a baby, and Uncle Kaido had always been like a father to me. The pain of losing him was unbearable. And in that moment, I found my answer. This world is absolutely real. And in the face of its cruelty, the only thing I can do is lead those I care about, no matter how hopeless the situation, toward that one sliver of hope to change this world. Kuragami locked eyes with Shisui and spoke each word with unwavering determination. That is the origin of my visual jutsu, 80 calamities Amaterasu. I see. Shisui sighed deeply. You were right. Compared to you, my resolve is truly too shallow. But what do we do about all this? He gestured toward the incriminating documents detailing the treachery of the three clans colluding with Orochimaru. Kuragami fell silent for a moment before letting out a sigh. Very well. Then, he called toward the door, Leader Shihai. Shihai Aburame, who had been waiting outside, immediately entered. When he saw Shisui, a flicker of curiosity passed behind his sunglasses, but he said nothing and merely turned to Kuragami. Vice Captain, your orders? Go check on the interrogation and see how the prisoners are holding up. Kuragami asked. Understood. Shihai left and returned shortly after. The interrogation is nearly complete. Most of the rioters were incited by certain individuals. However, the ones who orchestrated everything, the ninja who infiltrated the mob, belonged to the Uchiha and Mikado clans. That's all we need. Kuragami nodded and pushed the incriminating documents toward both Shihai and Shisui. The Uchiha and Mikado clans are the clans of the Hokage's senior advisors. They have not only betrayed the village by colluding with rebel ninjas but have also conspired against their fellow villagers, even going so far as to slander one of Hidden Leaf Village's heroes, Kakashi Hatake. Leader Shihai. Kuragami turned to Shihai Aburame. Yes. Take the 6th Division and arrest all suspects within the Uchiha, Mikado, and Shimura clans. Shisui. Yes. Shisui's gaze was resolute as he bowed slightly in acknowledgement. You will provide support. If they resist, they will be deemed traitors to the village, and lethal force is authorized. Understood. The two men nodded in unison. Come back soon, it's been a long night for everyone. Kuragami grinned as they left. Shisui and the 6th Division set out toward the three clans' compounds. Having spent the night in reserve duty, the 6th Division members had watched enviously as other squads returned with prisoners. Now that they finally had their mission, they were eager for action. Tonight, the compounds of the three clans would not be quiet. After making all the necessary arrangements, Kuragami downed the last of his tea and rose to leave for the Hokage building. Just then, Fugaku Uchiha, who had been waiting outside, stepped into the office. He glanced at the sword Swift Thunder resting on the weapon rack and asked, Aren't you bringing your sword? No need. Kuragami smiled. I don't think I'll need it tonight. Oh, right, Captain Fugaku, before you clock out, make sure to distribute the bonuses and jutsu scrolls. Everyone's worked hard tonight, and I think they'll sleep better with their rewards in hand. I understand. Fugaku chuckled. Chapter 62, Negotiation. Due to the lockdown in the village, Kuragami Uchiha encountered no obstacles on his way to the Hokage building. The only people he came across were a few Hidden Leaf Village military police force members dragging some beaten-down criminals back to headquarters like dead dogs. When they greeted him, Kuragami smiled and returned the gesture, reminding them to finish up quickly so they could collect their bonuses and jutsus before clocking out. Hearing this, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force members cheered and, in their excitement, landed a few more kicks on the nearly unconscious criminals. By the time Kuragami arrived at the Hokage building, Kakashi had also just arrived. The two exchanged a knowing smile before walking in together. After a brief report, Kuragami and Kakashi swaggered straight into the Hokage's office. Before the third Hokage could even speak, Koharu Uchiha immediately lashed out, Kuragami Uchiha, what was the meaning of the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's actions tonight? Is the Uchiha clan trying to? Before she could finish, Kuragami's Mengekyo Sharingan activated instantly, releasing a surge of chakra that flooded the Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi abruptly stood up and slammed his desk while roaring in rage. Enough. His sudden outburst cut Koharu off mid-sentence. Meanwhile, beside Kuragami, the chakra forms a massive, dark skeletal arm adorned with glowing blue runes. The arm of his Susanoo reached into the corner of the room, pulling out two chairs. Kuragami casually sat down and gestured for Kakashi to do the same. Kakashi smirked slightly, adjusted his attire, and took a seat. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed upon seeing this. The Uchiha's ultimate power is the Mengekyo Sharingan Susanoo. The last time he had seen this ability, he had been just a boy. Though Kuragami's manifestation of it did not yet compare to the godlike strength of Madara Uchiha, his effortless display made it clear, this wasn't even close to his full power. And more importantly, Hiruzen glanced at Kakashi, who was now seated beside Kuragami as an equal. Their open display of unity left no room for doubt. They were allies. Hiruzen scowled at Koharu and Hamura, the two elders whose foolish actions had driven Kakashi straight into the Uchiha's camp. He had already seen everything unfold through his crystal ball. The way former 4th Hokage loyalists had blocked the Jonin squad from intervening, and the moment Kakashi stepped forward to carry the banner left behind by the 4th Hokage, forming a new faction within the village instantly. At the same time, Kuragami had silently amassed an army. Hiruzen realized he no longer held the initiative. Advisor Koharu. Kuragami leaned back in his chair, smirking. You should be careful with your words. Once spoken, they can't be taken back. You, Koharu seethed in anger. After warning the other party, Kuragami Uchiha was too lazy to talk to her anymore and turned back to look at Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hokage-sama, tonight the Hidden Leaf Village military police force was attacked by rioters manipulated by malicious people. In response, we were forced to enforce a lockdown and suppress the disorder. We regret not informing you sooner, and we ask for your understanding. I've already looked into the situation. Hiruzen forced a smile. You handled it well, Kuragami. Maintaining order in the village is the duty of the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. This matter must be dealt with seriously. Hiruzen. Hamura exclaimed in shock. It's late. Hiruzen interrupted, his tone firm. And you two aren't young anymore. Someone escort the two advisors home to rest. Before negotiating with Kuragami, Hiruzen knew the first step was removing these two idiots from the room. Their presence would only make things worse. Back when the Uchiha lacked the power to stage a coup, Hiruzen could overlook their ignorance. But now, the Uchiha did have the power. If these two elders kept running their mouths, they would only accelerate disaster. Oh, no need for that, Hokage-sama. Kuragami's smile widened. Since they care so much about the village, it's only fair they stay and listen. After all, what I'm about to say concerns them as well. What do you mean? Koharu gritted her teeth. Before she could get an answer, a massive explosion rocked the southern part of the Hokage building. Hiruzen, Hamura, and Koharu's expressions all tensed. The explosion, especially in the latter two, came from the direction of their clan compounds. What did you do? Hamura asked through gritted teeth. I merely sent people to arrest criminals who had colluded with the rebel ninja Orochimaru, harmed fellow villagers, and spread slanderous rumors to tarnish the reputation of our village's heroes. Kuragami replied casually while leaning back in his chair. It just so happens that all of these criminals belong to your two clans, advisors, and the now deceased former leader of the route, the rebel ninja, Denzo Shimura. Kuragami's words, though spoken with a smile, sent a chill down their spines. Just an arrest operation, correct? Hiruzen lit his pipe and exhaled a cloud of smoke while staring intently at Kuragami. Of course. Kuragami met Hiruzen's gaze fearlessly while still smiling. Shizue Uchiha himself is leading the operation. If you don't trust me, surely you trust your own Anbu, don't you? Hiruzen nodded slowly while reaching for the crystal ball on his desk. After infusing it with chakra, he activated the crystal ball jutsu. Soon, images from the targeted clan compounds appeared within the crystal ball. A massive green humanoid figure, glowing with ethereal energy, stood in the center of the battlefield, completely unfazed by the barrage of jutsu being hurled at it. With just a casual swipe of its hand, the enemy ninja collapsed in droves. What is that? Koharu and Hamura were utterly stunned. Kuragami, ever the helpful one, answered with a grin. This is the Uchiha clan's ultimate power, Susanoo. He turned to them, his smile never fading. I suggest you start thinking about how you'll explain yourselves to the Hokage. According to the evidence obtained from interrogations tonight, the rumors that have been circulating in the village these past few days were all orchestrated under your orders. Chapter 63, Hiruzen Sarutobi concedes. At this moment, the two elders were furious. Through the crystal ball on Hiruzen Sarutobi's desk, they watched as, in just a few short minutes, several elite jonin, whom they had painstakingly cultivated over the years using various resources, fell under Shizue Uchiha's Susanoo. The ninjas in the Uchiha and Mitokado clans are quite impressive. Kuragami Uchiha said with a light smile. These simple words sent cold sweat dripping down the two advisors' backs. They were well aware of their own situation. The ninjas attacking Shizue's Susanoo were not officially part of the village's ninja forces. In other words, they were private soldiers secretly raised by the two clans. While many of Hidden Leaf Village's clans engaged in such activities, it was one thing to keep such matters off the record and quite another to have them exposed. Hiruzen Sarutobi set down his pipe and severed the chakra flow to the crystal ball. What Kuragami Uchiha had just mentioned was indeed not something that should be openly discussed. Not only had the Saratobi clan engaged in similar actions, but at this moment, even if Koharu and Hamura were foolish, he had to protect their clan's ninjas. Otherwise, the number of ninjas in the village who were still loyal to him would dwindle dangerously low. Hokage-sama, after interrogating the instigators of the coup attempt, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force has confirmed that the source of the rumors about Kakashi originated from the Uchiha and Mikado clans. I must ask the two advisors to accompany me back to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force for an investigation. Kuragami Uchiha stated. Kuragami Uchiha, we were personally appointed as advisors by the second Hokage. According to law, you and the Hidden Leaf Village military police force have no right to investigate us. Hamura Mikado said in a stern voice. Hokage-sama, is that your stance as well? Kuragami Uchiha turned to Hiruzen. This matter does not only concern Kakashi personally. Every ninja in the village deserves an explanation. For the sake of the Will of Fire, I ask you, Hokage-sama, to uphold justice, not just for Kakashi, but for every ninja who may one day sacrifice for this village. Hokage-sama, Kuragami is right. At this moment, Kakashi, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. Personally, I don't mind a little grievance. But if this causes Hidden Leaf Village's ninjas to start doubting the Will of Fire, then things could get very bad. Hiruzen looked at Kakashi, feeling a headache coming on. Since when did everyone start preaching about the Will of Fire? Even Kakashi had adopted the rhetoric. Kakashi. Koharu Uchiha was about to reprimand him when Hiruzen suddenly roared in anger. Enough. Hiruzen glared hatefully at Hamura and Koharu. You two still have the audacity to bring up the second Hokage? As one of his disciples myself, I don't recall him ever teaching us such despicable tactics. Hiruzen, you, Koharu and Hamura were left speechless by his harsh words. But Hiruzen didn't intend to give them another chance to speak. Anbu. Take the two advisors into custody and escort them to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force for questioning. Yes, sir. The doors to the Hokage's office burst open, and several Anbu members entered. Having finished their patrol duties in the village, they had returned to report. Unlike their earlier nonchalant attitude on the streets, they moved swiftly this time, surrounding the two advisors in an instant with their hands resting on their weapons. Advisors, please cooperate. Don't make this difficult for us. One masked Anbu warned in a low voice. Koharu turned to Hiruzen in disbelief but saw only a warning look in his eyes. Hiruzen could only hope these two fools would be smart enough to go along with the investigation. If they complied, he might be able to pull some strings and get them out in a few days. But if they resisted now, things could spiral out of his control, even beyond his authority as Hokage. Humphrey, Hiruzen, you'll regret this. Hamura scoffed but ultimately chose not to resist. He and Koharu allowed themselves to be taken away by the Anbu. After they left, Hiruzen rubbed his temples wearily. Their foolishness made him suddenly nostalgic for Denzo. After a moment, he looked at Kakashi and Kuragami Uchiha. Kakashi, Kuragami, do you find this resolution acceptable? Hokage-sama has acted justly and impartially. I admire your integrity. Kuragami Uchiha replied. No need for such praise. Hiruzen sighed. This incident was ultimately my oversight. As Hokage, I bear responsibility. Hokage-sama, please don't blame yourself. The advisors were blinded by their lust for power and forgot the Will of Fire and the teachings of the second Hokage. Kuragami Uchiha said. They became this way under my watch, so I still share some responsibility. Hiruzen admitted. But Kuragami, Kakashi, as a personal request from me, let's end this matter here. I will personally issue a statement to clear up all the rumors. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Kakashi nodded. Also, Kuragami, although those two advisors made a mistake, they have still contributed to the village over the years. Please show some leniency in their treatment for my sake. Hiruzen requested. Understood. Kuragami Uchiha smiled. Given their status, they certainly shouldn't be detained with common prisoners. For that reason, Hokage-sama, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, has decided to construct a special detention facility by the Naka River to hold them. That seems reasonable. Hiruzen nodded. By the way, Hokage-sama, about the things Kakashi and I found at Orochimaru's lab, have you made a decision? Kuragami Uchiha asked. Hearing this, Hiruzen's heart drops to the bottom. After thinking for a moment, he replied, let's delay that discussion. The village cannot afford further turmoil right now. Kuragami Uchiha furrowed his brow. That will be difficult, Hokage-sama. He sighed before continuing, this was my mistake. There was too much happening tonight, and I was so overwhelmed that I forgot to properly store the documents. As a result, Shizue accidentally saw them. With an apologetic expression, Kuragami Uchiha added, "Hokage-sama, you know my cousin's nature. He is pure-hearted and terrible at keeping secrets. If we delay too long, he will undoubtedly start overthinking things." Hiruzen was momentarily speechless. Kuragami Uchiha immediately bowed deeply. "This was ultimately my negligence. I ask for your forgiveness, Hokage-sama." Chapter 64, The dust settles. After hearing Kuragami Uchiha's words, Hiruzen Sarutobi finally understood why Shizue Uchiha, who had always been a pacifist, stood with the Hidden Leaf Village military police force tonight and even attacked his fellow villagers. At the same time, Hiruzen also realized that this matter could no longer be delayed. If he continued to cover it up, the will of fire, his core ideology used to win over young talents like Shizue from the Uchiha clan, would completely collapse, and he would lose Shizue's trust for good. Although Shizue's Mangekyo Sharingan was currently in Kuragami's possession, the Susanoo that Shizue had just displayed was not something an ordinary ninja could counter. If Shizue fully sided with his clan, the Uchiha would then have two Kage-level combatants. On the other hand, if Shizue still believed in the will of fire, then even though their relationship might already have cracks, Hiruzen was certain that if the Uchiha launched a rebellion, Shizue would step forward to stop it. That was likely why Kuragami had remained so restrained tonight. After sorting out his thoughts, Hiruzen spoke, "Kuragami, this isn't your fault. After all, no one could have predicted what happened tonight. Since things have came to this point, delaying any further will be meaningless. Let's officially start an investigation into this matter," Hiruzen declared. "However, given the seriousness of the issue, I intend to have both the Anbu and the Hidden Leaf Village military police force conduct the investigation together. Kuragami, what do you think?" Although the exposure of the three clans' collusion with Orochimaru had already reached the point of no return once Shizue learned about it, Hiruzen had learned from the previous investigation into Root. He understood that he could not let the Hidden Leaf Village military police force handle this case alone. The last time Kuragami was given power, it only took him a month to expand his influence significantly. If the Uchiha had been given complete control over this case, Hiruzen wouldn't have dared to imagine what could happen. As it should be. Kuragami nodded. If he were in Hiruzen's position, he wouldn't let the Hidden Leaf Village military police force handle such a critical matter alone either. He had expected this reaction and never intended to monopolize the investigation. His real goal was simply to force Hiruzen to open an inquiry. Besides, a joint investigation had its benefits. Even though Anbu's involvement meant he wouldn't be able to operate as freely as before, it also gave him a chance to infiltrate the Anbu. Naturally, Kuragami had no objections. With everything settled, Kuragami and Kakashi both took their leave. Watching them walk away, Hiruzen lit his pipe again and gazed out at the night sky. After a long sigh, he had to admit that ever since Denzo's death, his control over the village had weakened. Today's events, especially the reactions of the Inoshikacho clans, made him realize that he might truly be getting old. With another sigh, Hiruzen pulled out a letter, preparing to write to Jiraiya once more. But after just writing Jiraiya's name, he sighed deeply again. Among his three students, the only one he could still rely on now was the one who had once given him the most headaches. "I hope he comes back and changes all of this," Hiruzen murmured. As Kuragami and Kakashi left the Hokage's office, they went their separate ways at an intersection. "Where are you headed?" Kuragami asked. "I remember your house isn't in that direction. Some old friends are waiting for me. I need to go tell them how things turned out," Kakashi replied. "The fourth Hokage's former subordinates?" Kuragami asked. "Yeah." Kakashi nodded without hiding it. "If the fourth Hokage were still alive, the village wouldn't have ended up like this," Kuragami said with some regret. "Kakashi, bring everyone to the Uchiha district tomorrow. I'm planning to host a banquet. Tonight, those seniors who still believe in the will of fire contributed a lot. Our Hidden Leaf Village military police force should properly show our gratitude." "I understand." Kakashi nodded. After saying goodbye, he headed toward the scene of the earlier conflict. "Oh, and bring that guy who uses wood style too." Kuragami suddenly remembered something and shouted toward Kakashi's departing figure. "The Hidden Leaf Village military police force has some tasks for him." By the time Kuragami returned to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, it was already late, but the entire building was still brightly lit. On his way back to his office, he ran into a few civilian officers carrying batons, heading toward the interrogation room. The moment they saw Kuragami, they immediately stood at attention and saluted loudly. "Vice Captain Kuragami. Loyalty." After returning the salute, Kuragami patted one officer on the shoulder, glanced at his nameplate, and asked, "Still working this late?" Reporting to Vice Captain Kuragami. "We're not tired. The interrogation of the rioters isn't finished yet, so we plan to complete it tonight." Taro Hasegawa, who was full of energy, replied. Kuragami noticed the man's pockets bulging with bonus money and tools, smiled, and said, "It's good to have that kind of enthusiasm, but you need to balance work and rest. Go home." Vice Captain Kuragami. "We're really not tired." Taro Hasegawa protested. "No way, they are getting paid 2 months' salary bonus plus jutsu, then just going home? That would be disrespectful to both the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force and Vice Captain Kuragami." Kuragami shook his head with a chuckle. "Alright, I can't argue with you guys. Go ahead, but pass the message to everyone working late. Thank you all for your hard work. I'll find a way to get some late-night snacks for everyone. Long live Vice Captain Kuragami." The officers around him cheered at his words. After finally getting out of the encirclement of the enthusiastic crowd, Kuragami returned to his office, and Shizue Uchiha, who had completed his mission, was already there waiting for him. "How did it go? Was the mission successful?" Kuragami asked while walking to his chair. "Everyone on the list was captured without exception," Shizue reported. "Good." Kuragami nodded. "I'm putting you in charge of the follow-up investigation." "Me?" Shizue was taken aback. "That's right. I've reached an agreement with the third Hokage. Both the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force and the Anbu will investigate this case together. In a few days, once our new detention facility is set up, the Anbu will join in. Since you've worked in Anbu before, you're the best person to oversee this and ensure smooth cooperation." "Understood." Shizue nodded. "I'll take care of it. Shizue, don't let the clan down again," Kuragami reminded him as he left. Chapter 65, The Fourth Hokage's Former Subordinates and First Meeting with Naruto. Kuragami Uchiha ultimately didn't make everyone work overtime all night. After spending 100,000 ryo to invite Toki from his home to the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters to personally prepare a luxurious bowl of ramen for each of the overtime workers, he let everyone go home and rest. The next day, on a large open space of about 1,000 square meters on the east side of the Uchiha clan's grounds, the non-ninja members of the Uchiha clan were busily setting up the venue. Normally, this area was used for hosting weddings of the clan's younger generation. However, today, their clan head was using it to host a banquet for the kind-hearted ninja who had assisted in suppressing the rioters, who had attempted to tarnish the honor of a village hero through rumors, thereby threatening the purity of the will of fire. Thus, from early morning, the entire Uchiha clan was bustling with activity. Meanwhile, at the Hatake clan's ancestral home, Kakashi was already up early, pulling a reluctant Naruto out of bed. Due to the curfew the previous night, Naruto had a day off from the academy and had planned to sleep in. However, Kakashi had other plans. "Ugh, what's the deal, Kakashi?" Naruto grumbled. He had stayed up late, waiting for Kakashi to return safely before going to bed, so being woken up early made him cranky. But Kakashi, without any explanation, had already started pulling clothes over his head. "We're going out for a big meal today. If you don't want to get up, suit yourself," Kakashi said nonchalantly. "A big meal?" Naruto's ears perked up instantly. In a flash, he dressed himself and followed Kakashi out the door. Before heading to their destination, Kakashi first stopped by Yamato's place, pulling him along as well. Then, the three of them made their way toward the Uchiha clan grounds. After walking for a while, Naruto sensed something was off, then he looked up and asked, "Where are we going?" "Every time I've walked this way before, an Anbu uncle would show up and tell me I can't go any further." "You'll know when we get there," Kakashi replied. "Besides, from now on, there's nowhere in the village that you aren't allowed to go." "For real?" Naruto's eyes lit up. "Of course. But if you pull a prank over there, I'm not bailing you out from the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force," Kakashi warned. As they continued walking, they ran into Genma Shiranui and Raido Namayashi. When Genma and the others saw Naruto's bright blonde hair, their expressions became momentarily dazed. "He really does look just like him," Raido murmured while gazing at the laughing Naruto, who was walking alongside Kakashi. All of them had once been part of the Fourth Hokage's original team. They knew the Fourth Hokage had left behind a son. However, after the Fourth Hokage's death on the night of the Nine-Tails Rebellion, their positions in the village become awkward. If the Fourth Hokage had survived, they would likely have taken up important positions in the Anbu or as high-ranking Jonin by now. However, with the Fourth Hokage's untimely death, they found themselves marginalized. Many of them were of civilian or minor ninja clan backgrounds, lacking strong political ties within the village. While the third Hokage didn't actively suppress them, his faction subtly alienated them when distributing missions and responsibilities. Faced with this reality, they had no choice but to accept it. Although they knew the Fourth Hokage's son was still alive, Naruto's identity was too sensitive. In their precarious position, they didn't dare openly help him. At most, they would secretly teach a lesson to any villagers who bullied him, but even then, they couldn't let anyone know why. But now that Kakashi had stepped forward to carry the banner, everything was different. When Kakashi and Naruto approached, Genma was the first to reach out and ruffle Naruto's hair. Once he started, the others couldn't resist either, and soon, Naruto was passed around like a plush toy, his golden hair becoming a complete mess. "Hey! Who the heck are you guys?" Naruto protested, thoroughly irritated from being patted and ruffled by everyone. He pouted and glared at everyone, but his expression made everyone burst into laughter. "Naruto, these brothers and sisters were once your father's subordinates," Kakashi said with a smile. Kakashi had thought it through. Now that he had officially stepped forward, aside from maintaining some decorum for the third Hokage's sake, meaning he couldn't reveal Naruto's father's identity outright, there was no need to keep Naruto completely in the dark anymore. It was time for him to start learning about these things. After all, everything that Kakashi had inherited from his teacher ultimately belonged to Naruto, his teacher's true heir. Huh? Really? Naruto was stunned, and then he turned to Genma. "So you guys knew my father?" "Yes, your father was a truly great ninja," Genma said with a smile. "Then, can you tell me who he is?" Naruto pouted expectantly. "Of course. We can't," Genma teased while grinning mischievously. The others knew their limits, too. They still had to give the third Hokage some face. "Oh, come on. Don't tell me you're gonna say that my father had really powerful enemies, so you can't tell me for my own safety?" Naruto said angrily. "Oh, you are a smart kid, you have learned the answer quickly." Genma laughed. The group laughed heartily, but Naruto, at the center of it all, was practically steaming with frustration. "Alright, Naruto." Kakashi knelt down to his level. "Your father's story isn't simple. Once you truly become a ninja, you'll gradually uncover his identity on your own. But what about the stuff you said before? About my dad's enemies?" Naruto pouted, still upset. "Oh, that was a lie," Kakashi admitted casually. "With so many people in the village willing to protect you, those so-called enemies are no big deal, right?" As he spoke, Kakashi glanced at Genma and the others. "Of course," Genma replied with a grin. "Little Naruto, grow up quickly. When the day comes that you find out who your father is, you might just be in for a big surprise." As he spoke, Genma couldn't help but glance toward the Hokage rock. "Humphrey. You guys are the worst. Lying to a kid like that. I'm not talking to you anymore." Frustrated by their answers, Naruto shook off their hands and sprinted toward the Uchiha compound. "This kid's got some energy," Raito remarked with a chuckle while watching Naruto's retreating figure. "But Kakashi, are you sure about bringing him to the Uchiha clan's grounds? Is it really okay?" Genma asked, turning serious. "There's no problem," Kakashi replied firmly. "The Uchiha are our allies." Thinking back to how the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had been the first to stand up for Kakashi during this recent turmoil, Genma nodded. "As long as you're sure." Chapter 66, Naruto in the Uchiha clan. Naruto ran headfirst into the Uchiha clan's territory. Along the way, he encountered a few members of the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, who initially wanted to scold him for running around the streets. However, upon recognizing who he was, they wisely chose to ignore him. It wasn't until he got tired and stopped running that Naruto realized he was lost. After wandering aimlessly through the Uchiha district, Naruto soon noticed something different about this place compared to the rest of the village. Although the people here were busy, they treated him like any ordinary child rather than looking at him with hostility or cursing at him as they did elsewhere in the village. Some elderly women even stopped to ask if he was lost when they saw that he was alone. This was a completely new experience for Naruto. Ever since the Nine Tails Rebellion, the Uchiha clan had been forced to relocate to the outskirts of the village. As a result, the common folk of the Uchiha had little interaction with the rest of the villagers. Their district had its own market, fulfilling their daily needs, and because of the Uchiha's formidable reputation, few outsiders dared to venture into their territory. While the Uchiha ninja were well aware of Naruto's identity, the ordinary clan members only knew that such a person existed without knowing exactly who he was. Because of this, they naturally didn't associate the 7-year-old boy in front of them with the demon fox of the village roamers. As Naruto basked in this rare sense of peace, a cold voice suddenly called out to him. "Dead last, what are you doing here?" Naruto immediately recognized the voice and turned around excitedly, only to see a familiar figure standing in the corner. "Sasuke? What are you doing here?" Although the two didn't get along in school, in this unfamiliar environment, seeing someone he knew made Naruto genuinely happy. "My house is here. Why wouldn't I be here?" Sasuke tried to maintain his image as an aloof genius, But the slight joy in his eyes betrayed his true feelings. He was actually happy to run into Naruto here. "Oh, so your house is in this area." Naruto grinned as he walked up to Sasuke. But just as he reached him, he suddenly remembered how Sasuke had addressed him earlier. "I'm not the last anymore," he huffed in protest. Although Naruto hadn't been living with Kakashi for long and hadn't learned any powerful ninjutsu yet, even the basic taijutsu jutsus Kakashi had taught him were enough for him to handle the ordinary civilian-born students in class. His theory grades were still terrible due to his habit of skipping class, but he was no longer at the bottom. "You still can't beat me, so what does it matter?" Sasuke smirked before asking, "What are you doing here anyway?" "Ah. Kakashi Nisan said he was bringing me here for a feast, but then I got lost." Naruto scratched his head. "A feast? Do you mean the clan banquet? Then follow me." Sasuke turned and led the way. So Naruto follows Sasuke as they head toward the banquet. Since Kuragami Uchiha was the one hosting the event, Fugaku Uchiha, as one of the clan elders, naturally had to attend. The previous night, before leaving work, Kuragami had reminded Fugaku to bring Sasuke along as well. Thus, aside from Itachi Uchiha, whom Fugaku had conveniently sent out on an inspection mission to keep him out of sight, Fugaku's entire household was present at the banquet. Mikoto Uchiha had arrived early to help receive guests. When she saw her youngest son walking toward her with a blonde-haired boy, she was momentarily stunned. "Sasuke." Mikoto called her son over. Sasuke, hearing his mother's voice, quickly led Naruto over. "And who is this?" Mikoto asked, though upon seeing Naruto's bright yellow hair, she had already formed a guess in her mind. "Mom, this is Naruto, my classmate," Sasuke introduced. "Hello, Auntie. My name is Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto greeted politely despite his usual unruly nature. "Uzumaki." Upon hearing the surname, Mikoto's expression became distant. This was the son of her dear friend. "Auntie, do you know me?" Naruto asked curiously upon noticing Mikoto's reaction. "I've heard Sasuke mention you before." Mikoto quickly recovered and forced a smile. "Mom, I never mentioned him to you." Sasuke immediately refuted. Mikoto swiftly pressed down Sasuke's raised hand, then smiled at Naruto. "Naruto, right? Please take care of Sasuke in the future. And you're always welcome." Before Mikoto finished speaking, she realized Naruto's identity, and her voice gradually became smaller. "If you ever want to visit, you're always welcome here." Mikoto turned and saw that Fugaku had walked over at some point. Beside him stood Kuragami Uchiha and Kakashi, both smiling as they watched the interaction unfold. "Dad. Sensei. Kakashi." The two kids greeted the familiar figures enthusiastically. "Naruto, if I'm ever away on missions, you can come to find Uncle Fugaku, Aunt Mikoto, or your big brother Kuragami," Kakashi instructed Naruto. Meanwhile, Kuragami walked up to Sasuke, ruffling his hair before saying, "Sasuke, since your friend is here, you should be a good host. Don't forget what I taught you." "I know." Sasuke nodded. "When a friend comes from afar, is it not a joy?" With that, the two boys ran off together to play. Mikoto watched them go with a hint of concern and glanced at the two of them. "Don't worry, Mikoto ne," Kuragami reassured her with a smile. Before, people hesitated to interact with him because they feared others would make a fuss. But things are different now. Hearing this, Mikoto let out a relieved sigh and nodded. "So, does this mean I can finally take care of him?" "You make it sound so serious, Mikoto-sama," Kakashi chimed in. "You and Gushina were best friends. I'm just a single guy. There are a lot of things I can't handle properly. Naruto could really use your help now and then." "Mikoto, I know you've been worried about him all these years," Fugaku added. "From now on, if you want to look after him, just do it openly. Let the others see that the Uchiha clan isn't the kind of people who would exploit a 7-year-old child for politics." Chapter 67. He gave too much. After the two kids went off to play, the adults chatted for a bit. Then, a clan member approached Kuragami Uchiha and reported, "Clan head, the Inuzuka clan has arrived. Kakashi, you guys go ahead. I'll take Genma and the others around," Kakashi said. "Alright, then, take your time." Kuragami Uchiha nodded, exchanged a quick greeting with Mikoto, and then headed to the entrance with Fugaku. When they arrived at the gate, the Inuzuka clan head, Kenshiro Inuzuka, and the elder, Sire Inuzuka, were already present, along with the upper-ranking jonin of their clan. Kuragami shook hands with each of them. "Haha, clan head Kuragami, I'm really sorry to trouble you to come and greet us personally." Sire Inuzuka, despite being over 70, had a bright smile on his face as he shook hands with Kuragami. "Haha, what are you saying, Elder Sire? You're one of the elders who personally witnessed the village's founding. How could I not came to greet you? Kuragami replied with a smile. Clan head Kuragami, you're joking. I'm just an old bag of bones. Sire When Yuzuka chuckled while waving his hand. By the way, has that kid, Kase, caused you any trouble? He insisted on joining the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, and I was worried he might rely on his connections and make things difficult for you. Not at all, Elder Sire. Brother Kase has been a great help in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. Kuragami said. Clan head Kuragami, you don't have to praise him too much. Kenshiro and Yuzuka interjected. We know what kind of temperament that kid has. He has some talent, but he is reckless. Please be patient with him. Come on, clan head Kenshiro, that's unnecessary. Brother Kase is serious about his work. Plus, the ninja hounds the Yuzuka clan donated last time have greatly reduced the workload of our officers. Kuragami said. Speaking of which, I actually have a proposal for you. Oh? Please, go ahead, clan head Kuragami. Kenshiro and Yuzuka replied. It's like this. Kuragami began, the ninja hound your clan provided played a crucial role in our recent case, where we investigated foreign spies inciting villagers to spread rumors. Given that we plan to expand the Hidden Leaf Village military police force in the future, we'd like to purchase another batch of ninja hounds from your clan. There's no need for that. Just let us know when you need more, and we'll donate another batch. Kenshiro and Yuzuka said. That won't do. Kuragami shook his head. We can't keep making you spend your own resources. Here's my proposal, let's set up a department under the Hidden Leaf Village military police force with an annual budget of 80 million ryo. The Yuzuka clan will be responsible for breeding and training ninja hounds exclusively for us. What do you think, clan head Kenshiro? This. Kenshiro and Yuzuka was stunned. Not because it was too little, but because it was way too much. 80 million ryo a year? The Yuzuka clan's total profits, after deducting expenses, didn't even reach that amount. And since the facilities and breeding stock for the ninja hounds were already in place, the actual costs wouldn't come close to this budget. But when he saw Kuragami's smile, he understood. This wasn't just about buying ninja hounds, it was basically a direct financial gift to the Yuzuka clan. Is it not enough? Kuragami asked. No, it's enough. In fact, it's too much. Kenshiro and Yuzuka quickly replied. Too much? Kuragami chuckled. The ninja hound your clan provided last time were exceptional. Every Hidden Leaf Village military police force member recognizes them as invaluable partners. I may not be an expert in this field, but training such intelligent and brave dogs must be costly, right? I understand the Yuzuka clan's desire to contribute to the village, and I admire your dedication to the will of fire. But in the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, we don't let our allies suffer losses. At that moment, Kenshiro and Yuzuka finally understood why Kase and Yuzuka had been singing Kuragami's praises after just one joint mission. This guy really knew how to spend money. Just then, Shibuya Burame arrived with the senior members of the Burame clan. Seeing how lively Kuragami and Kenshiro and Yuzuka's conversation was, Shibuya grew curious and walked over. What are the two clan heads discussing? Ah, clan head Shibuya, you're just in time. Kuragami said as he shook hands with the Burame leaders. Is there something you need, clan head Kuragami? Shibuya asked. I was chatting with leader Shihai the other day, and he mentioned that your clan has been developing a breed of insects that can transmit visual information directly to the user's brain via chakra, enabling remote surveillance. Is that correct? Yes, we do have such a jutsu, but the insects are still in the experimental phase, and there are many technical challenges to overcome. Why do you ask? This technology has great potential. Kuragami said. If possible, I'd like to implement it in the village's high-traffic areas and hire a Burame ninjas to oversee surveillance. That would significantly ease the patrol burden on the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. Clan head Kuragami, this jutsu is still immature, and the insects we've bred have several issues that need to be resolved. It's not ready for large-scale use. Shibuya explained. That's not a problem. Kuragami replied. For a project that benefits both the village and its people, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force should provide full support. How about this? We'll fund the research with an initial investment of 80 million ryo, and we can increase the funding as needed. What do you think? What? Shibuya was stunned. Once again, it wasn't because the amount was too little, but because it was way too much. Even the total net profit of all the Burame clan's business ventures didn't reach 80 million ryo a year. Not just Shibuya, even Kakashi, who had been listening, was shocked. Just how rich was the Uchiha clan? Forget the 2 consecutive 80 million investments. Everyone in the village already knew that the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force offered some of the highest salaries among ninja jobs. Could the Uchiha really afford to throw money around like this? As Aburame and the Yuzuka leaders entered the banquet hall, still processing their windfall, Kakashi finally approached Kuragami, unable to hold back his curiosity. Where do you get all this money? The Uchiha clan isn't that wealthy, are they? Hearing Kakashi's question, Kuragami gave him a mysterious smile. Wanna know? Keep an eye out for any upcoming missions to the Land of Waves. If one comes up, take it. I'll teach you how to really make money. Chapter 68, The Happiest Day. Kakashi was puzzled by Kuragami Uchiha's words. Land of Waves? Could it be that the Uchiha clan had some business over there? He wanted to ask for more details, but a loud and energetic voice calling his name from the entrance forced him to stop. Kakashi. A man in a green suit with a bowl-cut hairstyle was enthusiastically waving at him from the banquet entrance. Seeing this, Kakashi could only place a hand on his forehead, not knowing what to say. He had specifically reminded the guy yesterday to wear something formal today. And while Guy did take his advice, he still couldn't seem to part with that particular color. At least it was clear that he hadn't arrived by walking on his hands this time, probably as a sign of respect for the Uchiha clan. This banquet wasn't just attended by the Yuzuka and Aburame clans and former subordinates of the 4th Hokage. Some members of the Anbu and high-ranking Jonin were also invited, specifically those who had chosen to stay out of last night's security lockdown situation. Once the banquet started, the Uchiha clan, as the hosts, quickly displayed their generosity. Dishes made from extremely rare and valuable ingredients, ones that even many elite Jonin had only heard of, were served one after another. Among them were delicacies from the Land of Lightning, the Land of Earth, and the Land of Water. The price of these ingredients was secondary. The impressive part was that Kuragami had only mentioned hosting the banquet last night, yet the Uchiha had managed to gather such an extravagant spread in less than half a day. Seeing this, Kakashi couldn't help but once again marvel at the financial power of his ally. Meanwhile, Naruto was already dazzled by the sight of so much gourmet food, unsure where to even start. At this moment, Kuragami Uchiha stepped to the front of the long banquet table with a wine glass in hand and raised it. Seeing this, the attendees all turned their attention to him. Thank you all for honoring us with your presence today. Kuragami looked at everyone and said. The Uchiha clan has nothing grand to offer as hospitality, only these dishes that we gathered overnight from all across the shinobi world through our summoning beast partners, the Ninko. We hope everyone enjoys the meal. Thank you, clan head Kuragami and the Uchiha clan, for the hospitality. A toast to clan head Kuragami. Kenshiro Inuzuka, seated near Kuragami, took the lead in raising his glass. A toast to clan head Kuragami. Seiichi Nagai echoed from the Anbu ranks. A toast to clan head Kuragami. The Jonin who had attended the banquet followed suit. Kakashi then raised his glass as well and said loudly, a toast to clan head Kuragami. The former subordinates of the 4th Hokage, as well as Guy, all joined in, a toast to clan head Kuragami. You're all too kind, far too kind. Kuragami said with a bright smile before downing his drink in one gulp. The entire crowd followed suit, raising their glasses and drinking. After finishing his drink, Kuragami turned to Kakashi, who was not far away and grinned. Now, let us hear a few words from our hero of the Third Shinobi World War, the legendary Anbu, Kakashi Hatake. Being called out, Kakashi naturally stepped forward, refilled his glass, and stood beside Kuragami. It is an honor to stand here with all of you. Kakashi began. As the focal point of this recent turmoil, I never expected things to unfold as they did. As events progressed, I felt increasingly helpless. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force acted swiftly to put an end to this farce. Thanks to the trust and assistance of my fellow comrades, I was able to weather the storm. This drink, I dedicate to all of you. He raised his glass and drank, and the others followed suit. After another round of drinks, Kuragami spoke again. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force took action this time to root out certain individuals who colluded with enemy villages, attempting to defile the purity of the Will of Fire by tarnishing the reputation of our village's heroes. Ensuring the purity of the Will of Fire is our top priority. Our village stands strong today because of the Will of Fire, the spiritual legacy left behind by the first Hokage. It is this guiding principle that has led us to this day. The Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force has zero tolerance for any attempt to corrupt it. Kuragami's gaze swept across the banquet table as he continued with a smile. And yesterday, each of you took action because of the noble Will of Fire in your hearts. It was the Will of Fire that united us and allowed us to crush this conspiracy together. After finishing his speech, he looked at the gathered comrades and said warmly, to be able to drink alongside so many who hold the Will of Fire in their hearts, today, I am the happiest man alive. Well said, clan head Kuragami. Kakashi stepped forward again. I propose that we all raise our glasses in honor of the will of fire. To the will of fire. The crowd raised their glasses again, downing another round of drinks. Everyone, eat well and drink to your heart's content today. Kuragami laughed as he set down his glass, officially marking the start of the feast. After the banquet ended, the guests gradually departed. Kakashi, however, stayed behind and walked with Kuragami to the Naka River, with Yamato following at a distance. After reaching an open space by the river bank, Kuragami called Yamato over, handed him a blueprint, and pointed to the area. Do me a favor, build a facility here. He instructed. Make it the same scale as the current Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force prison, but with better internal facilities. After all, this won't be used for regular criminals. Yamato stepped forward, appearing a bit reserved in front of Kuragami. But Kuragami simply patted him amicably on the shoulder and said with a smile. Relax. I know you didn't have much of a choice in the past, but the people who forced you are dead now. As long as you hold the will of fire in your heart, we are all comrades, aren't we? Yes, I understand. Yamato nodded, accepting the blueprint. After studying it carefully, he signaled for the two to step back before forming hand seals at high speed. Wood style, 4-pillar house jutsu. With his hands pressed to the ground, a surge of chakra spread outward. Soon, saplings burst from the soil, rapidly growing into massive wooden structures, merging and taking the form of a building. Kakashi observed the forming structure and asked, So, you're planning to imprison those two advisors here? That's right. Kuragami replied. The third Hokage personally intervened, so we have to give him some face. Naturally, we can't lock the two advisors up with common criminals. Then, he turned to Kakashi and casually suggested, By the way, want to take up a position here? You mean work here? Kakashi glanced at the newly forming building. Sure, as long as you don't mind me being late every day. Chapter 69, Hiru's and Saratobi's late-night visit. With the help of Hidden Leaf Village's top expert in wood-style jutsus, Kuragami Uchiha's Naka River Grand Hotel project was quickly and perfectly completed. Yamato truly had an innate talent for this. This building, constructed using the wood style, met all of Kuragami Uchiha's expectations flawlessly. After the final inspection, Kuragami Uchiha generously handed Yamato a red envelope. At first, Yamato hesitated. It was obvious that the overwhelming ninjutsu he had witnessed that day, combined with the beatings he had endured at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force, had left a deep impression on him. Kakashi, clan head Kuragami is giving this to you. Just accept it. Kakashi said. He's not the type to let people work for free. Thank you. Yamato finally accepted the envelope. No need to thank me. We're all serving the village. Kuragami Uchiha said with a smile while patting Yamato's shoulder. When Kakashi returned home, the first thing he noticed upon entering was an extra pair of shoes at the entrance. Naruto, do we have a guest? He called into the house. A moment later, Naruto's little head popped out from the living room. Kakashi, Grandpa Hokage is here. The third Hokage? Kakashi frowned slightly upon hearing this, but he quickly regained his composure. After changing his shoes, he walked inside and saw Naruto sitting across from the third Hokage, both enjoying a cup of instant ramen. A freshly boiled kettle of water sat on the table. Naruto, is this how you host the third Hokage when I'm not home? Kakashi sighed while rubbing his forehead. These are my rare limited edition ramen cups. They're really expensive. Naruto protested. In truth, he wouldn't have taken them out unless the third Hokage had came to visit. Naruto likes them, so it's fine. The third Hokage said with a chuckle. At my age, I should try to enjoy what the younger generation likes every now and then. Since Hiruzen himself had said so, Kakashi let it slide. Naruto even made him a cup of ramen as well. In this somewhat strange atmosphere, the three quietly ate their noodles. Before long, Naruto was the first to finish. I'm full. He announced energetically while setting his chopsticks down. Naruto, go take a bath and rest now. The third Hokage and I have some matters to discuss. Kakashi said. Huh? But it's still early. Naruto protested. You have school tomorrow. Naruto, be good. Go to bed. Hiruzen added. Fine. Naruto stood up, looking dejected. However, as he turned around, a sly smirk briefly flashed across his face. He left the living room and pulled the door shut behind him, but the next moment, he pressed his ear against the door, intending to eavesdrop. Of course, his little trick was completely transparent to the two seasoned ninjas. Kakashi simply turned his head and cast a basic Genjutsu, making Naruto instantly collapse into a deep sleep on the floor. After carrying Naruto back to his room, Kakashi returned to sit in front of the third Hokage. Hokage-sama, what brings you here so late at night? Kakashi, you've been retired from the Anbu for some time now. How have you been adjusting? Hiruzen asked with a kind smile. It's been fine. Since I can't leave the village right now, I've just treated it as a chance to rest. Kakashi replied. His words made Hiruzen fall silent. After a while, the elderly Hokage pulled out his pipe, intending to smoke, but as he reached for his tobacco, he suddenly remembered he was in someone else's house. Please, make yourself comfortable, Kakashi said considerately. Seeing this, Hiruzen did not act pretentiously. He packed his pipe, lit it, and took a deep inhale before slowly speaking. Kakashi, regarding what happened before, I must admit that I was negligent in my duties as Hokage. If I had noticed sooner and intervened immediately, things wouldn't have escalated as they did. Hokage-sama, you have many responsibilities. It's understandable that small matters might escape your attention. Kakashi replied indifferently. Besides, the situation was resolved in the end, wasn't it? Kakashi's tone made Hiruzen pause briefly. He knew that, deep down, Kakashi still held some resentment toward him regarding the matter. That's true. Hiruzen sighed. I'm getting old. Handling village affairs is becoming more and more difficult. Nonsense. Hokage-sama is still in his prime. A bit of extra paperwork is nothing. Kakashi said smoothly, deflecting the conversation. Hiruzen waved his hand dismissively. No. I have to accept the truth. Kakashi, don't you think it's time for the village to select a fifth Hokage? This question made Kakashi fall silent for a moment. Then, he spoke cautiously. Hokage-sama, please don't say such things. The village still needs your leadership. Kakashi. Hiruzen said, looking at him intently, I plan to recommend you to the daimyo as the next Hokage. Kakashi froze. Hiruzen had been deeply alarmed earlier that day when Kakashi had taken Naruto to a banquet with the Uchiha clan. His heart nearly couldn't take the shock. He knew he had to act. If he couldn't fully bring Kakashi back to his side, he at least needed to break the growing alliance between him and Kuragami Uchiha. Hearing Hiruzen's words, Kakashi immediately stood up and knelt on one knee. Hokage-sama, please don't joke about such matters. Kakashi, don't underestimate yourself. Hiruzen said earnestly. In every regard, you are the best candidate to be the fifth Hokage. Hokage-sama, I know my own limits. My strength is not enough to bear the responsibilities of leading a village. Please reconsider. Kakashi kept his head bowed but hidden from view, his expression had turned ice cold. Fifth Hokage? Kakashi knew full well that his skills had deteriorated after years of idleness. His current strength wasn't even close to the level required to command respect as a Kage, let alone the Hokage of Hidden Leaf Village, the strongest of the 5 great shinobi villages. If he were to take on the role now, he would be nothing more than a puppet. Kakashi, I've given careful thought to your strength. Hiruzen said. When your father was your age, he relied on your clan's swordsmanship alone to rival the Kage of the 5 great villages. I believe that if you pick up the Hatake clan's kinjutsu again, your strength will rapidly improve. Your father once said your talent surpasses even his. Hokage-sama, the white light blade is broken. Kakashi said quietly, glancing in the direction of his clan's shrine. The legendary white light blade, once feared across the battlefield, had shattered at Kanabi Bridge and was now enshrined. The village can fund the reforging of white light blade. Hiruzen said while staring at Kakashi intently. Chapter 70. Jiraiya returns to the village. As soon as the third Hokage finished speaking, Kakashi rejected the proposal without hesitation. Forget it, Hokage-sama. Just let white light blade rest peacefully alongside my father at the clan shrine. The living room of the Hatake ancestral home fell silent once again. Hiruzen Sarutobi puffed on his pipe, the room filling with wisps of smoke. After a long silence, he pulled out a scroll and placed it on the table. Hokage-sama, what is this? Kakashi asked, puzzled. The multi-shadow clone jutsu. It's about time Naruto officially started training in ninjutsu. This jutsu is most suitable for his circumstances. You can teach him the basic shadow clone jutsu first, and when he gets a little older, you can pass this on to him. Kakashi remained silent. Normally, he would have refused outright, but since this concerned Naruto, he couldn't bring himself to reject it. In that case, on Naruto's behalf, I thank you, Hokage-sama. He took the scroll and stored it away. It's only right. Hiruzen Sarutobi said. I've been too busy with official duties and neglected Naruto's care. Now that he has you, I can rest a little easier. As for another jutsu, I've found a more suitable teacher for him. In a few years, this person will personally pass it on to Naruto. Kakashi's expression shifted slightly. A jutsu that was personally chosen by the third Hokage for Naruto. It had to be either the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, which the fourth Hokage was famous for, or the Rasengan, which he later developed. Given Naruto's natural abilities, he might not have the talent for the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, so the third was likely referring to the Rasengan. And the person meant to teach him. Is Jiraiya-sama coming back? Kakashi asked. Yes. Hiruzen Sarutobi said with a smile. That guy has been roaming free for long enough. It's time for him to return and take some responsibility off this old man's shoulders. Kakashi remained silent. He understood that the third Hokage mentioning Jiraiya at this moment was meant as a warning, both to him and to Kuragami Uchiha, whom he supported. Unlike the aging third Hokage, Jiraiya was still at his peak and, as a master of Mount Myabaku's Sage Mode, would be the undisputed strongest ninja in the village once he returned. Kuragami Uchiha was powerful, but compared to Jiraiya at full strength, there was still a gap. But was that really the case? Kakashi's mind flashed back to the other night, to the faint purple markings at the corners of Kuragami Uchiha's eyes. And more importantly, would Jiraiya really want to get involved in all of this? Seeing Kakashi lost in thought, Hiruzen Sarutobi spoke again. Kakashi, are you really not going to consider running for the position of fifth Hokage? I'll have Jiraiya assist you. Hokage-sama, please don't joke. Jiraiya-sama is far more qualified than I am to be Hokage. You can't say that. I've known that brat for a long time, there's no way he would willingly take on this burden. Hiruzen sighed. Jiraiya-sama will understand your intentions. Kakashi replied. Fine. Seeing that Kakashi's stance was firm, Hiruzen changed the topic. Kakashi, let's put aside the matter of the fifth Hokage for now. What are your plans? Kuragami invited me to join the Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force, overseeing the containment and interrogation of high-profile criminals. Kakashi answered honestly. There was no point in hiding it, Hiruzen would find out as soon as he reported for duty. Being upfront made him seem more open. The Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force, huh? Hiruzen's eyelids twitched. Kakashi and Kuragami Uchiha seemed to have an even closer relationship than he had assumed. He sighed inwardly but maintained his calm expression. That's not a bad position. Kuragami is a fine young man who truly upholds the will of fire. Indeed. His understanding of the will of fire often makes me feel ashamed. Kakashi said flatly. With young people like you two in the village, I'm sure the first and second Hokage would be very pleased, even in the afterlife. Hiruzen said, full of emotion. Well then, Kakashi, I won't keep you any longer. I'll walk you out. Kakashi offered, beginning to rise from his seat, but Hiruzen stopped him. I've already disturbed you late at night. I'll walk myself back, it'll help with digestion. That ramen was truly delicious. No wonder Naruto loves it so much. Despite Hiruzen's words, Kakashi still escorted him to the door. Kakashi. Before stepping outside, Hiruzen turned around and spoke with deep sincerity. Now that you've regained your motivation, you must keep up with your training. I may be an old man, but I still hope to personally place the Hokage's cloak on your shoulders one day. Kakashi didn't respond, but his silence was enough. Days passed quickly, and the lockdown in the village had already lasted 3 days. After the events of that night, the village's security had visibly improved. The workload of the Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force had lightened significantly, and complaints against them had drastically decreased. Kakashi had officially started his duties in the new Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force division by the Naka River. Meanwhile, the Anbu unit assigned by the third Hokage had also arrived to investigate the case involving 3 clans colluding with Orochimaru to kidnap children from noble families. The Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force had also unearthed some old case files. A joint investigation team, led by Kuragami Uchiha, was officially formed. Before launching the investigation, Kuragami Uchiha issued orders in the conference room that every member of the 3 clans involved would face severe punishment. Their assets would be seized and redistributed to compensate the victims' families. However, halfway through the meeting, Uchiha knocked on the conference room door. He walked in and whispered something into Kuragami Uchiha's ear, causing the latter's expression to turn rather interesting. 2 hours earlier, at the base of the Hokage Rock, in the largest hot spring district of the village, ninjas and civilians alike gathered after a long day to relax. But today, the scene was disrupted by an unexpected event. A certain white-haired middle-aged man was hiding in the bushes near an open-air hot spring, crouched low with his rear sticking out, occasionally letting out perverted chuckles. Unfortunately, he hadn't been watching for long before the women in the hot spring noticed him. Their screams immediately drew the attention of patrolling officers. It took 3 entire squads of the Hidden Lee Village Military Police Force to finally apprehend this suspicious figure. However, upon bringing him to the station, several Uchiha leaders quickly realized who he was. This was none other than one of the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya. Back in the conference room, Kuragami Uchiha fought to keep his mouth from twitching. "Everyone, please excuse me. There is an urgent matter at the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force that requires my attention." Chapter 71, Jiraiya. The Great Toad Sage Kuragami Uchiha had never expected that his first official meeting with Jiraiya would be like this. Jiraiya was quite cooperative after being arrested. With his hands handcuffed, he shrank his neck on the chair in the interrogation room and showed a few awkward smiles. This posture was exactly the same as those of habitual offenders in the village. No wonder the patrol team didn't recognize him. After all, who knew that Jiraiya, one of the legendary three ninjas, was like this? Kuragami Uchiha came to the interrogation room where Jiraiya was detained alone, waved his hand to signal the guards around to withdraw, and walked in himself. Jiraiya heard someone coming in and raised his head. "Jiraiya-sama, you are making it difficult for our Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force to deal with you." Kuragami Uchiha stepped forward and untied Jiraiya's handcuffs. Anyway, if the other party really wanted to run, there was no difference between having handcuffs and not having them. Hee hee. Jiraiya laughed awkwardly twice, then looked at Kuragami Uchiha and asked curiously, who are you?" "Let me introduce myself. My name is Kuragami Uchiha, the head of the Uchiha clan and the newly appointed captain of the village's Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force 2 days ago." Kuragami Uchiha said. "You are Kuragami Uchiha. I have heard of you before, but we were not on the same battlefield during the Third Shinobi World War. It's a pleasure to meet you," Jiraiya said with a smile. "I never thought our first meeting would be under these circumstances." Kuragami replied with a smirk. "Hey, an unexpected situation indeed." Jiraiya chuckled while scratching his head. "Come with me. Given your status, we can't just leave you locked up here," Kuragami said as he turned toward the door, motioning for Jiraiya to follow. Jiraiya quickly got up and followed along. "Wouldn't it be better to use the transformation jutsu to conceal your identity a bit?" Kuragami reminded him before opening the door. "You have a point," Jiraiya said with an embarrassed nod before quickly forming hand seals and altering his appearance. Kuragami led the disguised Jiraiya out of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters through the back door and took him directly to the new prison by the Naka River. Once inside, he brought Jiraiya to a fully furnished room before speaking again. "Please wait here for a while, Jiraiya-sama. I'll come back with Kakashi after the meeting." Sounds good, Jiraiya replied with a grin. Since Kuragami had taken him out of the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force headquarters, he assumed the matter was settled and that he was merely being accommodated. Before leaving, Kuragami instructed the guards, make sure he doesn't leave, but aside from that, accommodate any reasonable requests he has. Once Jiraiya was settled, Kuragami left to attend his meeting. After finalizing the action plan for the joint investigation team, Kuragami instructed his subordinates to prepare a banquet and bring 2 bottles of fine sake before heading back to Jiraiya with Kakashi. During the few hours of the meeting, Jiraiya stayed quietly in his room without causing any trouble. Bored, he eventually just lay down on the bed. When Kuragami and Kakashi entered, he immediately flipped up from the bed with a nimble motion. "Clan head Kuragami, I must say, this place is quite nice. Is this where the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force entertains guests?" Jiraiya asked cheerfully upon seeing them. "In a way, yes," Kuragami replied with a smile as he moved a low table into the center of the room and began setting out the dishes. Seeing the beautifully arranged food and the 2 bottles of sake, Jiraiya's eyes lit up, then he rubbed his hands together and said, "Oh, you really didn't have to, clan head Kuragami. This is too generous of you." "Not at all. It's an honor to share a drink with one of the legendary Sannin, the Great Toad Sage Jiraiya," Kuragami responded. "I've heard that Jiraiya-sama is quite the connoisseur of entertainment. I would have invited some geisha from the entertainment district to enhance the evening, but given that the Hidden Leaf Village Military Police Force is part of the village's law enforcement, that wouldn't be appropriate. I hope you understand." No worries. Jiraiya waved his hand dismissively. "Next time, I'll treat you to a night out in the best entertainment district in the village." The 3 of them sat down and shared a drink before engaging in casual conversation. "Jiraiya-sama, what brings you back to the village so suddenly? Is it to release a new book?" Kakashi asked knowingly. "The new book is in progress, and it'll take some time," Jiraiya said with an awkward laugh, clearly uncomfortable about being asked about his writing progress at the drinking table. "As for why I came back, I have no idea what's gotten into the old man. He's been sending letters non-stop, practically 8 times a day, urging me to return. So I figured I might as well come back and see what's going on. But I must say, coming back has its perks. I got to meet a promising young talent like clan head Kuragami, And I also got to see Kakashi picking himself back up. That makes it worthwhile. Jiraiya said with a slight buzz after downing another cup of sake. I'm hardly a promising young talent compared to a legendary hero of the village like you. Kuragami said with a grin as he poured Jiraiya another drink. Nonsense. You're the famed Blue Thunder Kuragami. You'll surely surpass this old man one day. Jiraiya laughed. After drinking for a while, Jiraiya suddenly turned to Kakashi and asked, by the way, Kakashi, I heard you took Naruto in? Kakashi nodded. That's right. I've retired from the Anbu, so I have the time to look after him. Hearing this, Jiraiya sighed. That's good. With you taking care of him, I can rest easy. At that moment, Kuragami suddenly asked, Jiraiya-sama, you've been away from the village all these years. What exactly have you been doing? Surely it's not just because of some vague prophecy? Kuragami, this is no mere vague prophecy. Jiraiya said, his expression turning serious. The great toad sage of Mount Mayabaku is an ancient and wise seer. He once told me that a child would be born who would determine the fate of the entire shinobi world, whether it would be peace or destruction. My mission is to guide that child onto the right path. So there's more to it than I thought. Kuragami remarked with a smirk. I didn't realize Jiraiya-sama carried such a heavy burden. That was my mistake. I'll drink a cup as punishment for my words. He poured himself a cup and downed it in one gulp. So then, Jiraiya-sama. Kakashi asked, have you found this child of prophecy yet? Chapter 72, Itachi Uchiha's return. Kakashi's words made Jiraiya freeze mid-motion, his hand holding the sake cup suspended in the air, and he was stunned on the spot. After a moment, Jiraiya slowly put down his cup. I thought I had already found it. The atmosphere of the gathering took an awkward turn. Kuragami Uchiha silently finished his drink and poured himself another. Let's not talk about that anymore. Come on, let's drink. Kuragami Uchiha took the initiative to break the awkwardness. The three of them, understanding the mood, tacitly avoided the topic for the rest of the evening. Once they had eaten and drunk their fill, Jiraiya stood up and adjusted his clothing, his face slightly flushed from the alcohol. Then he looked at Kuragami Uchiha and said, thank you for your hospitality, clan head Kuragami. I won't bother you any longer. I've been back for a while now, and I still need to check the situation with the old man. With that, Jiraiya walked towards the door. However, just as he opened it, two Uchiha guards standing outside reached out to block his way. Clan head Kuragami, what's this about? Jiraiya turned back to look at Kuragami Uchiha. Jiraiya-sama, according to the village's security regulations, acts of peeping are punishable by at least 7 days of detention. If you just leave like this, the Hidden Leaf Village military police force won't be able to explain it to the villagers. Kuragami Uchiha said calmly. The Uchiha clan respects your contributions to the village, but could you also show us a little respect in return? Clan head Kuragami, you see, I only just got back, and I really need to report to the old man. Jiraiya said with a sheepish smile. He knew he was in the wrong, and given that Kuragami Uchiha had treated him with fine food and drink upon recognizing his identity, it was hard for him to take a firm stance now. Jiraiya-sama, we ask that you stay here for the next few days. If you have any requests, feel free to ask. The Hidden Leaf Village military police force will do its best to accommodate you, just don't go wandering around, that way, we can give the village a proper explanation. Hearing this, Jiraiya looked to Kakashi for help, but Kakashi remained expressionless as he said, Jiraiya-sama, please understand. This village regulation has been in place for a long time. Jiraiya opened his mouth, wanting to protest that he had never been detained for this before. But after thinking it over, he decided against saying anything. Even a pervy old man had to maintain some dignity, this was already embarrassing enough. Alright, I'll stay here for a few days. Let's just call it a period of focused writing. Jiraiya sighed, retracting his hand. But please send word to the third Hokage that I've returned. Of course. Thank you for your cooperation, Jiraiya-sama. Kuragami Uchiha nodded, then turned to the two guards outside. Take good care of Jiraiya-sama. Understood. The two guards nodded. Well then, Jiraiya-sama, we'll be heading off now. If I don't get back soon, Naruto will probably sneak off to eat ramen again. Kakashi said, seeing that Jiraiya was willing to comply, nodded and left with Kuragami Uchiha. Kakashi. As Kakashi walked out the door, Jiraiya's voice suddenly called out from behind. Is there something else, Jiraiya-sama? Kuragami Uchiha turned back and asked. Forget it. Jiraiya withdrew his hand in frustration. He had originally wanted to ask Kakashi to say hello to Naruto for him, but when he thought about how he should even face Naruto, he abandoned the idea. After the two left, Jiraiya sighed and lay back down on the bed in his room. Not long after, inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi received news of Jiraiya's return to the village. However, when he learned that Jiraiya had been caught peeping and was subsequently detained for 7 days by the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, his blood pressure instantly skyrocketed. That idiot. At a time like this, can't he control himself even a little? Fortunately, it was only 7 days, and nothing too serious should come of it. Hiruzen comforted himself with this thought. He wasn't about to go to the Hidden Leaf Village military police force to bail him out. He was the Hokage, after all. What kind of example would that set if he went to rescue someone who had been caught peeping? Besides, he was already grateful that Kuragami Uchiha hadn't made a bigger issue out of it. As Hiruzen fumed over his troublesome student, a weary traveler arrived at the village gates. After handing over his identification for re-entry, he stepped into the village and immediately headed toward the Uchiha clan's compound. This traveler was none other than Itachi Uchiha, who was sent by Fugaku to inspect the Uchiha clan's business operations in the Land of Fire. He had now returned after completing his mission. However, concern for both the village and his younger brother had driven him to rush back as quickly as possible. Upon his return, Itachi decided to pick out a small gift for his brother, whom he hadn't seen in a while. Yet, as he moved through the village, he quickly sensed that something was off. The villagers' attitude toward him had changed. Almost everyone who saw him wore an expression of fear. After a few cautious tests, he realized that the fear wasn't directed at him personally. It was because of the Uchiha clan emblem stitched onto his clothing. Even villagers who had been friendly to him before now shrank away upon seeing the Uchiha emblem. This scene made Itachi's heart sink. He tried asking a few villagers about it, but each time, they responded with evasive expressions, unwilling to say much. Did something happen while I was away? Why are the villagers reacting like this to my clan? Left with no choice, Itachi found a secluded spot and used a transformation jutsu to disguise himself before continuing his investigation. Uncle, has something happened in the village recently? Everyone seems a bit off. Itachi, in disguise, asked the stall owner after selecting a few items. You just arrived in the village? The stall owner glanced at him before asking. Yeah, I just moved here from the capital of the Land of Fire yesterday. Perhaps, seeing that Itachi had bought quite a few things, the stall owner decided to offer some advice. Leaning in close, he lowered his voice and said, Since you're new here, listen up, you'd better be careful around the Hidden Leaf Village military police force. They're completely unreasonable and even beat people up. They beat people? Itachi asked in disbelief. That's right. Just a few days ago, they stormed into the streets and started attacking people, all to cover up for a murderer in the village. Lots of folks were badly beaten, and some were even taken away. They haven't been seen since. Who knows what kind of torture they're going through now. The stall owner sighed. In this village, you really don't want to mess with them. Chapter 73, Itachi Uchiha's observations. Itachi Uchiha walked aimlessly along the road back to the Uchiha clan's district. Just moments ago, he had questioned several villagers, all of whom gave him nearly identical responses. It was hard to believe that in the short time he had been away from the village, his clan had changed so drastically. In the past, while the Hidden Leaf Village military police force had occasional conflicts with the villagers, it had never escalated to the point where the entire force was mobilized to violently assault them. Did Shizue just stand by and watch this happen? With that question in mind, Itachi returned to the Uchiha district. As he passed by the Hidden Leaf Village military police force's training grounds, a scene inside once again caught his attention. Inside the training field, Saito Uchiha was relentlessly throwing shuriken and jutsu at a young boy wearing the standard Hidden Leaf Village military police force training uniform. The boy dodged frantically, but explosions from the great fireball jutsu burst behind him. Failing to evade in time, the boy was caught by the blast's shockwave and was sent tumbling to the ground. He rolled several times before stopping, his face scraped by the rough ground, and thin streaks of blood seeped from his cheek. Yet, at that moment, the perpetrator of all this, Saito Uchiha, merely shouted at him with a stern expression, "What kind of look is that? What kind of expression do you have? And those tears, do you think your tears can protect the village? Can they uphold the will of fire? Get up. Don't dodge. Run straight into my shuriken and jutsu." Saito gripped a kunai and shouted at the boy. After a while, Yoki Fujiwara finally gathered his courage. He stood up, let out a loud cry to steel himself, and charged straight at Saito Uchiha. Seeing this, Saito immediately hurled multiple shuriken at him and followed up with consecutive great fireball jutsu attacks. Yoki shouted as he skillfully dodged the incoming projectiles and flames. When he couldn't avoid them, he used the substitution jutsu to take the hit instead. After enduring several close calls, he finally closed the distance to Saito and thrust his kunai toward him. But Saito simply extended his hand and caught Yoki's wrist, causing the kunai to drop to the ground. Exhausted, Yoki collapsed onto his knees while panting heavily. Saito glanced down at him and spoke coldly, "Is that all? How useless." Watching this, Itachi frowned deeply. He shook his head before continuing toward his home. Even their own comrades are treated this way? This clan is really beyond saving. However, after Itachi left, Yoki trembled but struggled to his feet once again. Seeing this, a faint and nearly imperceptible smile flickered in Saito's eyes. But when he spoke, his tone remained as cold as ever. "At least you're starting to look like something. But it's still not enough. Go home and get some rest. Be back tomorrow for extra training." "Yes, sir." Yoki lifted his head with difficulty and responded. The next second, a small token was tossed into his arms. Yoki looked down at it, confused. "I haven't collected my stipend for this month. Go pick it up for me before you leave, then head to the Nara clan's pharmacy and buy 5 portions of medicinal herbs for a recovery bath. Use them for yourself when you get home. Bring me the leftover money tomorrow morning." "Leader, that won't be necessary. I still have money," Yoki said hesitantly. "Just take it," Saito said coldly. "Keep whatever money you have and use it to buy something nutritious. If you slow us down on the next mission, I won't be so forgiving." "Yes, sir." Yoki nodded, a hint of shame flashing across his face. During the recent Hidden Leaf Village military police force operation, only a few members were injured, and he was one of them. That embarrassed Saito, so as soon as Yoki's injuries healed, he was dragged in for extra training. But Yoki didn't feel resentful. After all, Saito was one of the strongest among Hidden Leaf Village's young ninja. Even some of the village's jonin had trouble gaining the upper hand against him. The opportunity to receive one-on-one training from such a powerful person was not something just anyone could get. After training ended, Yoki grinned as he headed home while Itachi had just arrived at his own house. "I'm home," Itachi called as he opened the door. "Itachi? You're back." Mikoto poked her head out from the kitchen while smiling warmly at her eldest son. "Mom, are you home alone?" Itachi asked. "Yes, your father is working late at the Hidden Leaf Village military police force, and Sasuke is training with his teacher." "Teacher? Since when did Sasuke get a teacher? How come I didn't know?" Itachi was taken aback. "It's clan head Kuragami," Mikoto said with a smile. "Sasuke's talent in fire style isn't as strong as in lightning style, so your father asked clan head Kuragami to mentor him." "What?" Itachi's expression changed dramatically. "Sasuke can't be learning from Kuragami Uchiha. Itachi, he is the head of our clan. How can you address him so informally?" Mikoto's gaze turned serious. "Your father and I have taught you proper etiquette, haven't we?" "I'm sorry, Mom, but," Itachi began. "No buts. Sasuke likes his new teacher," Mikoto said firmly. "Fine." Itachi had no intention of arguing with his mother. He put down the items he had brought home and immediately turned to leave. In his mind, Kuragami Uchiha could only lead his adorable little brother astray, and he couldn't allow that to happen. "Sigh, that boy," Mikoto muttered with a hopeless sigh as she watched Itachi hurry out the door. In the backyard of Kuragami Uchiha's home, Sasuke quickly formed hand seals and summoned a ball of lightning. Compared to when he had first learned the jutsu, he had made great progress. The lightning ball was now much more stable and had changed from a faint yellow to a pale blue. Though it was still far from the deep blue of Kuragami's own refined lightning jutsus, for someone Sasuke's age, his progress was remarkable. As Sasuke manipulated his fingers, the lightning ball circled around the two of them before soaring into the sky and exploding in midair. "Sensei, I did it." Sasuke turned to Kuragami, his face full of expectation, eager for praise. "Not bad," Kuragami said while patting Sasuke's head. "Then what are we learning next?" Sasuke asked excitedly. Sasuke's question actually stumped Kuragami for a moment. Most of the high-level jutsu he knew, whether learned or self-developed, were still beyond Sasuke's chakra reserve to handle. Chapter 74, A Brotherly Night Talk. Kuragami Uchiha thought for a moment, then took Sasuke to the study, picked out a scroll, unrolled it, and tore off a small portion before handing it to him. "What is this?" Sasuke asked, puzzled by Kuragami's actions. "This is a movement-based taijutsu jutsu I created when I was 10 years old. It's called Thunderstep Teleportation Jutsu," Kuragami explained. "It's also the introductory jutsu for the lightning-style chakra mode that I developed. You should start practicing the taijutsu portion first. Although it's just basic taijutsu, it should be enough for you to dominate the academy," Kuragami continued. "Also, don't stop practicing the lightning ball." "What about the rest?" Sasuke looked at the half-scroll in his hand, confused. "You can't learn the later parts yet." Once your chakra reserves and control improve to the point where you can manipulate 4 lightning balls at once like I just showed you, then I'll teach you the rest. Kuragami said. Alright. Sasuke nodded and put away the scroll. It's already late. You should head home early. Kuragami told him. He walked Sasuke to the door. As soon as he opened it, he saw Itachi Uchiha standing outside. Brother. Sasuke, having not seen his brother in a long time, immediately ran over. Itachi reached out, caught Sasuke, and gently ruffled his hair. Itachi, you're back from your mission. Kuragami remarked from the doorway. You two really have a strong bond. You came straight to pick up your brother as soon as you returned. Yeah. Itachi nodded, looking at Kuragami. However, his gaze was noticeably less than friendly. Kuragami didn't seem to mind at all and casually said, since you're here, that saves me the trouble of sending this kid home. Sasuke, go with your brother. Yes. Sasuke, still hanging on to Itachi, turned back and said, goodbye, sensei. Goodbye. Kuragami smiled and waved at Sasuke before closing the door. On the way home, Sasuke, riding piggyback on Itachi, kept talking. Brother, sensei is amazing. I practiced for so long before I could do the jutsu like he showed me. Is that so? Clan head Kuragami is a genius of our clan. If you can learn his jutsu, that means you have great talent too. Itachi said while suppressing his worries and indulging his little brother. After a moment, Itachi asked, Sasuke, aside from ninjutsu, what else has your teacher taught you? Itachi was tense as he asked this. He feared that Kuragami was instilling his ambitions into his innocent little brother. Oh, a lot. Sasuke said excitedly, as if boasting about a prized possession. Sensei told me many interesting stories and taught me a lot about how to be a good person. Hearing this, Itachi's heart tightened. Has his precious little brother really been influenced by Kuragami? What exactly did he teach you? Itachi asked quickly. Well, a lot of things. Some I don't fully understand yet, but there are also many that make perfect sense to me. Sasuke replied. Itachi wanted to ask more, but by then, they had arrived home. Sasuke said, I'll tell you more after dinner. Alright. Itachi nodded and entered the house with Sasuke. I'm home. Sasuke announced energetically at the door. Welcome back, Sasuke. Wash your hands and get ready for dinner. Mikoto said warmly when she saw her cheerful younger son. You too, Itachi, go wash up, dinner is ready. Okay. Itachi nodded and led Sasuke toward the bathroom. On the way, he noticed their father, Fugaku, wasn't in the dining area. He turned to his mother and asked, Mother, is father not home yet? No, he said the Hidden Leaf Village military police force has a major mission, so he won't be coming home for dinner these days. Mikoto replied as she served food for both brothers. Once at the table, Sasuke immediately began devouring his meal. Demonstrating his skills in front of Kuragami earlier had consumed a lot of his chakra, making him ravenous. Sasuke, slow down. Mikoto said, shaking her head as she refilled his bowl. Hee, Mom's cooking is the best. Sasuke grinned. Even Naruto said so after eating the bento you made. Oh? Really? Mikoto smiled. Then I should prepare an extra bento for Naruto tomorrow. By the way, Sasuke, do you know what Naruto likes to eat? Mom, I'm your son, right? Why are you more concerned about Naruto? Sasuke pouted. Haha, are you jealous, Sasuke? Mikoto laughed at her son's reaction. I am not. Sasuke huffed, refusing to admit it. As Sasuke and Mikoto joked around, Itachi's mind was in turmoil. Naruto. He knows who he really is. Is the clan now openly involving the Jinchuriki? Shaken by these revelations, Itachi hurriedly finished his meal. Afterward, Sasuke grabbed his hand and looked up at him expectantly. Brother, can we sleep together tonight? I want to tell you some of the stories Sensei told me. Alright. Itachi agreed. Back in their room, Sasuke pulled out a book that Kuragami had compiled for him and eagerly started explaining its teachings to Itachi. Itachi listened patiently as Sasuke went through each lesson. From the human nature is inherently good to isn't it a joy to learn and practice? The more Itachi listened, the more he felt something was off. It wasn't that these teachings were bad, on the contrary, they were excellent. If Sasuke could truly follow these principles, he would become the ideal shinobi who embodied the will of fire. But this didn't align at all with the scheming, power-hungry image Itachi had of Kuragami. Thinking this through, Itachi decided to probe further. Alright, Sasuke, let's talk about something else. Do you know what happened in the village a few days ago? Itachi asked. Yes. Sasuke blinked, surprised by the change in topic. Then, what do you think about it? Itachi pressed. The Hidden Leaf Village military police force handled it well. The villagers were clearly in the wrong, and they received the punishment they deserved. Sasuke replied firmly. As I suspected, what Kuragami has been teaching Sasuke is indeed problematic. Itachi thought as his heart sank to the bottom.